What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 12 BR Chapter 436 In the Messy Forest. 8 figures stood slowly, Kakashi and the other 7 connected with Shiyu as the center with their hands. Naruto, Kakashi, and Yamato 3 are very calm about this because they have already experienced it. But Shikamaru, Asuma, Gonza Tetsu, and Shinyuki Izumo 4, their eyes showed expectation. Needless to say, they have all tried it, although second generation Naruto is the founder of Flying Thunder God's art, the latter died early and they couldn't see him perform this ninjutsu. Time has passed, decades later. The emergence of Bofeng Watergate turned out so that they had the honor to see this time-space ninjutsu style. But unfortunately, only a few people have personally experienced the feeling of space shuttle. And Kakashi is one of those very few people. After all, 4 generations of Naruto is his teacher. Although Asuma is the son of 3 generations of Naruto, she has never experienced it. After all, it was in the era of war. However, when everything calmed down, when he wanted to experience it, 4 generations had already sacrificed for the future of Ninja World. Originally, Baofeng Shuiman didn't need to die at all, but the reason why he chose this path was nothing more than the following 3 reasons. First, Nine Tails was forcibly pulled away. Uzumaki Kuzina will undoubtedly die. He didn't want the latter to go alone. Advertisement. Second, he has seen the power of Bring Soil and knows that someone is plotting a terrifying conspiracy behind him. But he thought he couldn't stop it with his own strength, so he entrusted this burden to his son. Third, it is not difficult to prevent Kinio from destroying Kinoa, but if you want Kinoa to continue to have Kinoba, the only way is to seal it. After all, he is not Uchiha Madara between the hands of the pillars, and he cannot completely control Kyuubi like these two. The former relies on Shoringan, and the latter relies on Mudun, although with Soil can be channeled out, he cannot completely control Nine Tails like Bara. Moreover, that psychic art is still Masara close black lens bracket taught him. When Uchiha Madara and Senjuzuma were in a decisive battle, they found Nine Tails in advance and forcibly signed a psychic blood contract with them. With Soil, Shoringan is weaker than usual, and the reason is simple. 2 words. Pupil force. Every Uchiha clan, after awakening Shoringan, will cause pupil power due to their physical fitness, talent level, and bloodline concentration. The strengths are different. Just like Uchiha Shisui and Uchiha Itachi, 2 people, they have to throw away people of the same clan for several blocks in the use of Shoringan. This is also one of the reasons why they have become top geniuses. As for the pupil power of Taiyu and Mako. Advertisement. The gap is no longer limited to these, because the latter's Jiaolunyan has reached the level of eternal kaleidoscope. The superposition of 2 pairs of kaleidoscope riding wheel eyes with Soil is naturally incomparable. This can be seen from the fact that only Uchiha Madara can use completely Susanoo. Because if you want to control such a huge chakra to maintain stability, you need a strong enough pupil power. Blessing, Bo Feng Shui Men, knows that not everyone is suitable for making Q containers. Otherwise, Uzumaki Kushina will not be selected. Moreover, there are some unknown secrets in it. Back then, wars in the ninja world were raging, and the Uzumaki Kingdom was a small country intertwined between the Fire Kingdom and other powerful countries. But because it is in an alliance with Konoha, this is the main reason why it brought the disaster of destruction to the country. After all, the other powerful nations at the time looked at Konoha. Although the Uzumaki Kingdom was destroyed, there were still clan members exposed. The appearance of Uzumaki Nagato and Uzumaki Fragrant Phosphorus is the best proof, and the reason why Konoha will do everything possible to find the escaped Uzumaki clan people, except that they are allies. 1. There is another important factor, that is the 9-tailed vessel. Chapter 437. Everyone knows that not just one person can be suitable as a tail beast container. After each ninja village got the tail beast, they would make a lot of attempts, and finally sealed the tail beast on a suitable person. And every time I try, the village pays an extremely expensive price, not to mention time and money. The key is that it is very likely to pay a lot of innocent lives as a price. It is also because of this, the tail beast container. The selection is particularly strict. Some ninja villages even start to train some excellent ninjas from a young age in order to minimize the cost. And Konoha's first successful experimenter came from Uzumaki clan, from Uzumaki country. She was Uzumaki Mito, the wife of first Hokage. The Maelstrom clan, in addition to the huge chakras inherent in the body, they are also good at various powerful seal techniques. The seal of Ghoul was created by this clan. 4 generations of Hokage sealed 9 tails into Naruto's body because the blood of Uzumaki clan flows through the latter's body, but considering the Naruto at the time man is nothing but a newborn baby. So, he used the Ghoul sealing technique to strip half of the 9-tailed soul. In fact, this half of the 9-tailed soul, there is still a saying, tailed beast, is an aggregate of chakra, a product created by 6 ways of immortals, using yin and yang escape. Advertisement. Open black lens bracket yin done close black lens bracket represents spiritual power. Open black lens bracket yang done close black lens bracket represents physical strength, and Bo Feng Shui Men took this into consideration when sealing Kyuubi, so Yin Juwei was removed. The reason why he did this is very simple. Yang Juwei is physical power. The collection will greatly strengthen Naruto's life. Vitality. Simply put, it is recovery. Naruto has amazing healing power when he was young, except that he has the blood of Uzumaki. Because of this, Yang Juwei. It is precisely because of the physique of the Whirlpool family, suitable for being a tail beast container. Therefore, after the Uzumaki Mito, Uzumaki Kushina also naturally became the second Kyuubi Jinjuli. He firmly believes that with Naruto's special physique and his own sealing technique, it will never be a problem for the latter to withstand half of the 9 tails. And the facts proved that he succeeded. In the expectations of Asuma, Shikamaru and others, Shiyu did not drag. Although they have been ninjas for more than 10 years, they are relative to the generation of Kakashi and Asuma. Advertisement 8 figures suddenly appeared in the square on the top floor, and it was Shiyu 8. This is back. This is also the reason why 4 generations of Naruto dared to be cruel to seal 9 tails in Naruto's body. Let them know the truth of everything in front of them, they are not dreaming. He had only heard of Flying Thunder God technique but didn't know what it was like. Looking at the familiar environment in front of them, Shikamaru and Asuma's expressions were also stagnant. That familiar street, that noisy flow of people, next second. At this moment, an unbelievable word was spit out from Shikamaru's mouth. Not only him, but also Gonza Tai and Shenue Izumo. They are still too young. At the time of the 4 generations sacrifice, they have not graduated yet. To read the underlined version of the novel, please download and fly. Konoha, Hokage Tower, Chapter 438. After personally experiencing the Flying Thunder God art, Shikamaru and the other 4 people also had a look of envy in their eyes. This ninjutsu is really outstanding. First, escape is definitely a hitch drop. Second, it's even more convenient to hurry. Third, it can catch opponents off guard. In short, the advantages of this technique are indeed too outstanding. At this moment, Shikamaru and others finally understood why the name, Heifeng Watergate, was so jealous of other shinobu villages. Konoha 46 years. Because of the disappearance of 3 generations of Wind Shadows, the Third Ninja War broke out. This fuse can be said to be caused by Scorpion. In this battle, Watergate was first combined with Yanyan Village. There was a war. The so-called combination is the 4th generation Raikage that has not succeeded by Karabi and I. In this battle, the 2 sides ended in a tie, but it was also because this battle, 4 generations of Raikage, admitted that the speed of Watergate was above its own, so the latter was praised as the fastest in the ninja world. Immediately after, Bofeng Watergate, at Shenwubi Bridge. In the First World War, the Flying Thunder God technique was brought to the extreme, thus completely ending the Third Ninja World War. The name of Yellow Flash also came from this. Undoubtedly, all of this is closely related to Flying Thunder God's art. Advertisement. After the brief consternation of Asuma 4-4, Shiyu's voice also slowly sounded. Teacher Kakashi, Teacher Asuma, Captain Yamato. I will leave the report to Grandma Tsunade to you. We have been waiting for you at the barbecue restaurant. Shiyu and the others set off directly after they were in the Death Forest, and they hadn't even had time for lunch. Although the previous battle didn't cost much time-consuming chakra, I was really hungry. Hearing Shiyu's words, Kakashi's Trio 3 was also slightly taken aback. Immediately, the 3 of them looked at each other, showing a smile. Now that this task has been successfully completed, it is reasonable to eat a good meal. Eat barbecue, okay. Naruto, who heard this, exclaimed, because he hadn't had a big meal for a long time. Upon seeing this, Kakashi also said, okay, then you go first. No problem. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. When they left, Shiyu said again. Advertisement. In this way, the latter wouldn't have to say those polite words. Shiyu was not only talented, but his emotional intelligence was far superior to ordinary people, and he was so good that he could compare them all. Let's go. Seeing the figure of 5-person 5 gradually moving away, Asuma couldn't help but ask. Now it was Kakashi's booth. Should he be happy or depressed? Filu reminds you. 3 things to read. Regarding Shiyu's proposal, Shikamaru, Katetsu, and Kamizuki Izumo 3 are also meaningless. Asuma was taken aback when he heard the words, and then a thick smile appeared on his face. To be precise, they have been dumped for several blocks. Such an age, such a strength, such a temperament, it is rare in the world. Then it's settled. Kakashi, what do you think of such a student? When the voice fell, Shiyu slowly disappeared into the field of vision of Asuma Trio 3 with Naruto and Shikamaru 4. Teacher Asuma, please this meal. Asuma knows very well why Shiyu just said that asking him to entertain him seems to be pitting his senior, but in fact, Shiyu wanted to take this opportunity to let Asuma briefly express it. After hearing Kakashi's answer, Shiyu looked at Shikamaru. Chapter 439. Kakashi, what do you think of such a student? After hearing Asuma's words, Kakashi smiled faintly and immediately answered the former's question. In the beginning, I was in the same situation as you are now, because Shiyu's performance was unexpected every time. However, now I am used to it. May I remind you, what you see now is just the tip of his iceberg. When you really know his enchanting, then you will be as calm as I am. Hearing that, Asuma's expression was startled. Those steady eyes showed a deep shock in an instant, and they all couldn't believe Kakashi's words. If Shiyu and the undead duo, if the strength shown in World War I is only a small part of it, then how strong the latter's real combat power is. We need to know that Shiyu previously used blood succession limit and blood succession elimination, and surpassed the two blood succession band on the page. The first type is rare in the ninja world, and the second type is rare in the ninja world, and will soon be extinct. As for the third type, it is unheard of, but that's it. Kakashi said that this was just the tip of the iceberg that Toki showed. Doesn't this shock him? It is not easy for a ninja to develop a representative, escape technique, of his own in his life, and both of them are rare geniuses. Advertisement. As for the three, they are definitely the existence of the enchanting level, but obviously, Shiyu has already surpassed this range. But now Kakashi is telling him that Shiyu is more perverted than he thought. Asuma couldn't understand, but Yamato on the side knew it well. During this period of time with Shiyu, he has witnessed Shiyu's abnormality. Not to mention, Shorinyan, and fairy style, he is proud to hide the former only at his fingertips. Visible open black lens bracket bloodstain limit close black lens bracket how worthless in Shiyu's hands. Signed a psychic blood contract, what blood succession banning. They take it for granted that they have mastered a variety of blood succession limits, even if it is blood succession elimination, they can accept it. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Just now, she heard about Fei Duan and Zhao. The news that they were all beheaded were not so excited. It can be seen that this fusion of the four attributes of chakra is just a matter of heaven. It's just that they didn't expect that Shiyu had grown to such a level that he could not only kill the undead duo easily. Advertisement coupled with the undead duo let him have a deeper understanding of Shiyu. In the eyes of ordinary people, everything is impossible to accomplish, but it is so easy in the hands of the latter. But this is not the point. The point is that Shiyu is just a teenager who can reach the age of 16. In the office, a thunder suddenly sounded. Such an age, such an achievement. This is not an evildoer. What is it? With Shiyu and the others completely disappeared in the eyes of the Kakashi trio, they also turned around and went downstairs to the Naruto office. However, the self-made blood succession banning completely exceeded their expectations. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei. Tsunade is still like this, and the silence standing beside him is even more shocking. Both of them know that Shiyu's strength is not what it used to be, otherwise it would be impossible to kill Oshimaru. That kind of existence. In his opinion, Shiyu probably mastered all the blood succession boundary, not only those that exist in the ninja world today, there may also be some that do not exist. Fen Dun is the best example. In addition, Shiyu even managed to compete with the three holy lands at the same time. After a while, it was no one else who issued this astonishment, it was Konoha's fifth generation Hokage, Senju Tsunade. Chapter 439, Kakashi, what do you think of such a student? After hearing Asuma's words, Kakashi smiled faintly and immediately answered the former's question. In the beginning, I was in the same situation as you are now, because Shiyu's performance was unexpected every time. However, now I am used to it. May I remind you, what you see now is just the tip of his iceberg. When you really know his enchanting, then you will be as calm as I am. Hearing that, Asuma's expression was startled. Those steady eyes showed a deep shock in an instant, and they all couldn't believe Kakashi's words. If Shiyu and the undead duo, if the strength shown in World War I is only a small part of it, then how strong the latter's real combat power is. We need to know that Shiyu previously used blood succession limit and blood succession elimination, and surpassed the two blood succession band on the page. The first type is rare in the ninja world, and the second type is rare in the ninja world, and will soon be extinct. As for the third type, it is unheard of, but that's it. Kakashi said that this was just the tip of the iceberg that Toki showed. Doesn't this shock him? It is not easy for a ninja to develop a representative, escape technique, of his own in his life, and both of them are rare geniuses. Advertisement. As for the three, they are definitely the existence of the enchanting level, but obviously, Shiyu has already surpassed this range. But now Kakashi is telling him that Shiyu is more perverted than he thought. Asuma couldn't understand, but Yamato on the side knew it well. During this period of time with Shiyu, he has witnessed Shiyu's abnormality. Not to mention, Shorinyan, and fairy style, he is proud to hide the former only at his fingertips. Visible open black lens bracket bloodstain limit close black lens bracket how worthless in Shiyu's hands. But this is not the point. The point is that Shiyu is just a teenager who can reach the age of 16. In the office, a thunder suddenly sounded. It's just that they didn't expect that Shiyu had grown to such a level that he could not only kill the undead duo easily. However, the self-made blood succession banning completely exceeded their expectations. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Coupled with the undead duo, let him have a deeper understanding of Shiyu. Advertisement. They take it for granted that they have mastered a variety of blood succession limits, even if it is blood succession elimination, they can accept it. That kind of existence. What blood succession banning? Such an age, such an achievement. This is not an evildoer. What is it? With Shiyu and the others completely disappeared in the eyes of the Kakashi trio, they also turned around and went downstairs to the Naruto office. In the eyes of ordinary people, everything is impossible to accomplish, but it is so easy in the hands of the latter. After a while, signed a psychic blood contract. Fen Dun is the best example. In addition, Shi Yu even managed to compete with the Three Holy Lands at the same time. Just now, she heard about Fei Duan and Zhao. The news that they were all beheaded were not so excited. It can be seen that this fusion of the four attributes of chakra is just a matter of heaven. In his opinion, Shi Yu probably mastered all the blood succession boundary, not only those that exist in the ninja world today, there may also be some that do not exist. It was no one else who issued this astonishment, it was Konoha's 5th generation Hokage, Senju Tsunade. Tsunade is still like this, and the silence standing beside him is even more shocking. Both of them know that Shi Yu's strength is not what it used to be, otherwise it would be impossible to kill Oshimaru. Chapter 440. That day, Shi Yu and his party had a great time eating at the barbecue restaurant, and in addition to the 8 of them ate, many people followed. Dingxiai and Ino were 2 of them. In the face of such delicacies, Dingxiai is obviously impossible to let go. Dinner table. When others learned that it was Shi Yu's undead duo, killing with one hand was also extremely shocked. Especially when he heard that Shi Yu actually mastered the blood succession limits, and blood succession elimination, and the self-made blood succession banning. Dingxi and others grew their mouths in amazement. With a dull look, it has been a long time since he could not recover. In the past, they only thought that Shi Yu was very powerful, but they did not expect that Shi Yu's strength had completely exceeded their imagination. Although they did not personally see the strength of Hidu and Horn, both, it can be seen from the fact that the two can cause asthma to be seriously injured. Furthermore, the fact that the 2 of them can be recruited into the Akatsuki organization is enough to prove that they have good abilities. Immediately after, sure enough, Asma didn't break her promise, and after a full meal, she took everyone to the hot spring. Today, he is destined to bleed heavily today. Advertisement. But compared to being able to pick up a life, everything is worth it. This night is destined to be a happy one. After this large-scale mission, Konoha's defense has also become more tight. The first is to prevent Shao from sending someone to secretly attack Naruto. The second is to be afraid of appearing like horns. Ruthless people like this, you will hunt down the ninjas on the reward list at every turn. You know, almost every shinobu is the target of a reward. Go through the land, and Asma, after this incident, we have to be cautious. For every village, every Shangren is a mainstay. Every loss of one will reduce the strength of the village. One may have little impact, but the third. And even more. So they had to take it seriously and completely stifled this possibility in the cradle. After all, many wandering ninjas also like to go to the underground world to accept this kind of reward mission. There is a special name for this line of business, called bounty hunter. That night, when he returned home, Shi Yu did not do anything extra, but fell asleep directly with his head up. After eating, drinking and playing, the best thing is to sleep beautifully. The next day, Shi Yu went and took a look. The Red Bean who was performing the task found that there was nothing unusual in the ladder, and he was relieved. Advertisement. As for the avatar left behind, it still continues to guard. Only after the ladder returned to Konoha safely, Shi Yu could be completely relieved. After all, it is estimated that it is difficult to concentrate on the Red Beans at this time. If you fight with the ninjas who came to assassinate, you will definitely suffer a big loss. Therefore, Shi Yu must protect his safety. No way, who told me to put people to sleep? After confirming that there was no problem on the Red Bean side, Shi Yu's mind also fell on the first task of the system. Dadara, it seems it's time to meet Sasuke and the others? Shi Yu knew that now, Dadala should have formed a new duo with Afei, which is actually with Soil. The first task of the 2 of them should be to find the Oshimaru. The purpose is to kill the latter. However, they should have heard the news of the fall of Oshimaru by now. Since the news was spreading that Sasuke killed Oshimaru, they still don't know that the real murderer who killed Oshimaru was Tokiba. But this does not prevent them from targeting Sasuke. Because Taito wants to recruit Nzuju for his use. Chapter 441. Shi Yu calculated the time. There is still some time before Shi Rihon's birthday. Before you will, Dadara, after the matter is settled, it is completely not a problem to put your mind on this matter. Because he was going out for a while, Shiba left a clone in Konoha. First, he doesn't want to let too much know what he is going to do, otherwise, Naruto's character will definitely go with him. Even if he can persuade the latter to stay, it will take a lot of talking. Furthermore, he has to explain to Kakashi and Tsunade what he probably lost during this time out. So, it is unavoidable to talk nonsense. Although he is very good at this kind of thing, he doesn't want to waste his words when it is not a last resort. Moreover, time waits for no one. Maybe when he and Tsunade and the others are arguing, Deidara has already been solved by Sasuke, and that would be more than worth the loss. After a comprehensive consideration, Shi Yu decided to leave in secret. After having an idea, Shi Yu also didn't have the slightest procrastination and immediately took action. After everything was ready, he directly cast Flying Thunder God's art and disappeared into his home. At the same time, in the forest thousands of miles away, 4 figures are strolling in it. Advertisement. At this time, the 4 people are all wearing gray robes, and they are going to the place where Shao has set foot to collect information. Didn't Shi Yu say that he would visit us every other time? It's been almost half a month since the last time, why are you still here? It was not others who complained, it was because they liked Vortex. They had been separated from Shiyu for more than a month, and when the distance was, it was more than half a month that they had passed. Obviously, if it weren't for something particularly important, it was naturally impossible to always run to Sasuke's side. It doesn't take long to go back and forth, but this. He may have to stay in the wild for several days, even if he has mastered the 4 pillars of wooden dungeon art, but in the wild there is no comfort in sleeping at home. Besides, there are three light bulbs of Sasuke, Mizutsuki, and Shigego on the side. He is not good at picking up fragrant phosphorus. Instead of this, it is better to get Konoha's delicate flowers first. Facts have proved that his choice is correct. In this more than a month, he has successfully picked 1 flower. And the second one is already tightly held in his hand, and the distance picking is just a matter of time. Needless to say, this first flower is red beans. And the second one is naturally Shiri Hong. Just as Shanlan's complaint fell, a figure suddenly appeared beside Sasuke. Advertisement with the appearance of this figure, Shanlan's beautiful eyes burst into excitement for a while, and the colors continued to grow. It was not someone else who suddenly appeared, it was Shiyu. After learning the identity of the visitor, at this moment, not only the phosphorus eyes were revealed, but the Sasuke Trio 3 was also a little excited. In this regard, Sasuke was the first to speak. Shiyu, you are here. Shiyu nodded, and then said, I have collected some information about Shao. Maybe it will be helpful for you to find Itachi. Having said that, this is obviously not Shiyu's real goal. Of course, it is impossible for him to tell Sasuke Siren directly that he is waiting for Deidara. It will be delivered automatically, so I just made an excuse. However, this excuse can naturally stand up. Because they are from the Bounty Exchange Office, within the territory of Fire Nation. Some information was tortured from the steward, some information about Zhao. DU Chapter 442. After some conversation, Tokiba led the Sasuke 4-4 towards a small town in the Taki no Kuni, which was the place where Kakado all hid money. Horn. I have been a bounty hunter for decades. Naturally, he has a lot of money. Such a huge amount of money is naturally impossible for him to carry with him, so he puts all the money in a centralized management. Moreover, there are special guards. When Shiyu and his group of 5 people headed towards the town, the Yuyan village, thousands of miles away, also had a new movement. 2 days later, Itachi and Ghost Shark came to open black lens bracket Yuyan village close black lens bracket with open black lens bracket 4-tailed Julie Lao Z close black lens bracket, ready to start a new round of sealing. When 2 tails and 3 tails were sealed last time, 4 tails Monkey King was already captured. However, due to the long distance, there was no time to seal them together. There was a gap of 3 days in between. Seeing the ferret and the ghost shark, the voice of Pen also slowly sounded. Okay, everyone is here. However, Itachi and others were all taken aback when they heard this. Because at this time, there are only 7 people, including him and Giyu. Perceiving this, Giyu was the first to ask, no, I didn't see the flying section and angle. Hearing this, Pen was silent for a while and then replied. Those 2 were killed. Hearing the words of Pen, Itachi, Giyu, and Deidara were all taken aback. Advertisement except for their 3 threes, the other 4 fours already knew about it. Nagato, Xiaonan, Juihei Dato, one can be said to be a core member of Akatsuki. After a slight consternation, Wei Yao suddenly smiled. That's it. Unexpectedly, the zombie pair also died. The truth is how they died. In fact, not only Giyu has this idea, but the other 6 people 6 also do. They have some understanding of the abilities of flying sections and angles, and both can be called undead duo. Naturally, it has abilities different from ordinary people. Although they haven't really fought each other, but they must also recognize the strength of the 2. Able to successfully hunt the tail beast. Obviously, the guys can't get their Pen. After hearing what the ghost said, he also retorted. Ghost. How can you talk about companions like this? His words sounded like he valued his companions, but his tone didn't fluctuate much. Pain. The reason for this is very simple. He values his companions very much, that's right, but now in his eyes, there is only one real companion. That is, Shao Nan. Since Yahiko died, Nagato's heart has been completely cold, and he can only face Xiaonan. It will show a trace of warmth when it is time, because the Nagato, at this time. Advertisement it's darkened, be the closest companion, Yahiko. His heart changed when he died because of Ninja's dirty trade betrayal. His will to solve everything he thinks is unreasonable. Because he knows it well. Undoubtedly, Nagato, at this time has been taken by his own god. The psychology of Nagato, his approach to making the world peaceful, from the original, Jiraiya. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. He believes that peace can only be cherished by letting people experience pain, so when Konoha is destroyed, he will say, let the world feel your pain. Summoning the outer demon statue is the beginning. Later, he was instigated and misled by with soil, and he was born as a god, above all living beings. So from then on, he always used God. It has also become a victim of the 6 ways of pain arbitration world. A big obstacle on the road. Filu reminds you 3 things to read when reading. Controlled by his will, so that in the later battle of Yuyan village. Understanding and love, as taught it is also because of this. If the latter is alive, he will definitely become his conquer the world. And turned into violence to resolve violence, chapter 443. Yuyan village, in a dark cave. The 7 figures stood on the 7 fingers of outer golem, and they were discussing the fall of flying segments and angles. After making some jokes, Gyu asked seriously, who did it? Regarding the question of the ghost shark, before Pain can answer, the absolute on the side is the first to say. Konoha's, it's the one who killed Scorpion last time, Kakashi squad. Because of the special abilities of Absolute, he is mainly responsible for Shao to organize investigations and intelligence collection. Baiju, observation, Heiju, analysis, Ziju, although I have collected this information, I don't know anything about the detailed battles of the scene. I only know where earth-shattering battle took place, and then the flying section and angle are all dead. Moreover, even the corpse was not found. In his opinion, the 2 of the corpses should have been brought back by Konoha. But he didn't know that the 2 had already been reduced to ashes in the battle, and there was not even a bit of bones left. Hearing, Heiju, and Baiju, the with soil on the side also echoed. Very strong, that squad, the last time Deidara was beaten to death and broke his arm. As soon as he said this, Deidara was immediately unhappy. Hooligan, don't try to challenge my tolerance limit. Hearing the words, the soiled surface looked like haha, but the words still contained a hint of ridicule. Ha ha ha. The tolerance limit is based on tolerance. Yours should be called explosion limit. Advertisement, the kind that explodes when you get angry. Afei. UB asterisk 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 D. Deidara in the words was obviously abject, because the last time he used his body to escape was a shame in his opinion. However, just as Deidara was about to yell at him, Pain allowed to stop him. Deidara, be quiet. What's so angry about this? The fact that Afei said. Cut, Delata snorted lightly, and, with soil, gave another snicker. Ha ha ha. Upon seeing this, Pain was also stunned. Afei, don't you say a few words. How to say, Fei Duan is also your senior. Pain is talking about senior. At the second word, the tone paused slightly, as if there was something hidden in it. As for the tricks of this, only 5 people present knew about it. Except for Nagato, Xiaonan, and Juewa Dato 4 people 4, this last person is Itachi. NS. Because, at the beginning, he was bringing soil. Introduced Shao organization, although Itachi doesn't know about bring soil. His true identity, but he knows that the latter's position in the Shao organization is absolutely extraordinary. Moreover, Itachi also vaguely guessed what terrifying conspiracy the latter was brewing. Advertisement. This is why in Itachi, at the time of the fall, Sasuke's eyes will be set with the transcribed seal of Amaterasu. Itachi guessed, bring soil, for his plan, it is very likely that he will approach his younger brother. That's why he planted the ultimate move ahead of time, but unfortunately, he still underestimated the bring soil ability from the animation, but after the trick, bring soil used, Izanagi, to avoid the fatal blow, usual, bring soil. Only one eye is revealed, and only in combat situations will the Jiaolunyan be opened. It is also because of this. Nowadays, among the Shao organizations know that he has Shaolunyan, only Ju, Nagato, Xiaonan, and Itachi are 4 people 4, and the rest of them don't know anything about him. As for the other, eye, with soil undoubtedly on Kakashi. However, the current, bring soil, there are still 2, Jiaolunyan. The left eye, hidden behind the mask, it was transplanted, and it was also the eyes of their Uchiha clan. Under normal circumstances, he would not use this eye, only when facing death threats. Chapter 444. As the atmosphere calmed down, Gyu also spoke immediately, because he didn't want to listen to Deidara and the soil fighting between the 2. Compared to these things, let's seal 4 tails first. Wait a minute, I have something to say. As soon as Pain said this, the faces of Gyu and others once again raised doubts. Immediately after, the doubts in their hearts were also answered with Pain's next sentence, but the answer made them a little bit astonished. There is another guy killed too, there is still one. The same one breeds in the minds of Itachi, Ghost Shark, and Deidara, because they can't think of who the Scorpion is. The 3 people of Fei Duan and Angle have died, and the remaining 7 people 7 are here. As for the big snake pill, it is normal for them not to think about it for a while, because the latter has been away from Shao for 10 years. But there is actually that is, Itachi's age. Itachi became the leader of the Dark Force and completed the extermination at the age of 13, which means that Itachi should have joined Shao at this time. Advertisement. According to Pain, it has been 10 years since Dashimaru left Shao. At that time, it was because Oshomaru coveted Itachi. The open black lens bracket Shanyan close black lens bracket, wanting to take the latter's body as his own. But because the assassination failed, he left Shao directly. If you count this, the current Itachi, it should be 23 years old. But the problem is that according to official records, Itachi was only 21 years old when he died. So it could only be that Pain was confused, or Kishimoto was confused. Just when Itachi, Ghost Shark, and Deidara wondered who this person is, Pain also immediately. The answer was revealed. It's Dashawan. The 3 ghosts 3 who got the answer were all one. And obviously I didn't expect that the 10-year-old guy in Dashimaru was also killed. It doesn't matter if you die, so I don't have to kill him again. Scorpio and Deidara found his lair once, and the latter had a brief confrontation with Scorpio. Otherwise, Pen would not have been pulled into Shao at the beginning. Therefore, after learning that the Dashimaru was killed, the eyes of the ghost shark, Itachi and Deidara will show a touch of astonishment. Oshimaru is at least well known in the ninja world, but Sasuke and the others have not heard any news about Sasuke except for knowing that the latter is the younger brother of Itachi. Advertisement undoubtedly, it was an interesting duel. In the end, it was defeated because it was not enough night for Oshimaru's unclean reincarnations, but the latter still escaped. This is undoubtedly the best news for Itachi, but the problem is, all of them are wrong. Dashimaru is not Sasuke. After Oshimaru betrayed Akatsuki, he was wanted. Scorpion uses the puppet of 3 generations of Fengying. Not only the 3 of them, but also Pain and others back then. Regarding Ghost Shark's question, after Pain was slightly silent, 5 words were slowly spit out from his mouth. Kill. Filu reminds you. Reading 3 things to accept. Although Oshimaru makes people very uncomfortable, his strength is recognized. In other words, the Oshimaru was planted in his own hands. Everyone present was only shocked after learning about this, but there was still a touch of relief in the heart of another person. Simply put, Dashi Wan was killed by a rising star. This is not the point is that this rising star turned out to be a container. He cultivated himself. Sasuke Uchiha. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. He is not someone else, it is Uchiha Itachi. Sasuke is able to kill the Oshimaru, which proves that he has grown up. This is undoubtedly what he wants to see the most. Even if he dies in the future, the latter will have a certain amount in this ninja world where the weak and the strong. The power of self-preservation. The 3 ghosts who heard that were stunned, because the news was even more stunned for them than the killing of Oshimaru. And Dashiwan uses the 3 generations of wind shadows, from unclean reincarnations. The ghost shark lightly sighed, and continued. The one who can kill that Oshimaru must not be great, guy. Who is this person? Chapter 445. Shao. The information collected by the organization is wrong, and it is reasonable. After all, I saw Shi-Yu slay Oshimaru with my own eyes. Only 3 of Yamato, Naruto and Sasuke 3. If they don't go to Konoha to investigate, they will naturally not know the truth. After all, the 444 secret bases established by Oshimaru in the grass country have been thoroughly exposed. And everyone who escaped from it said it was Sasuke. Killed Oshimaru. In this regard, absolutely. I am convinced. As for the heavily guarded Konoha, unless the situation necessitates it, he obviously won't venture there. After the shock, there was an unhappy voice from Deidara's mouth. Damn it, I originally killed the Oshpill, because he and the Scorpion originally completed the task of killing the Oshimaru. But it's a pity that the latter escaped in the first fight. Later, they hunted the tail beast. Is to put the matter of Oshimaru aside. Advertisement. Now that the Scorpion has fallen, he feels that this task should be ended by him. But what he didn't expect was that Sasuke would be a step ahead, and he would inevitably feel a little unwilling in his heart. While Deidara was unhappy, the ghost shark looked at Itachi and said, "What a good job, you deserve to be Itachi's younger brother." Among the 3 of them, only Itachi remained silent after hearing the news. On the surface, it seems that he doesn't care at all, but in fact, his heart is full of satisfaction. He knows that in the past 2 years or so, his younger brother has finally grown up. At this point, the plan in his heart can finally be put on the agenda. There is no way. His condition is getting worse now, so I can't decide which one. It's going to burp, so he wanted to take advantage of himself while he was still alive. Sasuke grew up enough to protect himself, and the fastest way he knows to become stronger is to awaken kaleidoscope writing round eyes. However, what he never expected is that Sasuke has learned it. When they meet, he will be surprised. Of course, the reason Itachi wanted showing such indifference is actually protecting Sasuke in disguise. Absolutely, glanced at the 3 of them and continued. After Sasuke killed the Oshimaru, he gathered a few partners. Absolute nodded and then said, "Moreover, they're all tricky guys." Advertisement, partner. To read the novel without underline, please download and fly. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Hearing this, the ghost shark looked stunned, and then a young figure appeared in his mind, muttering to himself. The ghost screamed in astonishment. Ju and Pen only mentioned Suigetsu and Shigego. As for Shanlin, they were directly ignored. In addition to Shuei, there is another, Libra Wei's Me. In their opinion, the strength of the latter is obviously not worth mentioning, and the fact is indeed the case. Shanlin does not have much combat effectiveness, and she is good at perception and chakra, who has amazing resilience. You should be familiar with one of them, one in Ghost Lamp Brothers. Just as Giyu fell into the memory, Pain on the side also spoke again. Shuei, you have to be careful, the root of all kinds of injuries can be treated. Good. It's so nostalgic, to be precise, it should be Yang Chakra. This is why the chakra of aromatic phosphorus. If nothing else, they formed that snake team, should be for both of you. Chapter 446. After Deidara listened to the conversation between Pain and the others, he couldn't help but gain interest. Ghost, what's the background of that guy named Shuei? In response to Deidara's question, Giyu glanced at the former. There was a long silence, but probably, Shuei, the origin of it is introduced. More than 10 years ago, he was a child with a cute face. As long as the enemy is defeated by him, he will cut off his limbs, and then give a fatal blow to the head when the opponent is most desperate. For this reason, he is called the heir to Ghost Dao Di Never Kill. In general, he is a child prodigy. Didera, who was originally just curious to ask, after hearing something from the ghost, the interest in her heart became a lot stronger in an instant. He, Didera, likes to do things, especially like to give to those so-called geniuses. Prodigy, come with a little art to embellish their splendid life. The words are so nice, in fact, they just want to kill the genius, in his opinion. This is also a kind of pleasure, because while doing this kind of thing, he can let the world know as much as possible what art is. Advertisement after all, geniuses are all paid attention to, and they are highly anticipated, so they are selected as publicity, art. The goal is undoubtedly the best, immediately after. Everyone was not talking nonsense, and began to seal the 4 tails. As for Shi Yu and the others, relying on the bounty exchange office. The message that the manager confided. They also found that small town smoothly, although this small town is remote, it is very colorful. It can be seen that the circulation of gold and silver here is quite large. Zhao. It's obviously reasonable to leave their money in the town to take care of them. Because here, money makes money is not too easy. The simplest and most straightforward are gambling and borrowing usury. However, because Shi Yu does not have the spatial coordinates of this place. Therefore, it took several days for a group of 4 to arrive in this small town. So that the Shao, on the other side has already sealed 4 tails. Yuyan village, in a dark cave. Afei, you said we are going over there. Advertisement, should I go to Uchiha Sasuke, or go to Kakashi and that, Kyuubi? Hearing Didara's words, Alfie spread out his hands lazily and replied straightforwardly. Don't go anywhere, my tasks are generally completed, there is no need to worry about them. Hearing this, Daedala's eyes condensed, and she said solemnly. Do not joke. 9 tails. The kid owes me and I haven't repaid Kakashi's revenge for his broken arm. The last time he sealed open black lens bracket Ichi-tailed Shuhei close black lens bracket, he and Scorpion stayed to fight Shiyu's group. Originally, they thought that they could kill Shiyu and the others, but what he never thought was that the other party was not a fuel-efficient lamp. In the end, the Scorpion died, and he escaped at the cost of a broken arm. At that time, Kakashi suddenly displayed the weird ability of Shenwei, and Naruto transformed into 9-tailed mode 2 to 2-tail state. Facing these 2 people alone, he is no longer a rival, but now it's different. Since his last defeat, he has created a new kind of ninjutsu. Chapter 447. Do not joke. 9 tails. The kid owes me and I haven't repaid Kakashi's revenge for his broken arm. I should have been the one who killed Oshimaru, so Uchiha Sasuke can't forgive me either. Fly, let's go. When the voice fell, Daedala headed out of the cave. And, with soil, sighed lightly and immediately followed. But in fact, these are the superficial skills of Bring Earth, and the latter has long wanted to meet Sasuke for a while. Because he knows, Itachi, he can't control this person, so, he wants to see if he can control Sasuke. Watching Deidara and Tai 2 slowly go away, the ghost shark's gaze also returned to Itachi. Is this really okay, Itachi? Regarding the ghost shark's words, Itachi did not answer. It seems to be. In his eyes, Sasuke's matter has nothing to do with him. However, Giyu is not stupid, he has teamed up with Itachi for so long, and sometimes he can find a clue. Advertisement just like when he met Sasuke in Konoha 2 years ago, if Itachi really wanted to kill Sasuke, the latter would definitely not survive now. Then think of the Uchiha clan being destroyed, why only Sasuke is left. There is obviously something hidden in this. As for what it is, only Itachi himself and Danzo and Konoha are the top leaders. The other side, Shiyu and his party are already in the town, capital. A place where gold is hidden. Although there are a few guards, in the eyes of Shiyu and others, it is fundamentally 3 under 5 divided by 2 is solved. After some inquiries, they also learned a useful piece of information. Then, in a place a few hundred miles away from this small town, there is a secret stronghold of the Shao organization. Although they are not sure if Itachi is there, it is at least a useful clue, a clue where Itachi can be found. And according to the main line of the animation, Itachi was learning that Sasuke was looking for himself, so he went to the stronghold in advance and waited. Undoubtedly, his plan is about to be implemented, and Shiyu and his team immediately set off after learning about the stronghold of the Akatsuki organization. 1 day later, advertisement Shiyu and the others 5 arrived at the approximate location, but because they couldn't determine the exact entrance of this stronghold. Therefore, the 5 of them are divided into 2 teams to search, which is more efficient. Obviously, Sasuke can't wait to see Itachi. Everyone is meaningless to this. Because Shiyu nodded, what else can they say? Shuei originally agreed to join the Snake team because of Shiyu's promise. Fragrant Phosphorus is because he likes Shiyu, and Shigeo is because Shiyu helps control the natural energy in the body. Therefore, these 3 people can be said to be on the same level as Toki. Takiwa and Sasuke went to the right, and Chandran, Suizuki and Shigogo searched to the left. For this grouping, Aromatic Phosphorus was originally unwilling. But no matter how hard she can twist her thighs, Shiyu is helpless if she doesn't let go. The reason for Shiyu's grouping is simple. If Deidara and Dato show up at this time, being with Sasuke is just waiting for the rabbit. There is no need for him to bother to find Deidara. Furthermore, Shiyu also took a look at how Sasuke used kaleidoscope writing round eyes, and after Shiyu's group of 5 people were divided into 2 groups, the 5 people were divided into 2 groups. There are 2 big white birds flying towards here over a dozen miles away. A person is standing on each of the 2 big birds, both of them are wearing black-red cloud robes. Undoubtedly, both of them are members of the Shao organization. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download and fly chapter 448. There is no suspense, the 2 people standing on the backs of the white giant bird are Deidara and Dato. And that giant bird is not a real creature, but made of mud. On the bird's back, the sound of soil slowly sounded. Senior, which one shall we look for? Is it Sasuke or that Kyuubi? Hearing this, Daedalus was lost in thought, because he really hadn't thought of which one to look for first. Upon seeing this, he said something with the soil. Senior, the boss said that Sasuke wanted to find Itachi through our organization. I remember there is a stronghold of our organization not far from here, or let's go there and try our luck. For the suggestion of bringing soil, Deidara raised his hands in favor. Instead of tangling here, it's better to touch it. If you really encounter Sasuke there, it won't be perfect if you kill the latter and then go to Konoha to solve Naruto and Kakashi. However, how did Deidara know that all of this was calculated with soil, since he knew that Sasuke wanted to prevent it from looking for Itachi through them, Akatsuki? Naturally, they know exactly where Sasuke is now, and the stronghold they went to is a secret base at the border of Unokuni and Rain no Kuni. If you are lucky, there is a high probability that you will meet Sasuke there. Even if you don't meet it today, you will meet it later, with C helping him detect and collect intelligence. He can roughly grasp Sasuke's location and whereabouts. Then what are you waiting for? Let's go. Advertisement. Deidara gave a soft sigh, and then he controlled the giant bird to fly quickly towards the place where Shiyu and his group were. Shortly after, in Deidara and Taitu, they're already close to what they say. It was still there. Listlessly rushing to Ludara, the next second, a smile of joy appeared on his face. Because at this moment his 2 figures appeared in front of him. These 2 people were searching for something in Joe of this stronghold, which undoubtedly aroused his interest. What he can conclude is that the 2 are definitely not members of their group. This is the end of my thought. His whole body immediately became energetic, and the giant bird under his feet also suddenly accelerated. As they got closer, the 2 figures became more and more clear in his eyes. Although it is still far apart, his left eye, equipped with a mechanical device, you can see far away clearly. Simply put, it is equivalent to a kind of telescope. Although he doesn't have the white eyes of Hyuga clan, he also has the ability of super long distance detection by relying on the power of technology. As the figure in the field of vision became clearer, the smile on his face became stronger. Advertisement. Because these 2 people are not others, it is Shiba and Sasuke. With a big hand caressing the fluttering white ribbon, Deidara's voice suddenly sounded. Afei, it seems we are lucky, what a good thing. Rode with doubts. Hey, I found a goal, really. Of course. Is it Sasuke? You'll know later, come with me. When the voice fell, Deidara was the giant bird under his control and swiftly swept towards the location of Toki and Sasuke. Whoosh! That speed is so fast, obviously Deidara can't wait. Upon seeing it, there was no procrastination in bringing the soil, so he hurriedly followed. Although Deidara didn't tell him clearly, he already had the answer in his mind. After all, he is the one who guided Deidara here, F chapter 449. As Deidara and Dato kept approaching Tokiha and Sasuke, Takiwa paused slightly as he searched for the entrance. Obviously, what he perceives, after cultivating God's forbidden eyes, his perception is extremely sharp. Even if you don't take the initiative to display it, you can feel the movement of thousands of meters away. Even though Deidara and Taito are still some distance away from them, they are still in the air. Moreover, there is a large flow of chakras. In addition, the amount of chakras possessed by the 2 is extraordinary, by no means ordinary ninjas. Under a combination of factors, when a plume erupted, guess what? Is it finally here? Shiyu murmured in his heart, apparently already knowing the unknown person who was approaching them quickly at this moment. Seeing Shiyu stop, Sasuke couldn't help asking, Shiyu, did you find something? Sasuke's perception is not as good as Tokuha's, and he can't detect it when he is so far away. In his opinion, it may be Shiyu who discovered the entrance to the stronghold. Something. 2 people are approaching us, very fast. Hearing that, Sasuke's eyes condensed, and his expression immediately became vigilant. Advertisement. The 2 of them approached them. According to his investigation, the Shao organization basically perform tasks in pairs. And this is a secret stronghold of Akatsuki, so these 2 people are likely to be members of Akatsuki. It might even be the Itachi they were looking for. As for the other person, it should be the ghost who teamed up with him. Of course, this was just a guess made by Sasuke based on a sentence from Toki. As for whether or not Shao is organized into the Ghost Shark and Itachi, everything can only be divided after seeing it. So, Sasuke's expression is a bit agitated. After all, his purpose is to find Itachi. However, what surprised him was that he was vigilant for a while but did not see any movement around him. This result made Sasuke a little puzzled. In his opinion, Shiyu would never lie. And at this juncture, Shi-Yu certainly wouldn't joke with him. Excluding these two possibilities, there is only the last one left. That's, Shi-Yu is too worried. If he didn't know Shi-Yu's strength, he would definitely believe that this was the answer. But this answer is not impossible. The strongest people always make mistakes, or when they're careless. Therefore, he could only ask Shi-Yu for advice. Advertisement. Shi-Yu, there seems to be no one around. Shi-Yu seemed to have known that Sasuke would ask like this a long time ago, so he reached it immediately after the latter's doubts fell. There is no one around, because they are in the sky. Heavenly, Sasuke murmured, and then his gaze swept to the surrounding sky. However, the results obtained are still the same as before. He didn't see a single figure hundreds of meters away, even a bird he didn't see. In this regard, Sasuke is undoubtedly more puzzled. Next second, a light suddenly burst into his eyes, as if thinking of something, he quickly asked. Shi-Yu, are they hiding in space? After seeing Shi-Yu's flying thunder god technique, and Shenwei, I know that Sasuke has a certain understanding of space ninjutsu. If someone knows this well, it's not surprising that you have this kind of advanced ninjutsu. T chapter 450. Shi-Yu, are they hiding in space? Shi-Yu did not hide anything from Sasuke's question. No, they haven't arrived yet. Hearing this, Sasuke was taken aback for a moment. Obviously he didn't expect Shi-Yu to give such an answer. Not yet, Shi-Yu nodded, and then said, before they were about a kilometer away from us, but now? As Toki's voice stopped, Sasuke also felt two powerful chakras approaching them. This one, Sasuke's heart also flashed a shock. He didn't expect Shi-Yu to be there. The other party was so far away from them that he perceives the other party. You must know that this was when Shi-Yu did not perform any ninjutsu. Such a powerful perception is simply appalling. He originally thought that Shanglun's perception was beyond ordinary people, but he did not expect Shi-Yu's to be even more ridiculous than the latter. Immediately after, the eyes of the two instantly locked in one direction, and they saw two UFOs suddenly appeared in the sky. As the distance narrowed, Sasuke also saw his identity. They were two giant white clay birds, each standing on their backs. Although both of them are wearing hats, they can't see their faces. Advertisement, but Sasuke still recognized them at a glance, because the latter was wearing a black-red cloud robe. This is the sign of Akatsuki. At this moment, an idea flashed through Sasuke's mind. Will one of them be Itachi? But after a careful observation, a look of disappointment flashed in his eyes. With his familiarity with Itachi, at a glance, he could see that he was not his brother in front of him. While Sasuke was still wondering what identity he was in front of him, a voice rang in his ears. Well, it looks very similar to Itachi. Between discourse, Oidoju looked at Sasuke condescendingly, and asked confirmingly. You are Sasuke, right? Originally, Sasuke's expression was still very calm, but when he heard, Itachi, the expression in his eyes suddenly condensed after his name. Upon seeing this, Tai too started his own performance again. It's terrible. At this moment, a loud drink was spit out from Deidara's mouth. Open black lens bracket, drink close black lens bracket. With the sound of this standard wording, the ground on which Takiwa and Sasuke were standing indicated that there was a sudden explosion. Advertisement boom. In an instant, smoke billowed. But the explosion was evaded by Toki and Sasuke, and the two of them had already flashed a distance before the explosion. For this result, Deidara was not too disappointed, as if everything was under his control. The reason is simple, because he has already laid out his backhand in advance. Without any suspense, Daedala heard a low drink again. Open black lens bracket, drink close black lens bracket. The sound of this backquote drinking sound was accompanied by this explosion. Boom. This trap was laid by Deidara in advance. As early as when he started an explosion, he had already planted, detonating clay, around Takiwa and Sasuke. A small bomb made. This time the explosion was the moment when Takiwa and Sasuke's feet just landed. It was basically difficult to avoid. This is why, after the first explosion to no avail, Deidara still has an expression of control on her face. When most people meet the person they want to kill, they will say hello and then shoot, which seems to have become a common practice. Of course, except for those who perform assassination missions, or their low strength needs to carry out assassination operations. But Deidara is fine. The first chapter 451 boom. The second explosion was even more powerful than the first one, as can be seen from the range of smoke and dust that swept away. At this time, Deidara and Daidu have landed on the ground, looking at the place shrouded in smoke and dust from a distance. Because this time Shi-Yu and the two did not escape from the explosion. As the smoke and dust dissipated, the place of the explosion was completely exposed to Deidara's vision. But what makes the two of them surprised is that at this moment, only a huge black iron ball is reflected in their eyes. As for Tokiba and Sasuke, they were nowhere to be seen. Upon seeing this, what Deidara and Daido immediately thought of was that they might be hiding in this black iron ball. Just when such thoughts arose in the two of them, the surface of the stiff, iron-free black ball slowly melted away. It seemed that this iron ball was melted by something. As the iron ball slowly dissipated, the two figures appeared again in the sights of Deidara and the soil. As predicted, everything is no different from what they just guessed. Tokiha and Sasuke did hide in this iron ball to avoid the explosion just now. Slightly startled, Deidara finally spoke. Are you capable? However, I never thought that Big Brother Scorpion and Dashiwan would be killed by your two children. To be honest, I still don't believe it until now. Advertisement Deidara's tone was questioning, but there was a touch of excitement on his face. Regardless of true or false, he will let Tokiha and Sasuke taste his art. At this time, his excitement was not only because of Sasuke, but also because of Toki. The reason is very simple, because at the time Tokiwa and Qian, Scorpion. This result was beyond his expectation. He didn't expect that the last fight was their last conversation. Both believe in art. Although the concepts are not the same, different paths lead to the same goal. Therefore, the two of them are quite right. Therefore, their relationship is pretty good. This is like the undead duo. The same, under the stimulation of the same thing, will enhance the relationship between each other. Of course, long-term companionship may also be part of the reason. This is like Ghost Shark and Ferret. To read the novel without underline, please download and fly. According to the official introduction, his possession is just a secret technique. It's just that Deidara has a good face and always calls himself Blasting Escape in front of outsiders. You can also be regarded as Blasting Escape. Advertisement. Just now I was curious about what the black ball with shiny metallic luster is. I didn't expect it to be iron. It just so happens that we all have blood succession boundary. Shiyu showed that the magnetic escape was on the Central Ninja exam, so this matter is naturally familiar to everyone. Not the real open black lens bracket booming close black lens bracket. He can create an explosion by detonating clay. There is no need to collect this information at all. Magnetic escape. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Hearing Deidara's words, Shiyu sneered. As Deidara's voice fell, Zodiac echoed. Let me see if your magnetic escape is better or my blasting escape is better. It is said that Konoha has a little ghost with magnetic escape. It seems that it is you. No wonder it can stop my explosion, Deidara murmured, with a look of sudden realization on his face. The two don't have the same kind of things or similar abilities, but they are very harmonious. Others may not know Deidara's secret, but Erwei Chapter 452. Open black lens bracket blasting escape close black lens bracket is a fusion of the two types of chakras. Open black lens bracket properties change close black lens bracket open black lens bracket thunder attribute close black lens bracket and open black lens bracket earth attribute close black lens bracket. Therefore, Lei Dun can't restrain this escape technique at all. But in the animation, Deidara was restrained by Sasuke's Lei Dun, which turned his bomb into a dumb thunder. Therefore, it can be concluded that Deidara's ninjutsu still belongs to Tu Dun. Of course, his Tu Dun has already reached the level of transformation. If it weren't for his innate nature to have no thunder attribute chakra, the latter's talent should be able to master blasting escape during his lifetime. In order to solve this method, Deidara started with other aspects. So there was the later, detonating clay, once the detonating clay in his pocket. After using it up, he can no longer perform the explosion secret technique. After hearing what Shiyu said, Deidara, who was still smiling, instantly turned gloomy. Little devil, do you doubt that you will not blast escape? Will it or not? Don't you have any compelling numbers in your heart? At this time, Deidara was a little bit angry and depraved, and for a while, he didn't know how to refute it. Because this is indeed the case, he will not burst out. Moreover, it is impossible to learn in his life. Unless someone helps him transform his body, let him get the thunder attribute chakra that he has never possessed. In this regard, Deidara can only terminate the conversation. Too lazy to talk nonsense with you, I will send you to hell now. Hearing that, Shiyu knew that Deidara was about to do something and said to Sasuke beside him. Advertisement, Sasuke, hand over the masked man. Shiyu's purpose is simple, his mission goal is Deidara. As for bringing soil, he didn't have much interest. So, let him play with Sasuke. It just so happens that Sasuke can also take this opportunity to hone the open black lens bracket kaleidoscope writing round eye close black lens bracket. Actual combat is the fastest way to improve his proficiency. It is good. Sasuke nodded and agreed directly. Next second, I saw Sasuke slip away and lost his place. Seeing Sasuke rushing towards the two of him, Deidara's eyes condensed for an instant, and two words were subconsciously spit out in his mouth. So fast, immediately afterwards, Sasuke's grass pheasant sword directly swung towards the soil. Shit. Since Deidara is standing next to the dirt, if he doesn't run away, he will definitely be hit by a sword. Seeing the attack approaching, Deidara's instinctive reaction was naturally to dodge. With his strength, coupled with the fact that he knew the attack in advance, the Jianfeng avoiding Sasuke is naturally not a problem. Whoosh! Without any accident, Deidara had already flashed to the side of the big tree 1 second before the Jianfeng was about to touch him. It may seem easy, but in fact it requires keen insight. Otherwise, he is likely to be severely injured by this sword, or even cut his throat directly and die. Deidara has already touched the Shadow Class advertisement level. It's normal to have such reflexes. However, although Deidara dodged, the soil was hit by a sword. Shiyu, I've done it here, or I can solve it by the way, so I can ask Itachi's information from his mouth as soon as possible. Immediately after, the soil was naturally unscathed, and the appearance of falling down just now was nothing more than intentional. Filu reminds you. 3 things about reading. He was surprised to find that the soil that fell on the ground was slowly standing up at this moment, and there was no injury at all. So he thought that it was not that the soil could not avoid this sword, and the latter was too lazy to hide. Because during the period of time with the team with the soil, he also probably knew some of the abilities of the latter. At this point, Shiyu in the distance can also have a panoramic view. This earthy, Shenwei, plays more than Kakashi, and it can be said that it is a peak. But Deidara didn't have the slightest worry on her face when she saw this scene. Sasuke's tone seemed to be asking for instructions. After all, Shiyu didn't let him take a shot at Deida just now. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. This is indeed the case. Hearing Shiba's words, Sasuke glanced back. Boom. Sasuke glanced lightly at the soil on the ground and said slowly. Sasuke, don't be careless. The body with soil fell to the ground under the gaze of Sasuke and Deidara. It seems that this guy is not easy. Chapter 453. The soil was still indifferent, and he did not forget to wipe the dust on his body with his hand. Upon seeing this, Deidara couldn't help but snorted softly. Afei, don't be careless just because the other party is a kid. That guy's shattering technique is too fast, we can't match it. There is a hint of helplessness in the tone of soil, as if the facts are really as he said. Really? Deidara complained, and said to Bandu, you take him to the other side, don't interfere with the fight with that kid. Oh. Bring the soil lightly, and immediately moved away from Deidara. Because this result is just right for him, he also wants to try the current Sasuke has a few kilograms. Seeing the soil jump into the forest, Sasuke directly followed. After the two disappeared from the sight of Shiyu and Deidara, the latter spoke again. Boy, now we can fight hard. Let's look forward to it. I will see what art is next. I will wait and see. Hearing Shiyu's arrogant answer, Deidara's mood was even more upset. Advertisement at this time, he had already labeled Shiyu a death label. In any case, the latter must die today. Indignant, but he was still relatively calm when fighting. In other words, he is not completely angry right now. Deidara's gaze is fixed on Shiyu, and he calculates in his heart. First use, one clay spider, to test it. Deidara is not stupid. Scorpion was killed by teaming up with Chiyo. Because of this, he felt that Shiyu should have had something wrong. Clay spider. A small spider with a small appearance, which can climb on people and explode. Its explosive power is the smallest, and it is a small detonating clay. It is mainly used in secret operations or during raids and testing. To use, only 3 seals are required. See Shen Yin. This is the end of my thought. Deidara was also nonsense, and saw that his hands were directly inserted into the pockets that were tied around his waist. His left and right. There is a mouth in each palm, which is to make some transformations in order to cooperate with the secret art he created. In addition to these two mouths, there is also one in his heart. That is his final whole card, the whole card that will die with everyone. Of course, his own mouth can also make a clay bomb. With the completion of the clay spider, Deidara has no extra nonsense. Directly put dozens of clay spiders in your hands. Throw it all out, and then quickly seal it, next second. Advertisement. The clay spider, that was still silent as a dead thing. Suddenly there was life, and he swiftly swept towards Shiyu. Upon seeing this, Shiyu felt any panic in his eyes. With a wave of his hand, silver rays of light flew out of his palm. Shoo, shoo, shoo. There is no suspense. Those silver chakra needles directly remove all the clay spiders. It's all through. Ding, 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 boom, boom, boom. Some were nailed to trees, and some were nailed to the ground. Seeing this scene, I originally wanted to shout, drink. Deidara's face also froze in an instant. A clay spider. Even if he couldn't get close to Shiyu, even if he started the explosion, it was no use. However, what Deidara never expected is that now even if he activates those clay spiders, it won't explode. The reason is simple, because Shiyu shoots thunder attributes. The chakra fine needles. Others may not know Deidara's weaknesses, but Shiyu knows chapter 454. After dissolving Deidara's one clay spider, Toki's voice also faintly sounded. Just this kind of garbage deserves art. In order to better complete the task, Shiyu is also merciless in words. Hearing that, the surprise on Deidara's face immediately turned into an uncomfortable color. Others may be able to bear ridicule him, but ridiculing his work is not art, which is absolutely unacceptable to him. Boy, don't be too early. The trick just now is just an appetizer. As for whether I can see my better art, that depends on whether you have that strength. After a burst of anger, Deidara also stopped talking nonsense. I saw his hands inserted into his pockets again, and then detonated the clay as before. Bit into the palm of his mouth, but this time is obviously not different from the first time. At this time, no small spider appeared in Deidara's hand, but the detonating clay that was eaten directly flowed out. The clay was chewed. Afterwards, there was chakra attached to it. Therefore, they are all under the control of a rival. At this time, there was continuous sticky clay flowing out of Deidara's palms and mouths, and it fell on the ground and began to accumulate. Advertisement immediately after. Those clays were Shiyu's gazes that changed into two clay puppets with neither humans nor ghosts, and their actions were extremely peculiar. The moment the puppet was formed, Deidara's voice also sounded. I see how you can resolve my trick. After a shout, the two clay puppets suddenly rushed towards Shiyu. The reason why these two clay puppets can move is that there is a thin clay line behind them connecting the two mouths of Deidara's palms. This principle is manipulated with the puppet master, and the thin clay line is the channel for instilling chakra. For this trick Deidara is full of confidence, because no matter how Shiyu defeated these two puppets, they would not die. Even if Shiyu blasted them into countless pieces, he can still rely on those fine clay lines. Let them move again. Therefore, this thing will only hit more and more, and the unwillingness will not decrease. Until Shiyu is accidentally possessed by clay for a while, it is a perfect art explosion. NS. I have to say that Deidara's plan is quite perfect. If you don't understand his combat methods and ninjutsu characteristics, he will inevitably be hit hard by this trick. Advertisement, even death directly. Seeing the two clay puppets that were facing him, Shiyu's mouth showed a slight arc. He had already seen Deidara's method of warfare a long time ago. Therefore, the latter's thoughts at this time are naturally clear to him, since the task of the system is art. When he conquered Daedala, you naturally wanted to defeat him with more magnificent means. To put it simply, you have to be a little bit more bells and whistles. This kind of thing is generally difficult for ninjas to do. After all, this is a terrible battle. Who would think about how to be artistically at this time? Beat the opponent. Basically, it is how to win, and then there is still thinking about these boring things. Indeed, if it weren't for the system's task, Shiyu didn't want it. What is special about art in defeating the enemy? This kind of thing, except for Scorpion and Deidara, who have fanatical persistence and pursuit in their hearts, will do it. In order to complete the task, Shiyu can only show some tricks. Deidara, don't you pretend that you will burst out. Now I will let you see the real blasting escape. With a low murmur in his mouth, Shiyu's body instantly filled with two attributes of Chakra chapter 455. In those two clay puppets, when attacking Shiyu, the two chakras that surged on his body instantly merged into one. Immediately after, this brand new attribute chakra gathered directly on Shiyu's right hand, and there seemed to be a burst of dull thunder on that fist. Next second, Shiyu didn't hesitate, and he shot out a punch directly in Deidara's gaze. This scene made Deidara very puzzled, because Shiyu was not attacking any clay puppet, but in the middle of the two. According to common sense, this attack is undoubtedly frustrated. As this kid, fighting eyes, at this moment, Deidara couldn't help but flash this thought in his mind. Otherwise, he really couldn't think of why Shiyu's attack was so cheap. From the previous dialogue, it can be seen that Shiyu is not stupid, and the latter did not fear him at all. In addition, his attacks at the moment are sparse and ordinary, and there is no pressure at all. Therefore, it is absolutely impossible for Shiyu to be confused because of this. Just as there was a doubt on Deidara's face, a powerful explosion suddenly sounded. Advertisement boom. Immediately afterwards, Deidara was shocked to see that the two puppets under his control were turned into flying ashes. This scene completely exceeded his expectations, and the result before him was not the same as he expected. His two clay puppets turned into ashes particles in the explosion just now, and they can no longer grow indefinitely. But this is not the point, he just doesn't have the point. In other words, this explosion was not caused by him. Therefore, there are only two possibilities for this scene. The first is his two. I exploded. But this can be it was quickly ruled out by Deidara because he was playing detonating clay. After so many years, there has never been such a mistake. This clay artwork, it was blessed by his chakra. If it weren't activated by him, it's definitely impossible to explode, if it were the clay puppets out of its control. If it is not impossible that this result may be caused by some external factor. Advertisement, although the probability is quite small, it still exists, but the problem is that his clay puppet. However, it is absolutely impossible for him to connect his palms with thin clay lines. Therefore, there is only the second possibility left. Apart from him, only Shiyu is left. If this explosion was not caused by him, then it must be the latter. At this point, his gaze instantly turned to Shiyu. When he saw that there was still a wisp of mist on Shiyu's fist, he seemed to think of this moment, and a figure suddenly appeared in his mind. This person is not someone else, it was in the past. Village, the captain of the blasting team, hunting. Deidara envied the latter because of hunting. It is a ninja who holds the blood boundary of Bakuden. If the latter wants to explode, he doesn't need him to do so much trouble, just use ninjutsu directly. But what if he doesn't have detonating clay? It can't be done. That's why Deidara said directly to others that he was casting booming done. The purpose is to prevent him from knowing this weakness. And the reason why he would think of this person at this time was because the ninjutsu that Shiyu had just performed was quite similar to the former. Chapter 456. With a guess in his heart, Deidara asked directly. Boy, what escape technique did you use just now? Daedala's tone between the words was filled with shock, because he had already determined that he was inseparable. After all, this open black lens bracket explosive mind fist close black lens bracket he had seen it with his own eyes before. Therefore, I just caught the clue at a glance. The reason for asking this question is to make the final confirmation. There are many ninjutsu in the ninjutsu world, and it is not impossible for someone to create similar ninjutsu occasionally. Therefore, Deidara did not directly indicate when questioning. When he heard that, Shiyu smiled faintly and then said, Oh, why do you ask knowingly? As a member of Yanyan village, you should have seen this blasting landmine fist. As Shiyu said this, the shock in Deidara's eyes instantly appeared on his face. Sure enough, he guessed right. Shiyu's envoy was indeed booming escape. This result was far beyond his expectations. He did not expect Shiyu to have magnetic escape, in addition to being able to master other things. A kind of blood succession boundary. Most people want to realize that one type is as difficult as reaching the sky, and the two types are both blessed by the heavens. Advertisement. In addition to strength, a part of luck is needed. Take him as an example. Enough talent, but luck is too bad. What he pursued throughout his life was explosive art. Open black lens bracket booming close black lens bracket. Two attributes are needed. Open black lens bracket thunder close black lens bracket and open black lens bracket earth close black lens bracket. The tragedy is that he was born without the thunder attribute. Otherwise, with his talent and disposition, he would be able to comprehend blasting escape during his lifetime. But it is a pity that he is destined to not have this fate. If he works hard towards other bloodstain limits, he may be able to comprehend other derivative escape techniques. Also say certain. It is like the Black Earth, whose talent is not as good as his, that is, his junior and sisters, all have mastered the blood succession limit of melt escape. Of course, the latter may be due to the inheritance of the blood of 3 generations of Hokage Onoki. It turns out that he can do it himself. In this way, he can naturally see the clues at a glance. This, landmine boxing, is just the most basic use of blasting escape. You should appreciate this next move. She can only integrate the chakras of the 2 attributes of fire and earth. Although she failed to inherit the blood succession elimination, she achieved her own blood succession boundary. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Advertisement. This is why it is necessary to follow the blood. Developed to the extreme. Earlier, he thought Shiyu was a cross-eyed. But he is different. He is a million times talent blessing. Therefore, any escape technique, whether it is blood succession limits, blood succession elimination, or blood succession banning, they can all be inherited by blood. The latter's talents are limited and cannot be used for this escape technique. At the same time, he also understood why Shiyu had dared to conclude that the explosion he caused was not blow done. Filu reminds you. 3 things about reading well. I didn't expect the latter to have mastered the derivative escape technique he wanted to destroy. Will be developed to the extreme in his hands. Just as Deidara was in shock, Shiyu's voice slowly sounded. The meaning of the naming. At this moment, Deidara was extremely shocked. Shiyu can be different from the shooting in Yanyan village. Chapter 457 Whoosh. After sensing Shiyu's abilities, Deidara immediately moved away from him. Shiyu's magnetic escape and Bakuduna seemed to be close-range ninjutsu and his detonation clay. It is the long-distance facilitating. Coupled with the reason that Deidara always fights like this all the year round, it leads to his physical skills. Not very strong. If you were hit by that mind fist head-on, you would either die or be injured. After pulling a distance from Shiyu, Deidara also used his best attack method. Air combat. As soon as I thought of this, Deidara directly displayed 2 dragons. As the name suggests, it uses detonation clay, create a giant flying dragon. But the difference is, this flying dragon can spit out detonating clay. The speed and power of the attack are amazing. As Deidara's hand printed a knot, a muffled noise suddenly sounded. Bang! Next second. A huge, white flying dragon. It was Shiyu's field of vision, cleverly crawling beside Deidara. Although it is a dead thing, it seems to have life in Deidara's hands. Upon seeing this, Deidara is not nonsense. Advertisement. One jumped up, jumped directly, and stood firmly on the dragon's head. Immediately after, the white flying dragon vibrated on its wings and directly rose up. At this moment, Deidara looked down at Shiyu from a condescending manner, and a playful look once again appeared on his face. Because this is the way he is best at fighting, as long as he is in the sky, it is difficult for ordinary ninjas to threaten him. Even the strongest ninja, it is difficult to attack him without mastering some special ninjutsu. For example, like 4 generations of Riking, Kai Huang's, there is no way to use him at all. And just as Deidara was suspended in the air, another battlefield and soil were also seen. Looking at the giant flying dragon, Sasuke's expression was slightly startled. But that's all. Because in his opinion, even this flying, no matter how huge and powerful the dragon is, it will never be Shiyu's opponent. Knowing Shiyu, he was determinedly confident in the former. The reason why he showed such an expression at this moment was just that he was surprised at that giant dragon. Sasuke didn't know what this ninjutsu was, but he knew it all. Looking at the white flying dragon floating in the sky, with earthy eyes, he deliberately said loudly. That's Senior Deidara's 2 dragons, super awesome. The purpose of Taito's words is very simple. Although he wants to try Sasuke's ability, he doesn't want to do it himself. Advertisement. Because in that case, his identity is likely to be exposed. As long as he fights, Sasuke will definitely be able to perceive the fact that he has Shulunyan. Therefore, he wants Sasuke to help Tokiha. As for Deidara, after the battle is over, he can just make up any reason. For example, he said that he was temporarily trapped by Sasuke. The idea of bringing soil is wonderful, but the facts are not as he wanted. Sasuke's face did not show a trace of worry because of his words. On the contrary, his eyes had returned to the latter. He must follow Shiyu's instructions and drag the soil. If the strength permits, it is best to kill directly. Oidu was puzzled when he saw Sasuke, so he couldn't help but ask. Are you not worried about your companions at all? Don't need me to worry, Sasuke said coldly when asked about the soil. Although what Sasuke said was the truth, it was Sasuke who was a little cold-blooded in the eyes of Oito. Among the information he collected, Sasuke had already rebelled against Konoha. And the kid who was with him just now was Konoha, who was famous for 3 years ago, and he guessed that they should have been in the same team before. As for why the two were together before, it seemed to him that it was the latter who sought Sasuke. I have to say that there is indeed some truth to the analysis with soil. If Toba hadn't come into this world back then, Sasuke is indeed like this now. Chapter 458. After some conversation, Sasuke was also not talking nonsense, and drew out the pheasant sword behind him and cut it directly toward the soil. To this, bringing soil is also quite helpless, and can only challenge, at the same time. The smile on Deidara's face standing on top of the white flying dragon's head became more and more intense, as if he was holding the winning ticket. He looked down at Shiyu below, and the cold voice rang along with it. Boy, my performance is next. When the voice fell, Deidara also stopped talking nonsense. I saw a knot in his hand, and the flying dragon under his feet instantly opened the mouth of the blood basin. Immediately after, one head, Mini, the white flying dragon spit out from his mouth, and then directly rushed towards Shiyu. In Mini White Flying Dragon, the moment he approached Shiyu, Deidara's mouth came out again with a violent shout. Open black lens bracket, drink close black lens bracket, advertisement with the sound of his shout, the Mini White Flying Dragon. It exploded directly. Simply put, this Mini White Flying Dragon. It's just a one cannonball, and the huge white dragon is the turret. Moreover, it is still a flying turret, or it is a fighter. This is the power of two dragons. Not only can it provide flying capabilities, it can also make cannonballs for long-range launch attacks. At the beginning, Deidara used this technique to break his prestigious name, Blasting Kid. The title is also derived from this. The most abnormal of this technique is that he can be human, but it is difficult for others to attack him. This is also why Deidara can sometimes blast opponents who are stronger than him. One of the reasons for killing. As for the other factors, it is careless, because Deidara's Garuda trick is basically not many people can solve it. After all, this is a nano level bomb. With the Mini White Flying Dragon, the explosion, a sound of explosion also spread. Advertisement boom. But when the smoke dissipated, Shiyu still stood unscathed. Obviously, the explosion just now did not cause any harm to Shiyu. For this, Deidara didn't have much surprise. Let's not say that Shiyu has mastered the defensive ninjutsu of magnetic escape, and the explosive evacuation landmine fist can use the same explosive method to counteract his attack. As an old artist in the explosive world, he still knows this. A small white flying dragon Shiyu can withstand it, but if there are 2, 3, or even more. This is Deidara's ultimate goal. At this moment, he is located in high school, occupying a geographical advantage, and Shiyu can only be passively beaten. After a long time, no one can stand it. Once Shiyu is negligent or exhausted, that is when the latter is dead. This is the plan Deidara envisioned, although this combat plan will take a lot of time, as long as there is an explosion. Accompanied by him, he can accept it no matter how long it takes. This is the artist, crazy. Just after Deidara planned everything, his eyes suddenly stopped in the next second. Immediately after, an incredible look appeared on his face, as if seeing something incredible. At this moment, there is a figure reflected in his eyes. This figure is not someone else, it is Shiyu. But this is not the point. The point is that the latter is slowly floating from the ground at this time. Chapter 459. Seeing Shiyu, who was floating on the opposite side of him, Deidara's face was filled with a thick astonishment. Obviously, this scene completely surprised him. Looking at the ninja world, ninjas who can fly in the air with their own abilities are definitely rare. Even if it is extolled as the god of ninja, his Senshu Juma, he also doesn't have this ability. Among the people Deidara knows, only his master possesses this ability. That is to say, the dying of Iwayne village, Onoki. The latter's edging super light and heavy rock art is huge to reduce the focus of the human body, so that the body can float. He yearned for this ninjutsu very much, but unfortunately he never had the opportunity to talk to Onogi. Learn this technique, in order to pursue his own art. Left, Yanyan village, resolutely and resolutely. Now as a defection ninja, obviously, he has lost this qualification. At this time, Toki's ability is similar to that of Onoki. The effect of the escape technique is similar, which is why he is so shocked at the moment. A ninja with flying ability is really rare, as for Pen, because the latter has hardly shown his true strength in front of everyone. So few know the ability of 6 ways of pain. After a few thoughts flashed in his head, Deidara couldn't help but ask with curiosity in his heart. Advertisement, little devil, I didn't expect you to have such a ninjutsu. Hearing that, Shiyu didn't show pride on his face, and he still looked like Jiyu Jingwubo. I have a lot of ninjutsu, however, you may not be able to see all of it. Shiyu's words were extremely domineering, Wan's words to the weak. This is indeed the case. Toki is much better than Deidara. Even if Toki only kills Deidara today, the latter will not be able to see all the ninjutsu that Toki has mastered. Not to mention him, even Naruto Kasi and others don't know what Shiyu has learned. How much ninjutsu? It seems that as long as it is the ninjutsu that has appeared in the ninja world, the latter will be ordinary. even those that do not exist may appear in the hands of the latter. For example, blood succession sealing the art of burning, escape and extinguishing cinders. Hearing Shiyu's words, the shock on Deidara's face instantly turned into anger. He has experienced countless times of knowing that he has been known, and today is the first time he has been looked down upon by his opponents. To read the novel without underline, please download and fly. In Shiyu's words, it was mentioned that Deidara knew this technique, and he was still in the Rocky Mountain Village, the art of light and heavy rock. But it's a pity that he met Shiyu, and what he will end up in the end is still unclear. Advertisement. This is indeed the case. But looking at Shiyu's floating appearance is indeed as effective as the super light and heavy rock art effect, so he has to believe it. Because the task given by the system is only in art. There was a hint of playfulness on Shiyu's face between the words, and the profound expression in his eyes seemed to tell Deidara something. When he conquered Deidara, he did not clearly indicate that he would kill the former. At this moment, the two eyes were facing each other, and both sides knew it well. The atmosphere remained stalemate for a few seconds, and Shiyu spoke again. Then next, let me see what an exploding visual feast is. As for the ninjutsu that allowed me to float in the air, as a member of Rocky Hide Village, you must have heard of it. This is the end of my thought. Therefore, his life and death depend on Shiyu's mood. Seeing the anger that suddenly appeared on Deidara's face, Shiyu's voice also rang again. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Deidara, don't you think that art is an explosion? Deidara's face was covered with a deep consternation, obviously unwilling to believe this fact. Now he is only 19 years old, which is exactly the age of blooming. Especially this opponent is younger than himself. You must know that the enemies he fought with are older than him. After all, he was a teenager. Chapter 460. Deidara, don't you think that art is an explosion? Then next, let me see what is the visual feast of art explosion. When the voice fell, Shiyu immediately started to act. With a wave of his big hand, a powerful pressure suddenly filled the air. Undoubtedly, that was the pressure produced by the flow of chakra. Immediately afterwards, there were 4 explosions in the world. Boom, 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 boom. These 4 sounds all came from above the ground, and naturally they attracted Deidara's attention in the first place. At the same moment when these 4 voices sounded, 4 beams of light burst out. Go straight up to the sky, as if piercing through the sky. The first sight will make people feel shocked. This is the case of Deidara at this time, and a pair of eyes follow the 4 light pillars that penetrate the sky. When he came back to his senses, he was shocked, because these 4 dark purple light beams are not simple, they have formed an enchantment barrier. And he is already trapped in it. Deidara's gaze swept toward the 4-sided barrier of this trapped self, trying to see some clues. Soon he discovered that there was an extra statue at the location of the 4 dark purple beams shot previously, 444 lifelike, little ghost statues. With many years of experience in studying various artistic styles, he recognized these 444 little ghost statues at a glance. The origin. That is, the legendary ghost monster. For a while, Daedala looked a little fascinated advertisement. At the same time, the battle between Sasuke and Daido was also temporarily stopped, and they were obviously all attracted by the 4 beams of light rising into the sky. During this period of time, in order not to reveal the fact that he has the Shoringan, Oizu dealt with and fought with Sasuke. It is also because of this that Sasuke's strength cannot be positive at all. Just when Sasuke wanted to open the flower tube and display Amaterasu, he was stopped by this scene. At this moment, Sasuke's face was surprised, because he had never seen this ninjutsu. He didn't know whether this was cast by Shiyu or Deidala, although this enchantment rising to the sky is somewhat similar to enchantment ninjutsu for purple flame array. But Sasuke has never seen it. Because Sasuke chased Gaara the first time 3 years ago, he did not see the 4 Atonin and the 4. This technique used together. In addition, Sasuke didn't know the full strength of Deidara, so he couldn't determine who was responsible for this scene in the first time. Sasuke didn't know, but Taito knew. It is also because of this. At this moment, there was also a look of surprise on his face. This was the first time he showed this look when he saw Toki and Sasuke. Because he knew that Deidara would definitely not perform this technique, then only Shiyu was left, or someone later did it. But in the distant battle zone, he only perceives 2 chakras. Moreover, it depends on a person's talent. Of course, there is a case to rule out. Advertisement. He didn't see it. 4Z an array, as a temporary restriction of shadow. Level up. That is, you can rely on the number of people to force it, that is, the division of labor and cooperation between several people. It's like the original 4 of sounds of Shinobi and 4, each of them controls a foot formation separately, and together they can form a complete enchantment. Because this is a brand new ninjutsu developed by Shiyu in conjunction with the 4 purple flame array, it was used to conquer Deidara this time. Therefore, it can only be the second possibility. Shiyu must be the one who displayed this 4 purple flame array, and this is the reason for his surprise. This is the reason for the shock. However, this is not the case. Otherwise, there won't be such a final conclusion, of course. Although this ninjutsu is not 4 purple flame array, it has a close relationship with it. This has a similar principle to compound ninjutsu. If this 4 purple flame array is really the work of Shiyu, it means that the latter's strength has reached the shadow. In other words, this enchantment ninjutsu is naturally only capable of reaching shadow. Filu reminds you. 3 things about reading on the surface. The ninjutsu performed by Shiyu looked a lot like the enchanted ninjutsu for Purple Flame Array, but this was only the side that can be seen with the soil. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Just like the 444 little ghost statues on the ground. The level of freedom of ninjutsu for the strong, the degree of difficulty can be imagined. Only the strong at the level have the opportunity to master it. Chapter 461. In addition to the movement of Shiyu's use of this technique, it attracted the attention of Sasuke and Moto, and naturally it also attracted the attention of the 3 people who had previously separated from them. Although the 2 of them separately searched for the entrance to the stronghold of the Akatsuki organization, they were obviously not too far away. They are not blind, so naturally they can notice the dark purple beam of light that runs through the sky. Besides, there is also a very sensitive incense phosphorus among the 3 of them. With her here, it would be difficult for them to find out what Shiyu was doing there. Seeing this, Shui Yu, who had always been talkative, was the first to speak. What it is, the fragrant phosphorus that heard the words immediately sensed it, and a look of worry appeared on his face. This is also the stronghold of Akatsuki's organization. No matter which side they are, they may encounter danger. After some perception, Shanlin's expression was also stagnant. No, Shiyu and the others seemed to have encountered an enemy. Enemy? Suizuki murmured, and then asked, but that guy named Uchiha Itachi. Hearing this, the fragrant phosphorus couldn't help but glance at the former, and gave an angry cry. Are you stupid? I haven't met Itachi Uchiha again. How'd I know if it is Sasuke's brother who is fighting with them? Advertisement, Shui Yu was taken aback for a moment. Although he was a little unhappy at this time, there was no way to go back. Because his question just now was indeed a bit stupid. Soon after, Shuei opened again. Then what are you waiting for? Let's go quickly. Hearing that Shanlin and Shigego both ordered, and the 3 of them immediately acted. Although they believe in Shiyu's strength, they will inevitably have a trace of worry in their hearts. After all, the opponent is very likely to be a member of Akatsuki. This is Akatsuki's secret stronghold, and the enemy you encounter here is naturally a member of this organization. Those who have dealt with Oshimaru deeply know that the former has good strength. And, Maru, he moved away and returned to Shiyu again. At this moment Deidara's gaze is already on the ground that is a little ghost statue. Little devil, you want to trap me with this kind of enchantment. Advertisement, I think you might have a misunderstanding about this technique. It's normal for them to have thoughts. Although they knew Shiyu who killed Oshimaru, the key was that they didn't know enough about Shiyu's strength. It's a brand new, blasting escape, that I created by fusing the enchantment ninjutsu, called 4 Ghosts Flame Blast. He was once a member of the Shao organization. This ninjutsu does look very similar to enchantment ninjutsu, but it is not pure enchantment ninjutsu. Therefore, it is reasonable to have some worry in my heart. As they rushed to disappear into the same place, the battle on Toki's side also intensified. However, Shiyu's answer made Deidara's expression startled. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. It can be seen that the members of this organization are not good stubborns. Some of them are weaker than Oshimaru, and naturally they may be stronger than the latter. So even if Shiyu has the ability to kill Oshimaru, if she encounters a stronger opponent, the result will be unknown to them. Seeing Deidara's puzzled face, Shiyu also kindly reminded him. Misunderstanding. Chapter 462, 4 Ghosts Scorching Fire. Deidara murmured, and the astonishment on his face became more intense. He didn't expect Shiyu to create open black lens bracket Baku done close black lens bracket ninjutsu, and it was still combined with enchantment ninjutsu. As a veteran of blasting, he naturally knows the shortcomings of bombs. There are 2 shortcomings of bombs. The first is the power and the second is the hit rate. The power is not strong enough to injure the enemy or even kill the opponent. But the power of the bomb is not enough. If it can't hit the enemy, everything is in vain. Others are not fools, they won't be stupid enough to stand still and bomb you. Therefore, it is very important to improve the accuracy of the bomb, so that sometimes it is necessary to set mines and other means in advance. If everything is as Shiyu said, he obviously has made it possible for his opponent to avoid it. Combine enchantment ninjutsu with explosive ninjutsu. In this way, the explosion created can basically hit 100%. The only exception is that the opponent's strength is strong enough to break the barrier forcibly and escape. In addition, you can only die in the enchantment. Deidara used to have this kind of thought, although it is not like Shiyu's fusion of enchantment ninjutsu. But he thought about how to limit one's ability to move to the greatest extent. After all, the bomb only makes sense if it hits, but it is a pity that he racked his brains and couldn't come up with a perfect idea. Only the fusion of enchantment ninjutsu, advertisement. This kind of groundbreaking idea is completely beyond his consideration. The reason is very simple. The first type, once the enchantment ninjutsu is cast, the opponent is trapped in it and is outside the enchantment. Then the explosion you created may have been blocked by the barrier, or your bomb directly helped the opponent escape the barrier. The second type, if you and your opponent are in between, then he himself probably is in danger of being affected by the explosion. All the factors added together can't match the two. But what Deidara didn't expect was that he completely merged the two together. This kind of heaven-defying technique was undoubtedly unheard of, so that there was a trace of doubt in his heart at this time, and he was questioning the truth and falsehood of Shiyu's words. Without saying anything, Deidara directly verified it with his hands. I saw his two fingers together, and a seal was formed in his hand, and then the white flying dragon under his feet spit out a mini white flying dragon. Immediately after, under his control, he moved directly towards the dark purple combination on one side. In Flying Dragon Cannonball, the moment it touched the barrier, a loud bang suddenly came out. Advertisement boom. Undoubtedly, it was a terrible explosion. Seeing the white flying dragon that instantly turned into fly ash out of thin air and the smoke and dust that filled there, the expression in Deidara's eyebrows became more solemn. Because he didn't confide, drink, just now sound, in other words, he did not activate the bomb of the white flying dragon. He didn't activate it, but the latter exploded. This can only be called a problem, that is, the dark purple enchantment that will be trapped is not as simple as it seems on the surface. Perhaps, they are a kind of bomb in themselves. After this idea flashed in his mind, Deidara was to verify the conjecture. This time he directly caused the white flying dragon to spit out 3 flying dragons, and at the same time slammed into the other 3 dark purple enchantments. Boom. 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 There was no accident, and the result was the same as before. This scene confirmed his conjecture. The dark purple enchantment that trapped him in front of him was made of bombs, and it would be activated once a foreign object touched it. The simple sentence is, enchantment is a bomb, and a bomb is an enchantment. However, there is a huge doubt in Deidara's heart at this time. If every point of this enchantment is made up of bombs, then why doesn't it cause one to move the whole body after an explosion? If it is all bombs, the whole body must be activated. But the problem is this is the key point that Deidara is puzzled. Fate chapter 463. If every point of this enchantment is made up of bombs, then why doesn't it cause one to move the whole body after it explodes in one place? If it is all bombs, the whole body must be fully activated, Dara said. Tokikawa Tokiha, I admit that I underestimated you before. However, I don't understand a little bit why this explosive enchantment did not fully explode after a little burst. When Shi Yu heard the words, a flash of joy flashed in his heart, but his face still looked like Ji Yu Jing Wubo. Daedala was able to ask like this, indicating that he was already shocked by Shi Yu. As long as Shi Yu is working hard and telling him the real reason, he should be able to get the latter's approval. In this way, it is almost close to completing the task. After a thought flashed in his mind, Shi Yu smiled slightly. The reason is very simple. This is not only an enchantment, but also a bomb that can explode at any time. The key to which one you want to become depends on me. Advertisement, simply put, I have mastered the life and death of the trapped people. The reason why you didn't touch the whole thing when you verified it just now is because it is only an enchantment now. Hearing Shi Yu's words, Deidara was stunned in an instant, but at the same time, he was shocked again because of these words. He didn't expect that this, 4 Ghosts Flame Blast, could still be played like this. To know that if you want to do this, the only possibility is that you have installed a bomb on your opponent. In this way, the effect is the same, but this situation is impossible to apply, because the premise is that you have already captured the opponent. If this is the case, there is no this is the biggest difference between the two. Shi Yu's ninjutsu can be used in battle. If the recruiter does not have the powerful strength to break the barrier, life and death will be between the operator's thoughts. After all, sometimes some enemies have to be captured alive. Of course, even if the recruit has the ability to destroy the barrier, the caster can directly detonate it at the moment the former wants to destroy the barrier. This can be considered a backhand. Even if it can't kill the recruiter, it can at least cause him serious injury. So, this trick is too practical. Advertisement, you can either capture the opponent alive or directly kill it. As long as the opponent is recruited, his life and death are between your thoughts, as a barrier, as long as someone wants to break through. Once touched, the countless tiny spots of light that make up the enchantment will explode. If the impact exceeds a certain level, it will be activated, so after one of the explosions, it will only affect a part of the area, and it will not completely erupt as a whole. Because it is only an enchantment with explosive backlash, and the energy in it is still in an inactive state. The key to activating them is that there is a little ghost statue on the ground. Only Shi Yu knew about this. This is the reason for their existence. After learning about the power of this technique from Shi Yu, Deidara was shocked, and his face also showed dissatisfaction. In his opinion, he was underestimated by Shi Yu. Shi Yu unreservedly told him the secret of the 4 Ghosts Flame, which naturally had these reasons. This method is more familiar to him than anyone else. This is the attitude of the strong to the weak, to chapter 464. Although he was extremely shocked by Shi Yu's ninjutsu, it was far from the point where Deidara gave up. Boy, don't be too smug. Deidara seemed to think of some cracking method in the words, and saw that he reached out and took out a large piece of clay from his pocket. Immediately afterwards, he delivered it directly into his mouth, but what is surprising is that he chewed at this time. Detonate the clay. That mouth is not any of the palms of his hands, it's his own one. Deidara chewed. Afterwards, it was directly from the detonating clay, transformed by chakra that was spit out. Da. 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 These clays continued to fall from the air, and finally condensed into a huge figure in Shi Yu's eyes. It was a clay giant, and his appearance was the same as Deidara. If it were not for the slightest vitality in his body, he would definitely be regarded as a living, giant Deidara. Needless to say, this is one of Deidara's ninjutsu. Toki also knows this ninjutsu very well. This is the strongest trump card that Deidara can display without the cost of life, Garuda. This is Deidara in order to kill. Itachi, and the invention of ninjutsu. Eat a bunch of detonating clay. Advertisement. Then he spit it out from his mouth, forming a huge doll that is exactly the same as himself. The doll contains a nanotype, invisible to the naked eye. The clay spiders, once exploded, will spread these clay spiders in the air within a certain range. Within the scope, the inhalation of this nanotype clay spider into the body is equivalent to the bomb being set up all over the body. In the end, with countless small explosions, the whole creature was gradually destroyed in the field, achieving the effect of complete destruction. It can be said that it is a technique that can kill people invisible. If Shiyu does not understand this technique, it is really possible that he will be sacrificed for it. 1. Shulunyan, Izanagi. This trick can be easily escaped. Of course, it is not difficult to find the weakness of this technique in battle with Toki's current strength. By then, he will be able to blow the horn of counterattack. Deidara's ideas are beautiful, but the problem is that his ideas have long been seen through by Shiyu. It can only be said that everything he has now is in vain. The reason why he is still alive now is because Shiyu's mission has not been completed yet. The reason why they can't even close it is because they can't channel this force back into their bodies. He would be sucked into his body by Toki without knowing it. It's just that there is no need for this now. Even if you use Izanagi, without a Shulunyan, Shiyu can rely on Yin-Yang Dun to restore his eyes. Advertisement. However, I can only use it on you now. As long as he reasonably uses the Thunder Dun, restraint, or uses space ninjutsu to escape a certain range of this ninjutsu explosion. Filu reminds you 3 things about reading, and if Shiyu wants to, he is fully capable of studying some ninjutsu to deal with this trick. Waiting for his move to destroy the bomb enchantment of Toki. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Little Devil. This trick was originally a secret technique reserved for Itachi. And as long as the blood of the Uchiha clan exists in his body, Shulunyan will naturally be able to reproduce. Deidara knows that it is not easy to break 4 ghosts, so his idea is to explode with explosion. Because the explosion of 4 Garuda is within a certain range, as long as he masters the distance, it will not be affected. In addition to the destruction, the nano-clay spider contained therein. As for the transplant, it can't, there is no power of blood. After casting to create Garuda, Deidara's cold voice also sounded again. Chapter 465. Little Devil. This trick was originally a secret technique reserved for Itachi. However, I can only use it on you now. When the voice fell, Deidara also stopped talking nonsense. I saw that the white flying dragon under his control rose to a very high height, which had already exceeded the limit that can be reached after the explosion of 4 Garuda. The reason why he did this is very simple. Although the explosion of Garuda has a limit range, he is now in Takiwa's 4 Ghosts Flame explosion. Explode in a confined space. Once the left and right range is limited, then its upper and lower limits will naturally be extended. Below is the ground, and the scope of downward spread is limited. Therefore, the remaining power will all sweep the sky, so Deidara must maintain an absolute sense of distance. Once he inhales the nanobomb himself, if it is, then he can't detonate it. As for the result of 4 Ghosts Flame Blast being detonated, it is not within his scope of consideration. In his opinion, only this bomb enchantment, only by completely destroying him will he be able to take the initiative. Otherwise, if the stalemate continues like this, he will only be a turtle in the urn. Therefore, he can only rely on 4 Garuda to let go. After such thoughts flashed in his heart, Daedalus' handprinting was already established. Advertisement. This seal is not an ordinary drink with 2 fingers together. The sound of the seal, but the seal with the hands together. This is one of the final signs of 2 dun. The principle is the same as huo dun, and the last seal is the representative of each escape technique. Fire escape. The last seal at the end is basically a seal. As for the other escape techniques, there are several types. It's like this, 2 dun, in addition to seal, there are Mao, Shu, seal, and so on. As Deidara's thoughts moved, that huge clay Deidara. But it exploded in an instant. Upon seeing this, Deidara did not forget a word. Boy, look forward to it. In the next second, an unexpected scene appeared. I saw the huge clay Deidara. When it burst, there was no loud explosion as expected. And it turned into nothingness in the silence. If Shiyu didn't know the principle of this technique, he might be at a loss now. But it's a pity that he was this technique is well known. The huge clay Daedala didn't disappear strangely, but split into things invisible to the naked eye. Advertisement, which is the nano state, the clay spider. At this moment Deidara wanted to see the surprise from Shiyu's face, but the result was not as he wanted. There was no surprise on Shiyu's face. He still looked calm, as if everything was under control. Upon seeing this, Deidara also had a touch of anger in his eyes. This feeling of being despised really made him unbearable. This was the first time in his life he was looked down upon like this. At this time, he was really angry. When such emotions appeared on Deidara's face, the split, nano state. Spider bomb has already exploded more than half of the 4 ghosts. Filled up. Boy, you will pay for your conceit. After the voice fell, Deidara's fingers finally came together, forming his most familiar handprint. Open black lens bracket, drink, close black lens bracket. As he fell with a loud drink, the barrier that seemed to have nothing attached suddenly exploded. And when he expected this step, Shiyu also activated his backhand at the same time, in that nano-level spider bomb. At the moment of the explosion, the 444 little ghost statues in the enchantment. It was also at this moment that he suddenly opened his eyes. At that moment, the scarlet is overflowing, chapter 466. With the 4 little ghost statues in the 4 ghosts flame blast. His eyes suddenly opened, and 4 pairs of scarlet eyes shot open in an instant. The original dark purple barrier instantly became more than twice as strong, as if its color had changed. Because Deidara detonated the nanoscale bomb, the bomb barrier below was all obliterated by smoke and dust. It makes people unable to see what is in it. As for Deidara himself, it is hanging high above the sky. Because it's the 4 ghosts flame explosion that did not activate the explosion mode. Coupled with the limited range of the nano-level bombs split by 4 Garuda. Therefore, there was no explosion more than 100 meters above the barrier. At this moment, Deidara's face was full of triumph. In his opinion, Shiyu's explosive barrier will inevitably be in his nano-level bomb. Underneath was completely destroyed, but the next second, a strange scene appeared. I saw 4 crimson rays of light suddenly rushed out of the dust-shrouded ground, directly covering the originally dark purple barrier. Seeing this scene, Deidara beats a drum in his heart. Could this be a precursor to the collapse of the barrier? Deidara thought this way. Her gaze couldn't help but glance at Shiyu, who was outside the barrier, and her brow wrinkled again. Because he saw the latter's face without a trace of worry, as if the enchantment in front of him was not destroyed at all. Advertisement, but in Deidara's eyes, Shiyu was overconfident. Because he tested it with a bomb just now, this, 4 ghosts. Although the level of enchantment can temporarily stop the shadow grade. The strong for a while, but under his intensive bombardment, he must collapse. This, he is extremely convinced. Otherwise, there will be no large amount of smoke and dust outside the barrier. From this point, it can be seen that it was previously damaged. As for the final result, just wait for the smoke and dust below it to dissipate. This is the end of my thought. Deidara's gaze instantly fell from his body. He withdrew it, and then stared at his feet, after a while. As the smoke and dust dissipated, the enchantment barrier that had been obliterated for nearly 100 meters was also exposed to the air again. But at this moment, Deidara was dumbfounded, nothing else, just because the barrier under his feet was still intact. Impossible. This is impossible. At this time, Deidara was eager to exclaim in exclamation to vent the incredibleness of his heart. It's because there was soot from outside just now. If the barrier is not damaged, there may be aerosols outside the barrier. This answer obviously doesn't make sense. The power of the bomb made by his 4 Garuda can explode. Dropping a base of Oshimaru shows that he is powerful. My 4 ghosts in the first stage was indeed blown up by your 4 Garuda, but it still has a second stage. Advertisement, second stage. After the dark purple enchantment is destroyed, it automatically activates the second stage enchantment, which is the current crimson enchantment. But now he didn't even destroy the barrier in front of him, which made him feel embarrassed. Good, it's just that my ninjutsu is automatically upgraded. It's super strong enchantment ninjutsu, 4 red flame array. Deidara murmured, his face was shocked and puzzled. This change is caused by the 444 little ghost statues below. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Deidara, it's not that your bomb is not good, Daedala exclaimed. This made him doubt the power of his art when he saw it, and Shiyu also opened his mouth to explain. Auto update, because if you want to use it, you have to join forces with 4 powerful shadow level players to do it. Shiyu nodded and continued. You must have noticed that the color of the barrier has changed now. And this barrier is 4 times more than 4 purple flame array, chapter 467. 4 red sun formations, super enchanted ninjutsu. It is necessary to gather 4 top ninjas with the chakra volume to reach the Naruto level, and open a rectangular enchantment with a crimson transparent flame in the 4 directions of east, west, south and north, which can connect the target with isolation from the outside world. The crimson flames on the barrier can neither allow outsiders to enter the barrier, nor allow the enemies inside the barrier to escape the barrier. Once it touches the walls of the enchantment, it will be burned by the flames, and its hardness can withstand the 10-tailed beast bullets. It is super powerful, dozens of times stronger than 4 purple flame array. This is Shiyu's backhand, the second stage of blasting 4 ghosts flame blast. Whether it is 4 purple flame formation, or 4 red sun formation. When you don't have enough chakras, you need 4 people to cooperate to perform. Before that, Yugen hadn't done anything at all, and the second stage of launching this ninjutsu was automatic. As long as the first enchantment is destroyed, there are 444 little ghost statues, located in the southeast, northwest and northwest. Then this second enchantment will be activated. They have long been infused with enough chakras by Shiyu. Only Shiyu can do this. However, other people can do it by themselves when they enter the 6 paths mode. 4 red sun formation, S enchantment ninjutsu. Advertisement in the final battle. With the soil, relying on the strength of the 6 paths mode, he used the 6 red suns formation, alone, which was more powerful than the 4 red sun formations. It can be seen that no matter how strong ninjutsu is, you can basically display it only if your personal strength reaches a terrifying level. With the emergence of 4 red sun formations, Undoubtedly, it has attracted more customs, including the three of Shuei, Xianglin and Shigego who are coming here three. At this time the three of them have arrived at the scene, with their own eyes. The enchantment is powerful. Feeling the strong pull emanating from the enchantment, they felt that they had a new understanding of Shiyu. In addition to the three of them there are two others. They are Sasuke Kazuto who are at war, and at this time, there is a look of horror in the eyes of both of them. Especially the experienced belt soil. Sasuke can only feel the extraordinary of this crimson enchantment, but he doesn't know the difficulty of casting this enchantment. He doesn't know, but the soil is clear. Advertisement. Because of this ninjutsu, he will too. If he didn't wear a mask, the astonishment on his face would definitely not escape Sasuke's eyes. 4 Red Sun Formation. The whispering with soil, the tone is full of movement. Because he is currently unable to display this ninjutsu on his own. If it weren't for Suigetsu, the appearance of the three of Xianglin and Shigego, and the soil is believed to be Shiyu alone who performed this super powerful ninjutsu. It was precisely because of the appearance of Shuei Trio 3 that Tai 2 denied the fact. But this is also reasonable, as long as it is a normal person, it will think so, not to mention that the soil is still a thoughtful plan. Eye of the Moon, plan executor. Later, relying on his own ingenuity, he broke away from the control of Madara during the battle with Kakashi in the Shenwei space. It can be seen that the IQ of the soil is quite high, although the soil is very much to go to the scene at this moment, to verify who is the other three who have teamed up with Toki to perform this enchantment ninjutsu, but it is a pity it was Sasuke that was not as far as he wanted. Although Sasuke was also very curious, since Toki gave him the soil to deal with, he naturally couldn't let him down. Moreover, at this moment, Sasuke has obtained a very useful piece of information, that is, he discovered the fact that Dato has riding round eyes, to chapter 468. It is also reasonable to take the soil to expose the possession of Sharingan, because at this time Sasuke has entered the Curse Seal Stage 2-2. Originally, Sasuke had already mastered the Curse Sealing quite perfectly, plus Shiba taught him to perceive and control natural energy. Now his Curse Sealing does not say that it is as high as Changwu, but it is already perfect, and it has gone to the next level. Facing such a Sasuke, Dato's strength obviously cannot be hidden. Otherwise, he guessed that he would really be killed by Sasuke. Looking at the 3 Guyu Jade riding wheel eyes, with soil, Sasuke was also shocked. He obviously didn't expect that the masked man in front of him also had their Uchiha clan's blood succession boundary. As for the latter's Sharingan, is his own or a transplant, he is still not sure. Sasuke has always been smart, and when he recalled what Itachi said to him, he suddenly thought of something. Itachi said to Sasuke the night when the Uchiha clan was destroyed. If he could survive, then there would be 3 people in this world who could use kaleidoscope riding round eye, 3. Obviously, Itachi is reminding Sasuke in disguise that there is still a Uchiha clan surviving in the world today. The masked man in front of him has Sharingan, and the latter, like Itachi, is a member of the Akatsuki organization. Thinking about the knife that took the soil to avoid him before, it is very likely that it is the ability of kaleidoscope to ride round eyes, because he has seen Shenwei. Combining all the above, Sasuke had to suspect that the masked man in front of him was the third person in Itachi's mouth. Advertisement. This is the end of my thought. Sasuke didn't circumscribe the corners and directly questioned the dirt. If I didn't guess wrong, the other person with kaleidoscope riding round eye in Itachi's mouth is you, right? Tai 2 was slightly surprised. Obviously he did not expect that Zuo would know some information. After a short silence, follow the path. Why should you care about this? Humph. Sasuke snorted coldly and then said, originally, I planned to kill Itachi before I went to find you. Kill me? At this time, Dato was very confused why Sasuke would miss him. You know, today is the first time he and Sasuke meet. The former has no reason to kill him. Does he know what is still carrying the dirt? When he was suspicious, Sasuke was straight to the point. Advertisement. When Itachi killed all the people of the tribe, he mentioned the existence of a person. A Uchiha member he didn't kill. If I am not mistaken, this person is his accomplice. Because no matter how strong it is impossible to kill the entire police force in such a short period of time with the power of one person. And you appear with him in the Shao organization, and you can use the power of Sharingan at will. Before you tried all kinds of ways not to fight with me, which proves that you have a problem. Undoubtedly, this accomplice is you. Sasuke's inference is reasonable and well-founded. The police department is one of Konoha's 6 departments. Each of the members is the elite of the Uchiha clan, and everyone's combat power is quite strong. At that time, Itachi had just opened the kaleidoscope riding round eye. Even if he can kill all the members of the police department. But then, such a short time, it is absolutely impossible to do chapter 469. After some inferences, when Sasuke saw that Oito was silent, the answer in his heart was already affirmed. It is also because of this that a strong killing intent emerged from his body at this moment. Previously, Shiyu asked him to deal with Daitu. Although he didn't catch a cold with the people organized by Shao, he didn't have the heart to kill. But now it's different. Now he knows that Taitu was an accomplice in Uchiha's genocide case back then. How could he let the latter go? As for bringing soil, at this time, although he acquiesced. But he doesn't want to reveal his true identity or tell Sasuke his false identity, Uchiha Madara. In his opinion, it is not the time yet, because Itachi is still there, he can't deal with Sasuke. Seeing that Oita did not refute, Sasuke asked again. Say, who are you? Tai too gave a light smile, not pretending to be amused, his tone became serious. You will know who I am in the future, but now I want to see if you have the strength to fight against Itachi. Advertisement. Now that his veil has been broken by Sasuke, there is no need for him to dodge the battle fearfully. He wanted to see if Sasuke had the possibility of defeating Itachi because he couldn't make Itachi completely obey him. This is one of the reasons why Shao hasn't acted on Konoha for a long time. First, it was because of Konoha's excellent combat power. Second, Itachi really played a big role in this, that's it. Bringing soil is also not nonsense, a momentary body directly dissipated to the ground. This time, he took the initiative to attack, and when the battle between Ototo and Sasuke resumed, the battle between Takiwa and Deidara was coming to an end. At this time, Deidara had recovered from the shock, and those eyes were staring at Shiyu who was suspended in the air. Undoubtedly, Shiyu's hand is really amazing to him, can explode. To complete this look, the latter is undoubtedly the first. And at the moment Deidara admired it, Shiyu's mind rang a familiar voice. Ding! The task of conquering Deidara with art is complete. Obviously, he has made up some kind of determination. He, Deidara, will make the final resistance. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Faye. And that, Demon Ghost, there is no doubt. Deidara, the battle should be over. Advertisement in Deidara and Shuei in the distance. Shanlan and Shigego 4 eyes turned into 10,000 meters of light, directly integrated into the crimson enchantment barrier. When the voice fell, Shiyu's thoughts moved, and the 444 little ghost statues in the scarlet enchantment. It just broke apart and opened. The 444 little ghost statues are switches. Perceiving that the entire enchantment was about to explode, Deidara's face also showed a touch of death. If there is no miracle, Deidara is in a catastrophe today. Deidara obviously anticipated the result of waiting for him, so that the eyes suddenly showed a touch of madness at this moment. Hearing this systematic reminder, Shiyu was finally relieved of any scruples. Because of the fight so far, the latter has never suffered a single bit of damage. Immediately after. From this it can be seen that there is undoubtedly a huge gap between the two. Now his chakra has consumed too much, and it is obviously impossible to survive the explosion of this level. With the integration of these rays of light, the energy at the beginning of the entire big formation instantly agitated, as if it was about to collapse in the next second. At this moment, Toki has switched to bomb mode. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. He knew that he was planted in Shiyu's hands today. The latter was better than him in that respect, or simply crushed him. Chapter 470. After Deidara made up his mind, there was no extra hesitation. I saw directly the black-red cloud robe on Yang's body. It was torn off, and the upper body was directly exposed to the air. Shiyu was naturally not interested in Deidara's upper body. Shiyu doesn't like men. For this scene, Shuei in the distance, Shanlan and Shigego may not know what Deidara is going to do, but Shiyu who opposes the latter is clear. Not surprisingly, Deidara is about to blow. He knew that he had no chance of life today, so he wanted to start the last hole card and die with Shiyu. This is undoubtedly his last madness. At the same time, Deidara directly stretched out his hand to remove the black thread sewn on his chest, and suddenly a big mouth appeared in front of everyone. For this scene, the look of Shuei Trio 3 in the distance was also stagnant. Obviously, they did not expect that someone would make a mouth on the chest, which was indeed beyond their expectation. However, they didn't feel too surprised. The reason is simple. Deidara's artificial mouth, compared with those studies of Dashimaru, it is undoubtedly insignificant. Advertisement. Just in their slight consternation, Deidara had taken out the little detonating clay from his pockets. At this time, Deidara's face was full of determination and madness, and then under the stunned eyes of everyone, it was directly inserted into the big mouth on his chest. Chewing in that big mouth, detonating clay. At the time, Deidara's voice also slowly sounded. Takikawa Tokiha, this time I admit it, yours is indeed better than mine, I admit yours. However, now I want to show you my ultimate art. When I heard it, Yu's expression was still as calm as water, without the slightest ripples caused by his cruel words. In this regard, Deidara felt very much in his heart, in his opinion. Even the super shadow level powerhouse. If there is no powerful escape ninjutsu, it is absolutely impossible to survive his self-destruction. He glanced at the direction where he had taken Suto and Sasuke away before, and muttered in a low voice. Filu reminds you. 3 things about reading, even life. Takikawa Tokiha. Advertisement. I don't care if you know my ultimate art, but today you will go to hell with me. It was indeed surprised to be convinced by Shiyu's words, but at this moment his anger was higher than shock. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. At the same time, later, you will see an unprecedented explosion with your own eyes, and it will leave unique scars on this land. Deidara was frightened between the words. He also didn't want to know how Shiyu knew it, because in the next second, he would blow himself up. This kind of thing has nothing to do with art, and at this moment, he doesn't have much to do. Great interest. My death is art, but you are just a funerary to admire. In the words, Daedalus' whole person has slowly become transparent, and the blood-red meridian has become black. Isn't it just self-destruction? There is no need to say so nicely. His ultimate art, in his opinion, Shi Yu's remarks are a denial of his art. In his eyes, art is everything. For the sake of art, he can even sacrifice everything. Because the radius of my self-detonation is as high as 10 kilometers, be afraid. Fly, I'm sorry. Have enough confidence. However, before Deidara hadn't said what he was going to do, he was preempted. Because Shi Yu's words contained a hint of sarcasm, which he couldn't accept. Chapter 471. Fly, I'm sorry. As Deidara's words fell, his entire body became completely transparent. Then, under everyone's gaze, Deidara's body began to slowly disappear. The flesh and blood on his body seemed to have shrunk into the black meridian, which looked a bit oozing. Seeing Deidara so crazy, Shi Yu also had a headache. If he is alone here, he can leave directly using the Flying Thunder God technique. But not now. There are 3 people not far behind him, 3, and they have all been cultivated by Shi Yu to worship him. Especially fragrant phosphorus. He hasn't picked this delicate flower yet. How could it be better to kill the jade after looking at it? When Deidara was about to laugh, Shi Yu spoke first. Deidara, for the sake of your dying, I will show you a good thing. Although Daedala at this time is indeed a little curious, but blows. It is impossible to stop. Boy, don't try to delay time. My detonation ninjutsu can be stopped. In a few seconds, you will die with me. Advertisement. That's not necessarily. Shi Yu's words were incomparably domineering, and there was no panic on his face. Because it is true. He wants to deal with Deidara's self-detonation in many ways, but at the moment he wants to use the latter, which is the most uncomfortable. Obviously, Deidara's constant clamor made Shi Yu a little angry. The next second, as Deidara was surprised, a pair of bloody eyes suddenly caught his eye. At this moment, his whole person is not good, nothing else. Because those eyes are his nightmare, because he hasn't had a nightmare so far. This pair of eyes is exactly Shaolunyan. When Itachi, Gyu and Shizen invited him to join Shao, he naturally disagreed at first. And, I want to be with Itachi. The 3 of 3 did it, so Itachi and him made an agreement to fight. If he Daedala loses, he will join the Shao organization. As a result, there are naturally no accidents. Itachi won, but the problem is that he was completely toyed with by Itachi. Between the palms of his hands, he was proud of the art. There is nothing in front of Itachi. He vowed to defeat Itachi, but what he didn't expect was that he would meet Shiyu here today, and meet such a pervert. In actual combat, it is still difficult to avoid being recruited. Advertisement. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Just like Yurihon, she is Konoha's illusionist master. She is definitely second to none in combating illusionism with her strength, but her performance in front of Itachi is also unsatisfactory. But it is a pity that this bloodline inherits the bloodstain boundary. He thinks these eyes are a kind of extraordinary art. All of this is the result of his hard work, but unfortunately, he underestimated the illusion of Xiaolunyan. To read the novel without underline, please download and fly. He couldn't learn it even if he worked hard all his life, therefore, he could only find a way to prevent himself from illusion. Not to mention, Xiaolunyan, this kind of illusion is relatively powerful in itself. Therefore, even though Deidara has specialized training in illusion, there is no guarantee that he is 100% able to penetrate illusion. Of course, his training is not completely useless. It was just a trick of illusion, which instantly defeated him. At that moment, his heart was shaken. Thus, there was his left eye that was difficult to strike. The illusion of shaping Lunyan should surpass the ordinary illusion if it is not trained with shaping Lunyan. So, he admits it, but what he never expected is that Shi Yu also has Shuolunyan. At least he is more difficult to hit than others, and he can quickly see through some low-level illusions. It can be said that almost everything about Deidara was prepared for Itachi, even if it was added to Shao. Most of it was because of Itachi. Chapter 472. Right round eyes. Just as Deidara was shocked, Shi Yu's eyes changed again. In an instant, the kaleidoscope pattern appeared. Shi Yu didn't have any unnecessary nonsense, and when his mind moved, the space around Deidara suddenly twisted. Next second, under Shuei, Shanlin and Shigeo's stunned gaze, Deidala's transparent body disappeared in an instant. They don't know what ninjutsu this is, Flying Thunder God's art. They have seen, but the trick in front of them doesn't seem to be the same. But in fact, they don't understand the Flying Thunder God's art. There is a ninjutsu in the Flying Thunder God's art, called Flying Thunder God Guide Thunder, which is almost exactly the same as this Shenwei. The only difference is that Flying Thunder God Guide Thunder teleported the target to other places, but it was still in this world. And Shenwei transmits distorted things to a different space. This is the essential difference between the two, space ninjutsu, and while Deidara disappeared in this world, Shiyu's voice also changed. It disappeared. All that was left was the crimson enchantment that was about to explode, the next moment. Without the slightest accident, it exploded directly when the energy of the scarlet enchantment reached its peak. Boom. Boom. The sound was deafening, and the scene was like a pillar of flame running through the sky. There were circles of smoke and dust around the Yanzu at intervals, rippling the sky. Although the scope of this explosion has not changed, its power is thrilling. Suigetsu, who was far away, the 3 of Shanron and Shigego 3 all took a breath of cold air, and the same was true for Ototo and Sasuke on another battlefield. Especially the 3 of Shuei 3. Advertisement there on the scene. The feeling is clearest, in their opinion, if the power of this four ghosts flame explosion, explosion spreads. It was absolutely enough to destroy a small town, but it was a pity that this four ghosts flame explosion seemed to be affected by something, and the range would not spread to the surroundings. And this is Shiyu's brilliance. This open black lens bracket Bakufu 4 Ghosts Flame Blast close black lens bracket is his carefully created ninjutsu, and this effect is one of them. This effect will not affect others and is a single range explosion. In this way, the explosion will neither harm the innocent nor harm the companions who are fighting against the enemy. In general, the practicality of this ninjutsu is stronger, and, because the explosion will not spread, its power is also increasing. Powerful. Fixed point blasting is a bit equivalent to a technological method, but Shiyu relied on his talents to create this amazing ninjutsu. And this is also one of the reasons why Shuei, Shanlin and Shigego are shocked at this time. Obviously, it was the first time they saw this kind of weird ninjutsu. They knew Shiyu was very strong, but they didn't expect the latter to be so strong. And just before they were surprised, another person in another space also had this idea. Moreover, his shock is obviously greater than that of Shanlin 3, because he is now in an unfamiliar space, a dark world he does not know. This person is not someone else, but was teleported to Divine Mighty Space by Shiyu. Deidara. Deidara was shocked. His eyes were fixed on Shiyu, and the shock in his eyes became more intense. Obviously, he still underestimated Shiyu. Advertisement. The latter not only possesses several types of blood succession boundary, but also has kaleidoscope writing round eye. All of this was beyond Deidara's expectations. If time could be turned back, he would never be an enemy of Shiyu. In his opinion, the young man in front of him is stronger than Itachi, but there is no regret medicine in the world, and it is too late to regret now. Because his body has completely disappeared at this time, all the black meridians have also shrunk into a sphere the size of a fist. When seeing Deidara about to explode, Shiyu also said again. Here is the tomb I prepared. Here, your explosion is still unprecedented. Goodbye, blasting kid. When the voice fell, Shiyu's figure began to twist. Then, in Deidara's final gaze, he disappeared into this pitch black space. Perceiving this scene, Daedala looked desperate. It turned out that he blew himself up, which was just a joke in Shiyu's eyes. At this moment, he even said his last sentence, art is an explosion. They are too lazy to shout. In other words, these words have no meaning. Next second. Deidara exploded with despair, and the loud noise began to fill the space. Boom. And when the space exploded, an arm suddenly appeared in this space. Chapter 473. Shenwei. In the space. The arm that suddenly appeared under Deidara's 10 kilometers range of self-detonation, naturally there's no way to survive. When this arm was forcibly burst into nothingness, a roar suddenly sounded in a forest in the real world. What? The cry was a bit tragic, because it was the pain of the entire arm being exploded into nothingness. And the owner of this call is not someone else, it is the soil. In today's world, there are only 3 people who can enter the Shenwei space at will. 3. One is Shiyu, and the other 2 are Kakashi and Taito. Although Kakashi can enter the Shenwei space, he can't do this with the degree of control over Shorinyan. And the reason why Taito teleported his arm into the Shenwei space, it was because of the battle with Sasuke. However, fortunately, this right arm was cultured with intercolumn cells. Therefore, the pain did not last long. To be precise, the right half of the body with soil is basically transplanted. Advertisement. It is the fusion of Baiju and intercolumn cells, so this is also the reason why Mu Dun can be used with soil. At this moment, an unbelievable thought flashed in the mind of the soil. Will it be Kakashi? Kakashi has his other eye on his body, and it's not surprising that he thinks like this. Based on the intelligence of the battle between Deidara and Kakashi, Kakashi has already opened the open black lens bracket kaleidoscope writing round eye close black lens bracket. Moreover, he was already able to use the pupil technique of Shenwei. However, he never thought that the person who would cause him to be Shiyu, a person he had thought of. To be honest, this scene can only be blamed for bringing luck and not because of Shiyu's use of God. Wei. Only let Deidara's self-detonation affect the 3 people of Shanlin 3, and I didn't expect that the soil was also used at this time. Upon seeing this, Sasuke also had a face. He has fought with the earth for so long, every time because of the latter's strange ability, he can't hurt him in the slightest. Just when he was extremely depressed, this scene happened, and because of this, Sasuke couldn't help but have an unprecedented thought in his heart at this time. Could it be the side effect of using too much power? Advertisement. At this point, Sasuke is also ready to verify it. Immediately after, under the stunned gaze of the earth, Sasuke's 3 Guyu writing wheel eyes suddenly change. Open black lens bracket Amaterasu close black lens bracket. As a shout was spit out from Sasuke's mouth, a scarlet blood suddenly flowed out of his left eye. Next second, before the soil had time to react, his body was suddenly infected with wisps of hot black inflammation. Seeing the black flame burning on his body, his face with dirt suddenly changed. Others didn't know what this trick was, but he knew it all. Amaterasu, kaleidoscope writing round eyes. Ability. This trick as I have seen it in Itachi, so I recognized it at a glance. It's just that he didn't expect that Sasuke would also use this trick. Compared to this, what shocked him even more was that Sasuke actually awakened, kaleidoscope writing wheel eyes. This was completely unexpected to him. It was because he didn't prevent this trick, so he didn't use the divine power to avoid it just now. Because the Amaterasu, trick itself is extremely difficult to avoid. This is the pupil technique, which directly locks the target with the eyes, and there are only two ways to avoid it. The first is to prevent the caster from being locked. The second is to prevent the caster from hitting. To read the underlined version of the novel, please download and fly. Chapter 474. Although the soil at this moment was flaring on his body. Black inflammation that could not be extinguished, but there was no panic in his eyes. It looks like this, Amaterasu can't kill him. The next second, under Sasuke's gaze, the black inflammation on his body became more and more vigorous. Then he wrapped his whole body completely, and in a short period of time, he burned it into nothingness. Upon seeing this, Sasuke thought that Oito was dead, but the next scene caused Sasuke's pupils to shrink suddenly. I saw that the soil that should have died out appeared in front of his eyes again, and it was still intact. Although I don't know what's going on, what Sasuke can guess is that it should be the ninjutsu that brought the soil to avoid the damage of Amaterasu. But what kind of ninjutsu it is, he doesn't know. If he wears dirt and no mask, Sasuke can find that the latter's left eye has turned white at the moment. There is no doubt. The reason why the soil was able to avoid the damage of Amaterasu was because he had just used the forbidden technique of the Uchiha clan. Izanagi. The function is to record the state of the caster with the writing wheel eyes at the moment it is activated. Then within the effective time of the operation, the effective time of each person is different. Any injury suffered by the operator, even the death of the operator, can be physically restored to the state of writing the round eye record. Chakras consumed by the surgeon will not be restored. Advertisement. The price is that the eye that uses Izanagi will permanently lose its light, so it is classified as a forbidden technique. To be more precise, this is a kind of ultimate illusion. This technique converts all the unfavorable factors including death to the caster into a dream in a very short period of time. At the same time, all things that are beneficial to the person, such as the attack by the operator, are true, and they can freely switch between dreams and reality. Therefore, Izanagi is a kind of illusion. This illusion is somewhat similar to mirror flower shuei in illusion-type world. It's a technique that connects dreams to reality. And Sasuke just stayed under the hands of Oshimaru. More than 2 years, even if he has grown, he will be killed very much. Otherwise, Scorpion and Deidara will not get nothing after chasing the former for so long. But now, he doesn't have the slightest doubt. Sasuke, who has awakened, kaleidoscope writing round eye, does have the ability to kill Oshimaru. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Moreover, this Shulunion, he still has stock. These stocks were secretly collected from when the Uchiha clan was destroyed, and the purpose is to save his life. It is said that when the Oshimaru fell, a small team of Konoha also found its lair. Advertisement. Not surprisingly, this technique was also taught to him by Uchiha Madara. Even though his strength with soil grew quite fast, he also had a powerful spatial pupil technique such as Shenwei. Originally, he still had some doubts about the information that Sasuke killed Oshimaru. After all, he still had some understanding of the strength of Oshimaru. At this moment, the right eye with soil was also distressed, because this trick wasted one of his Jalunion, but this is also helpless. But what Taito didn't expect was that he still wanted to get crooked. Sasuke did not kill Oshimaru, and even the latter's kaleidoscope writing wheel eyes only awakened after Oshimaru died. Shulunion, although precious, it is far less precious than life. But the world is unpredictable, and occasionally there will be some force majeure accidents. Therefore, he could only step back and choose the forbidden technique of Izanagi. At this time, Sasuke's eyes began to change when he looked at it again. And all of this is done by Shiyu alone. Filu reminds you. 3 things to read, collect, recommend, and share. Information collected. Furthermore, according to Absolute. If he didn't use it, he would be a dead man now. Just like now. Actually, bringing the soil just now can be avoided by Shenwei. But he remembered that his right arm was blown into nothingness in the Shenwei space, so he dispelled this idea. Chapter 475. Regarding this matter, it is excusable for Taito to not know the truth. After all, when Tokiba helped Sasuke awakened, kaleidoscope writing round eyes, he did it in an illusion. Moreover, they avoided Naruto, Shanlin and others. Therefore, only the 2 of them knew about this. But at this time, after he knew that Sasuke had awakened, kaleidoscope writing wheel eye, he had new guesses about the previous changes in the Shenwei space. Since Sasuke, kaleidoscope, awakens the same ability as Itachi, it is naturally possible to have the same pupil technique as him. Therefore, he felt that the burst of his right arm might have been done by Sasuke. However, this speculation was quickly rejected by him. Because Sasuke hadn't shown the abilities of kaleidoscope before, and because Sasuke had previously fought him in close hands, it was impossible to do tricks in the Shenwei space at the same time. As for the power of Sasuke's right eye, he didn't know, and he didn't plan to figure it out now. Because at this moment he no longer wants to continue fighting. First, Sasuke's strength has been approximated by him. Second, now his right arm has been destroyed, and he has also used one of the Shulunion. Advertisement. If the battle continues, it will only be even more unfavorable to him. If the situation just happened, he might use his own Jalunion. This result was unacceptable to him, but even if he wanted to break the sky, he would never think that the culprit who made him look like this would be Shiyu. If there is no ladder, Deidara will explode into space. It will not make the soil so embarrassing. There will be no such follow-up butterfly effect. I don't know what kind of expression you knew about this, and Sasuke was still there at this moment. shocked at how Taito escaped him. Amaterasu, Izanagi, this is. It was the feeling that illusion was not like illusion, which made him feel extremely familiar. If you can see the true meaning of this technique like a ferret, you can understand it with soil. Because this technique has been listed as a forbidden technique by the ancestors of the Uchiha clan a long time ago, and only a few people in power in each era know it. Although Sasuke didn't directly state that the ninjutsu that he used with soil was Izanagi, he could see the true meaning of this technique all at once. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Immediately after, Sasuke and Itachi are brothers. Advertisement. Sasuke's next sentence also made his look startled. Oida doesn't know the reason, so he can only attribute everything to Sasuke, who is also proficient in illusion. But Taito absolutely never imagined that Sasuke was able to see the true meaning of Izanagi at a glance, and it was entirely the credit of Toki. Unexpectedly, your illusion skills are not low. After the soil was slightly startled, he also spoke out. Because his kaleidoscope writing round eyes is Shiyu's use of illusory art blood succession boundary mirror flower water moon to help him awaken. Although the effects of these two techniques are different, the essence is the same. Because the latter is a monster in terms of illusion skills. Among the ninjas he knows, besides Uchiha Shisui can match it, it is estimated that he can't find a second person. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Filu Novel. Because you want to slip away in the assistant, using Shenwei is undoubtedly the fastest and best way. It is completely understandable that the two of them have similar talents, and while talking, he is already secretly experimenting whether there is any abnormality in the divine power space. This is the reason for the shock, because outsiders basically don't understand this technique, even the Uchiha clan is rarely known. Is it an illusion that connects reality and dream? Chapter 476, Unexpectedly, your illusion skills are not low. Sasuke is not proud of the praise of Daito because he has self-knowledge. His illusion is basically derived from Shorinyan, so it is better than ordinary people's. But it was far from being as exaggerated as Itachi, which he knew well. After all, he had personally experienced that moon reading. Moreover, he was able to recognize at a glance that it was Izanagi that brought the soil to show it was completely the credit of Toki. Therefore, he has nothing to be complacent about. Moreover, his current mind is like figuring out the true identity of Jiddu and killing him quickly. Because of this, his cold voice also slowly sounded. Who are you? If you want to know who I am, you can ask Itachi. The voice fell, and the surrounding space with the soil suddenly distorted. Immediately after, the latter disappeared instantly under Sasuke's eyes, and Sasuke also looked helpless in this regard. With this ninjutsu, there is really no way to deal with space ninjutsu. The most common method is to use enchantment ninjutsu. Advertisement. In Sasuke's current strength is still unable to display the enchantment ninjutsu that can block space, or that he hasn't learned at all. Moreover, those powerful enchantment ninjutsu require the cooperation of multiple people to perform it, and it is basically impossible to perform it alone. Unless the strength reaches a certain level, it is like the 6 roads with soil, in the later period. He used his own power to display the 2 powerful enchantment ninjutsu, the Uchiha Flame Formation, and the 6 Red Sun Formation. Especially the latter, that requires 6 strong shadow ranks to be able to use it. But the soil is a black stick, made by Chu Dao Jade. For the 6 feet, successfully used it. Looking at the direction where the soil disappeared, his head wrinkled slightly. Although he wanted to figure out the identity of Taito, he even wanted to punish the traitor who had destroyed them, the Uchiha clan. Coupled with the fact that his arm was exploded into nothingness here, an idea could not help but be born in the mind with soil. Bringing the soil noticed that it was full of the strong aura remaining from the earth attribute chakra, and his brows frowned. He had never doubted this, at the same time, in a different space. Because if that is the case, Deidara must have fallen. Advertisement. So the question is, it is Shiyu who fought Deidara, and who sent the self-destructed Deidara into this Shenwei space. Could it be that one of the 3 people coming from behind is Kakashi? Could it be that Deidara caused the explosion just now? Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Sasuke had no choice but to turn around and leave, and that direction was the direction that Shiyu and Deidara fought. At this point in the thought, there was a slight tremor in Earth's heart. Therefore, Kakashi can only hold back temporarily. Filu reminds you. 3 things to read, collect, recommend, and share. There is no doubt that the battle between Shiyu and Deidara is over. Although it was Suigetsu, Shanran and Shigego who rushed to the battlefield between Shiyu and Deidara, 3, Daito obviously didn't know. Earlier, he had also noticed that the battle between Deidara and Shiyu had stopped, and even Chakra had disappeared. After staring for a while, obviously, one person died. With the addition of the anomaly in this divine power space, the earth brought the whole person into Daedala. As for the result, Sasuke didn't see it with his own eyes, but he believed that the winner would be Toki. Since just now, there hasn't been any fluctuations over there. But the problem is that now he can't leave the soil to master the space ninjutsu. Chapter 477, could it be that one of the 3 coming from behind is Kakashi? At this time, the soil can only produce such a guess, otherwise, he can't think of a second reasonable explanation. Among the information he has, in today's world, there should be only 3 Uchiha tribes left. In addition to him, it is the 2 brothers Itachi and Sasuke. He knows the two abilities of Itachi and Sasuke. As for Sasuke is fighting with him, it is absolutely impossible to appear on Deidara's side. Then there are only the 4 of Shiyu left. If one of the 3 people coming from behind is Kakashi, then the other 2 must be Konoha's ninjas. In this way, it makes sense for the 4 of them to be able to display the 4 purple flame formations and 4 red sun formations. At this point, Dai-2 basically locked the culprit of the incident just now on Kakashi. Kakashi, we will meet soon. These words were spit out in the mouth, and the figure with soil also slowly disappeared into the Shenwei space. However, what brought the soil didn't expect that he was thinking wrong again. However, this is also understandable. After all, the number of people in the ninja realm who knew that Shiyu had the Shoringan would not exceed the number of hands. Among these few people, there are 2 people organized by Shao. Advertisement. They were Itachi and Oni, who had been to Konoha 2 years ago. Of course, they also had a brief confrontation with Shiyu. At that time, because they were jealous, they didn't fight head-on with Shiyu. However, Itachi and Tokiha had another confrontation when he was in the territory of Universe of River, Ichio Morizuru not long ago. In this match, the latter knew Shiyu's strength again. Even though the Itachi at that time was just an elephant turn, could only use the body, 30% of the strength, but this strength was comparable to some Shangren. Plus he is good at the original force of illusion arts has to be raised to a higher level. But even so, he still couldn't survive a few rounds in Shiyu's hands. Moreover, he could feel that Shiyu hadn't used all his strength when it came out. Because he is Shang turning body, he does not have enough chakra to use kaleidoscope riding round eye and powerful ninjutsu. But Shiyu is the same, from the beginning to the end, he directly defeated Itachi's collision body by relying on his excellent strength. And why Itachi didn't tell Kido about this incident, obviously on purpose. In his opinion, Shiyu might be the key figure in the plan to stop the soil. Besides, Shiyu is not the target they need to hunt, he will only share this information when necessary. Advertisement. As for the ghost shark, it is estimated that he agreed with Itachi's idea. Since Shiba has a Shoringan that can be turned on and off at will, the latter must be related to the Uchiha clan. And Itachi also spoke, and he naturally didn't want to be nosy. This led to Shao not paying attention to Shiyu at all, and there was little information about the latter. If it hadn't been for the last time Toki participated in the battle to kill Scorpion, neither Taito nor Deidara knew that Konoha and Takikawa Takiwa. Such a number 1 person as the battle between Sasuke and Ito ended. On the other side of Suizuki, Korin and Shigego were staring at Toki, who came out of a different space with a look of astonishment. They knew that Shiyu had the Flying Thunder God technique, but the move just now was obviously not. However, they don't care about it. What they care about is the Deidara that just started to blow up. When Shiyu got there, why didn't he see it in the area of nearly 1,000 miles? So far, Shuiyu was the first to speak. Shiyu. Just now that. The incompetent and furious bomber was F********** by you. Chapter 478. Shiyu. Just now that. The incompetent and furious bomber was F******** by you. In response to Shuei's question, Shiyu said lightly, I got another space. Shiyu's simple sentence fell, but it surprised Shuei, Shanglin and Changwu. Another space. After being a ninja for so many years, they naturally know what the other space represents. Undoubtedly, what Shiyu just displayed was a high-level, space ninjutsu. This kind of technique is not just as simple as space jumping, he can directly let people hide in this world's different space. It can be said that this is the perfect escape method, because no matter how you look for it, even if you search the entire continent, you will not be able to find it out. This is how powerful this advanced, space ninjutsu, is. Even in the ninja world, some of the ninjas who were good at space ninjutsu, in the past have disappeared inexplicably. And some later rushed and appeared in the world's vision, and the world also knew what was behind this strange secret. It turns out that these ninjas accidentally fell into a crack in a different space when they were studying time-space ninjutsu, which is undoubtedly a brand new world for them. There is no vitality inside, and it is impossible for normal people to survive there. Advertisement. If they can't penetrate this ninjutsu, they won't be able to come out of it. The end result is death of old age, and those who can come out are naturally famous and even sensational in the existence of the entire ninja world. However, some ninja villages will choose to hide it in order to prevent other ninja villages from mastering this high-level, space ninjutsu. The reason is very simple, it is that other ninjutsu covets, advanced, space ninjutsu, is extremely rare in the ninja world, so every existence is an extraordinary value. However, the later existence also had a model to learn this method, which led to the loss of many advanced, space ninjutsu. No way. Among 100 ninjas, the profound meaning of space ninjutsu cannot be more than one hand. The fragrant phosphorus in the words pointed to the direction of the battlefield where Sasuke and Oito were located and then continued. Relatively speaking, this doesn't seem to be a big deal. As for the scene that took place in the Shenwei space, they obviously didn't know. Secondly, it was also because of Junmaro. When he went to snatch Sasuke, he said goodbye to Shigeo, saying that Sasuke was his shadow and would inherit his will. As long as he was promoted to the upper ninjutsu and passed the permission of the senior Konoha, he was qualified to learn the various advanced ninjutsu preserved by Konoha. Because even Shiyu himself didn't know it, after some consternation, Shigeo, who had never liked words, would also be puzzled. Advertisement. In Konoha, Sasuke seems to be fighting with others just now, in that direction. Where's Sasuke? However, it was relieved to think that Shiyu had created a fairy mode by himself. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. This is why Konoha Mingming has the Flying Thunder God technique, but so far only 2 people can master it. Sasuke is coming towards us now. That's how Yamato mastered the powerful secret technique of wood escaping. This is also the reason why Suigetsu, Korin and Shigego are so shocked at this moment. After all, this kind of ninjutsu is too rare. One reason why Shigego is the key to Sasuke is because he and Shigego have it at the same time. There are 2 reasons why Junmaro said this. First, he hopes that someone can become his shadow and continue to suppress Shigego, and Sasuke is undoubtedly the best candidate. Because the latter is the container that Oshimaru looks for. Secondly, if nothing else, the future Sasuke will be Oshimaru himself. Shigeo's doubts have just fallen, and before Shiyu can answer, the fragrant phosphorus on the side is the first to say. However, their battle seems to be over. Chapter 479. Sasuke is coming towards us right now. Hearing this, Shigego and Mizuki didn't have any doubts. After getting along this way, they already know the power of incense phosphorus. The latter has strong perception. Moreover, as long as it is a person she is familiar with, within the range of her perception, she can determine her identity. It is also because of this that they know why Sasuke is looking for a woman who is not very strong to be a teammate. As predicted, soon after Shanlin's words fell, a figure shot out from the direction she had previously pointed. From a distance, everyone can already determine the identity of the latter. As a slight footstep fell, a familiar figure appeared in front of Shiyu Siren 4. It was Sasuke. Seeing Sasuke, Suizuki couldn't help asking. Sasuke, was it Itachi who fought with you just now? Suizuki heard from Shanlin just now that Sasuke was fighting with people just like Shiba, and the person who was fighting with Shiba just now was a member of the Akatsuki organization. Moreover, they had come to find Itachi on this trip. Under the combination of the 2, they naturally had this doubt. No, Sasuke shook his head and then said, however, it is not for nothing. At least through this battle, I am sure of one thing. Hearing Sasuke's words, the 3 of Suigetsu 3 were also quite curious, but Shiyu knew it all alone. Advertisement with Sasuke's current strength, if he does not deliberately avoid the battle with the soil, he will inevitably expose the Shoringan in the fight. What's the matter? Suizuki, the most curious person, was the first to ask, and Shanlin and Shigeo who heard the words also fixed their eyes on Sasuke. The masked man who fought with me just now also has eyes. As soon as Sasuke said this, the 3 of Suizuki were shocked at 3 o'clock. In their memory, the Uchiha clan had been annihilated 16 years ago. Now there are people who have Shaolin Yan, in addition to the 2 Uchiha tribes Sasuke and Itachi. They know that they also have Shaolin Yan. The person is Kakashi. After some simple speculation, Shanlin asked. Sasuke, that person's Shaolin is also transplanted. No, he is also from the Uchiha clan. Hearing that Shanlin 3 people 3 were shocked again, they obviously did not expect to get such an answer. After the 3 of them were shocked, Sasuke's voice sounded again. This person is the complicity who killed the Uchiha clan with Itachi back then, and is also on my kill list. There was a coldness on Sasuke's face between the words, and the cold light flashed in his eyes, and his body was exuding a strong killing intent. For the people who let Uchiha die, he will definitely not let it go. This is his obsession, the obsession to live. Advertisement if he wanted to change this obsession, there was only the truth about genocide. Seeing Sasuke like this, Shuei and others did not ask for the first time, but waited for Sasuke's killing intent to fade before speaking. Sasuke, that. Is the accomplice dead? Sasuke also returned safely, so the battle between the 2 of them should have only 2 results. Either the other party ran away or the other party died. However, the slight killing intent still remaining from Sasuke's body at this time, everyone's guesses are more inclined to the former. And the facts are just as they guessed. Ran. That guy has awakened, kaleidoscope riding round eye, and has a ninjutsu that can escape into space. Hearing this, Shuei, Shanlin and Shigego murmured in their hearts, as if thinking of something. Ninjutsu to escape into space. The 3 of them didn't know, but Shiyu knew it all. Sasuke's so-called ninjutsu to escape into space is exactly the shenwei he previously displayed. It is also because of this that made the Shanlin 3 people 3 thoughtful. However, the sound of Sasuke's next sentence made everyone startled, even Shiyu was no exception. That guy seemed to have an accident while performing this technique, and he broke an arm directly. Chapter 480. That guy seemed to have an accident while performing this technique, and he broke an arm directly. As soon as Sasuke said this, Tokiba's 4 were all surprised. Immediately after Shiyu was stunned for a short time, he immediately realized it. The 4 Sasuke 4 don't know why the ninjutsu performed by the soil has such a change, but he knows it all. Because Deidara was dragged into the divine power, different space by him, at this time, Shiyu couldn't help but smile to himself, he didn't expect such a coincidence. Drag Deidara into the shenwei space and explode, but he didn't want the latter's explosion to affect the 3 people of Shanlin 3. Unexpectedly, this unexpected joy happened. At this moment, Toki also knew the reason why Sasuke was able to beat the dirt so quickly. It turns out that all this still has something to do with him. If it weren't for this, Sasuke would have used the Susanoo, and it would be impossible to use the latter. The kaleidoscope, with the soil is too virtual, and the average person is not his opponent at all. Perhaps, Sasuke can use Amaterasu to threaten his life without knowing it. But it was only once, however, the point is to bring the earth to master the ultimate illusion of Izanagi. Advertisement therefore, one life threat was obviously not enough for him, and when Shiyu was immersed in his thoughts, Shanlin was the first to think of something, and his eyes couldn't help but fall on Shiyu. What Shanlin thought was that Shiyu just said that he dragged Deidara into a different space, and Sasuke said that the masked man had the ability to escape into the space, and the latter's arm disappeared strangely. Therefore, he wondered if the two escaped spaces were the same, but in the end she shook her head. Obviously, she felt that this idea was too far-fetched. Just when the atmosphere was slightly silent, the voice slowly sounded. Sasuke, what do you have next intent? Moreover, it also includes a few people who have died. The stronghold of Shao is not maintained and managed all the year round like other organizations. It has only one function. With the previous search, they did not spend this time. Since a member of Akatsuki has appeared in this base, maybe Itachi may be among them. I want to investigate it further. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Sasuke nodded, so the group of 5 people 5 stepped on again to find the entrance to the stronghold. It turned out that this stronghold was enchanted by his subordinates, and if nothing else, it should be preventing others from perceiving. Advertisement, and at this time, the barrier that shields perception that you and the others are now seeing was laid for this purpose. Especially Shiyu, his God-forbidden eyes, is even stronger than Shanlin's Kagura hard eyes. Since the masked man who is fighting with you is an accomplice of Itachi, maybe you will inform the latter. Soon they found the stronghold established by the Shao organization here, and at this moment, they finally knew why they couldn't sense the chakra fluctuations here. Filu reminds you. 3 things to read, collect, recommend, and share. Shiyu and Shanlin should be able to quickly perceive any chakras in this barren mountain. Then hurry up. But even he didn't feel it, and it can only explain a few problems. Either this stronghold is empty, or there is no stronghold here at all, or there are other reasons, and this enchantment in front of you is undoubtedly one of them. Shao. The organization's stronghold does not have managers, test items, etc., like the Oshimaru base. The former has only a few dozen people, if not, when they first arrived here. That's what they used to seal the tail beast. Therefore, the strongholds they chose were all remote places that were extremely hidden and would not be easily disturbed by people. Chapter 481. Although this enchantment was exquisite, it was not worth mentioning in front of Shiyu. Shiyu's fingers stretched out, and there seemed to be a flash of thunder on them. Immediately after, Shiyu made a slight stroke towards the light blue barrier in front of him, and the barrier immediately broke open. The next moment, this enchantment shattered directly in the eyes of Sasuke 5, and turned into strands of energy to dissipate with the wind. After doing all this, Shiyu's voice also slowly sounded. Let's go. Sasuke, Shanlin and others nodded, and then a group of 5 people 5 stepped directly into the cave of this mountain. Stepping into the cave, a feeling of coldness hits instantly. This place is not full of vitality and blood like the base of Oshimaru, there is only endless coldness here. At this moment, Yu and 5 stopped, because 3 branches appeared in front of them. Sasuke looked at Shanlin and asked directly, how is it, can you feel that there are chakra fluctuations in this? Hearing the words, Shanlin closed his eyes, opened his eyes, and began to scan the entire cave. After a while, when Shanlin opened his eyes, his brows frowned. There seems to be something special embedded in the wall here, which can hinder chakra's perception. Advertisement. Things that hinder perception. Sasuke murmured, a trace of sadness appeared on his face. If you can't even perceive fragrant phosphorus, then they may only have to explore separately again. And the fact is that what Shanlin said, the walls of this stronghold are embedded with some dark gray stones. Even Shiyu, who has the God's forbidden eyes, can know the range is limited. It can be seen that this thing has a strong interference effect on chakra. Wei thought about it, Shiyu said. This should be, Shao, outsider's means of detection. The barrier outside the cave before is probably powered by these stones. I have to say that there are still many ways to organize. Each stronghold is arranged with quite the powerful enchantment serves as protection to prevent interference from the outside world. Sealing the tail beasts can be an extremely exhausting task, and it is no wonder that they will work hard to arrange the enchantment. Well, we will be divided into 3 groups. If Itachi is standing here, the probability of finding him will be greater, and he won't have a chance to slip away. Itachi's strength is extraordinary. We use the name of B*************** G the wall. No one had any objections to Shiyu's proposal. Although the cave is not big, there is more than one entrance and exit. As Shiyu said, if Itachi stood in this stronghold, the chance of them finding it together would be greatly reduced. Moreover, it may also give Itachi a chance to escape. As for the notification signal, it is also understandable. Advertisement. Because this cave is not big, they can obviously hear any powerful movement in the first place. Although Shanlin's perception ability is strong, its own combat effectiveness is really weak. No extra nonsense. Shiyu's suggestion was that he, Sasuke, and Suizuki should each go to an entrance of the passage, and Shanlin and Shigego responded outside. Absolutely, if you inform in advance, so that they can be prepared. It seems that it was not long after 4 tails had just been sealed, and they did not disperse there. After there were no objections, Shi Yu and his group of 5 people 5 also began to divide the work. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Filu novel. S figure suddenly emerged from the ground, and his mouth was an explosive piece of news. And Shigeo naturally stayed to protect the former. Here, basically the members of Akatsuki's organization are there. And shortly after Shi Yu's Trio 3 began to act, in another, Akatsuki organization stronghold thousands of miles away from here. Next second. After everything was arranged, Tokiba, Sasuke, and Suizuki sank into a passage respectively. Chapter 482. Deidara is dead. This is the information that must be brought back after searching the battlefield, and it is undoubtedly explosive for the other members of Akatsuki. The ghost shark who heard this did not have the slightest sadness, but even joked. Ah, there are fewer members. I think he is quite strong, how could he be killed? When I went to win Deidara into the group, in addition to Itachi, there were ghost sharks and scorpions. Coupled with so many years of understanding, he also knows Deidara's ability. Otherwise, the latter would not be able to catch Gaara and the wild, 3 tails. Although there was a trace of regret in the tone of the ghost shark, there was not much ripple on his face. Desperados like them have long put life and death out of the question. You don't necessarily care about your own life, let alone someone else's. Not to mention Deidara, even if Itachi is dead, there will be no big waves in the heart of the ghost shark. Itachi's eyes condensed, and he asked slowly, killed by that side. Kyuubi is still Sasuke. It's Sasuke's evil team, but... Advertisement at this point, it is definitely hesitating to speak, obviously thinking of something. Upon seeing this, Giyu asked, but what, however, there is also a kid in it. For Shi Yuju, he obviously didn't have much information, after all, the latter was not their target. Therefore, Shi Yu did not conduct any in-depth investigation. Moreover, Shi Yu has only been a ninja for 3 years, and he has no reputation. Because those powerful ninjas were basically dead after the battle with him. And Konoha, in order to hide Shiba's powerful background, naturally it is impossible for others to easily obtain this information stupidly. This is for what few people know that Oshimaru was killed by Shi Yu. Now the situation in the ninja world is turbulent. Yunqian is sly, and the AKA organization is secretly watching. Konoha had to keep a hand, just in case. Once Shao comes to attack Konoha, they can catch turtles in an urn and let them come back and forth. However, he is still not sure because according to the information they have, Sasuke has betrayed Konoha. Have to say, advertisement in that simple confrontation more than 2 years ago, Shi Yu left a deep impression on him. That kid is also a member of the Kakashi squad and is the last of a 3-person team consisting of Sasuke Uchiha and Naruto Uzumaki Kuki. My name is Takikawa Tokiha. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Although it had only been in contact twice, Itachi felt that Shi Yu was very difficult and he couldn't see it through anyway. Tsunade is indeed a piece of Hokage's material, but his thoughts are far-reaching. Although Itachi knows that Toki is extraordinary, he has his own plans. The owner of this face is not someone else, it is Shi Yu. This is his subconscious reaction. Because they are very strange to this name, they don't know, but the expressions of Itachi and Giyu at the moment are stagnant. Especially Itachi who has seen Shi Yu twice, because the former always gives him an unfathomable appearance. Itachi whispered in his mouth, and a face flashed through his mind. As Ju's words fell, Tiandao Pain and Xiao Nan's expressions did not show any ripples. If it is not a last resort, he will not easily reveal the latter's information. Not long ago, he and Shi Yu had a conversation during the war. Filu reminds you. 3 things to read, collect, recommend, and share. Today, Toki is still a member of Konoha, so how could the latter be with Sasuke when seeing Itachi? Oniyu and the others have doubts, and they definitely did not hide it. There is still one, chapter 483, Takikawa Tokiha. The ghost murmured and then asked, that kid is also on the scene. He nodded and continued, when I arrived at the scene, the battle was over. Except for Sasuke and the 3 teammates he recruited, the last person present was Tokiba Takagawa. If it weren't for the scorpion was killed by him and Chio together, I wouldn't have noticed this little guy. It's that kid. Giyu gave a stunned cry and couldn't help but think of a possibility. 2 times when members of our organization were killed in battle, he was there, but I didn't know the flying section in the angle. Whether the death of Du had anything to do with him. Others don't know Shi Yu's strength, but Giyu has at least some knowledge, because he was hit by Shi Yu's illusion more than 2 years ago and almost fought Itachi. Therefore, he was very impressed with Shi Yu, especially the latter also had a pair of bright round eyes. As soon as Giyu said this, he immediately attracted the attention of several other people. If Fei Duan and Zhao, the fall of Duan are really related to Shi Yu, then they have to pay attention to the latter. Hearing this, Tiandao Pain's eyes narrowed slightly. Ghost, you know that kid, advertisement? The ghost nodded, and then said, I saw this little ghost when Itachi and I went to Konoha to hunt 9 tails 2 years ago. But that's not the point. The point is that this kid also has Jiaolunyan. Moreover, it doesn't seem to be the kind of transplant. As soon as the ghost said this, all the people present except Itachi, the others were all startled. They obviously did not expect that besides the few people they knew, there are still people in the world today who have Jiaolunyan. The most critical last message, it seems to be transplanted. If it is a transplant, they can still understand it, after all, there is a precedent like West. But if it weren't for transplantation, the thought of how an outsider could have Shaolunyan was at this point, and the eyes of Pain and others were instantly locked on Itachi. Upon seeing this, Itachi knew everything about Shiyu and couldn't keep it away. Yes, that. The little devil named Takagawa Tokiha does have the Shaolunyan of the Uchiha clan. But I'm not sure whether it was transplanted or not. However, what is certain is that he can use the ability of Shaolunyan at will. Furthermore, he has awakened Kaleidoscope, just like me. As soon as Itachi's words came out, a flash of surprise flashed in the eyes of Pain and others. Advertisement among the information they knew, the only awakening, Kaleidoscope riding round eye, was Itachi and Taido Afei. In Pain's cognition, Dado is Uchiha Madara, however, they learned the latest information some time ago, that is, Kakashi has also awakened Kaleidoscope. This made them a little surprised. Unexpectedly, Kakashi, who did not have the blood of the Uchiha clan, would be able to start the second stage of Shaolunyan, which was beyond their expectation. Itachi was also slightly surprised when he learned of this information. When he went to Konoha to use monthly reading on Kakashi, in addition to shocking Konoha's high-level staff, he actually had another purpose. That is to let Kakashi know the existence of Kaleidoscope Sharingan, but as for Kakashi to be able to master this second stage of the Sharingan, he also has no idea. He did that only with the mentality of trying, but the final result was undoubtedly a surprise to him, although it was 2 years later, he was satisfied with the answer. The problem is that all of them are wrong. Kakashi's Shaolunyan had already awakened when Nohara Lin died more than 10 years ago. But as to whether it was because of the resonance that caused Kakashi's Shaolunyan to evolve because of the awakening, Kaleidoscope, with the soil, this argument is slightly far-fetched. After all, the eyes are on Kakashi. Maybe it is because Kakashi was also stimulated by the same, so it is not impossible to awaken the Kaleidoscope. Therefore, there is no definite conclusion about whether people without the blood of the Uchiha clan can awaken Kaleidoscope. Not to mention that no one has tried it. Just how Kaleidoscope riding round eye is awakened is estimated to be few people know, even the Uchiha clan is no exception. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Filu novel. Chapter 484. After hearing the words of Giyu and Itachi, Tiandao Pain and others finally began to pay attention to the name Shiyu. Absolutely. Collect as much information as possible about this Takagawa Tokiha, don't let him become a hindrance to our capture of Kyuubi. Knew. He nodded, and he also became interested in Shiyu. If Shiyu is just a genius boy, he definitely has no half of the information, but the problem is that the latter possesses Shaolunyan. Moreover, he has already awakened to the level of the Kaleidoscope. After this topic was over, the ghost seemed to think of something, and the lazy voice sounded again. There seems to be one missing person. That guy Afei found that I didn't find her, and I don't know if I hung up or hid. Definitely responded. Afei. The escape king should be able to escape, right? In the eyes of Giyu, Afei is just a weak candidate. If it weren't for Scorpion's death in battle, he wouldn't be able to take the place of the latter. But as for Afei's true identity, he was the only one present in the dark. However, Pain clearly does not intend to reveal the latter's identity. Never mind. Advertisement, there are as many guys of that level, but it's a pity Didera. Hey. The ghost smiled, and then said, Afei is also an amazing guy who can alleviate the gloomy atmosphere in the organization. But in fact, the ghost shark at this moment has certain doubts about Afei's identity, so he said this passage. Later, he even directly asked Afei's true identity, and brought the soil directly to take off the mask. This is also the reason why Giyu would rather die than disclose the information. Okay, it's all gone. When the voice fell, Pen's voice also disappeared and I found the cave. At the same time, in a large hall in Yuyan village, there is a skinny man with dozens of red hair with black sticks stuck in his body. A gleam of light flashed into Yu's eyes. Takikawa Tokiha, is that you? This red-haired young man is no one else, but Nagato, who has lost his ability to act. A year ago, when Shiyu was passing by Yuyan village, he once fought with Nagato. Although it was only a brief confrontation, Nagato could perceive the latter's strength. Advertisement faced with the 6 paths of pain. Alone, I can also deal with it calmly, although Shiyu retreated in the end. But he is not sure whether the latter retreated because of a loss or because he did not want to entangle him and left. The reason why he suspected that it was on Shiyu was because the mysterious person who fought with him also mastered the blood, magnetic escape, following the limit. The strength of the mysterious man made him feel a hidden danger. Will the appearance of the latter affect his plan? So, in the next more than a year, he used the magnetic escape as an entry point and began to collect all the information about the mysterious man. But this mysterious person seems to have evaporated, and he can't collect any information about the latter. As for the ninjas who mastered magnetic escape, he collected a lot of them, but he eliminated them all after a lot of scrutiny. And among them is the young boy who has just risen from Konoha, Takikawa Tokiha. But in his eyes, Toki was nothing more than a little devil who had just become Shashino for more than a year. Not to mention him, as long as a normal person would think so, but now, Takikawa Tokiha. The name appeared before his eyes again, and he had to reconsider it. Because according to Itachi and Giyu, Shiyu had already awakened 2 years ago, kaleidoscope riding round eyes. Such a person, how could it be ordinary? A person who is not from the Uchiha clan can not only use Shaolunyan at will, but also become the apprentice of Tsunade and Jiraiya at the same time. Now it is even more entangled with Sasuke, the Konoha rebel. Everything has put a veil of mystery on Toki, making him have to doubt Toki chapter 485. After the members of Akatsuki disbanded at this stronghold, Shiyu and the others also went deep into the cave. After some exploration, Tokiba, Sasuke, and Suizuki arrived at the central area of this stronghold, but unfortunately there was no one here. However, Shiyu found that there were signs of collapse on the ground, and the range was tens of feet wide. According to Shiyu's inference, this should have been left by outside golem, in other words, the Shao organization once sealed tailed beast here. After some investigation, Shui Yu said first, "It seems Itachi is not here." After hearing the words, Sasuke bit his teeth, and a touch of unwillingness appeared on his face. They managed to get some clues about Shao, but it was a pity that they were completely empty in the end. Upon seeing this, Shiyu said, "Sasuke, you don't want to worry. Although we didn't find Itachi here, but I guess he should be in another stronghold now." Another stronghold? Sasuke let out a stunned voice, and then said, "We don't know where the other stronghold is. Even if we find it, Itachi may have already left." Advertisement a few days ago, they learned from the subordinates of Zhao Do that this country has 2 strongholds organized by Akatsuki, but they also know this. As for the other one, they have only heard of it. "I know the location." When Shiyu said this, both Sasuke and Mizuki were stunned. The former's answer was obviously unexpected. Seeing the 2 men staring at Shiyu with astonishment, he started talking nonsense again. "After I defeated Deidara earlier, I got information about Shao from him." This is pure nonsense by Shiyu, because she knows the location of the other stronghold is entirely because she has watched anime. He knows the direction of this world, let alone this. Some little information. According to Toki's inference, after receiving Sasuke's news, Itachi should now rectify and rush to their location. Sasuke has grown up, and Itachi is about to carry out his final plan. Hearing Toki's words, Sasuke's eyes lit up. "Shiyu, what you said is true. In the heavy rain, there are 2 figures." The space in front of the 2 suddenly twisted, and a figure wearing a mask slowly came into their eyes. One is Tiandao Pain and the other is Shao Nan, advertisement. Moreover, Itachi's life and death are related to his 4th mission. As for the battle between Itachi and Sasuke, he didn't want to stop it, because it also designed his follow-up plan. But the problem is that he does know the location of the other stronghold, which is the most irritating. Hearing Shiyu's answer, Sasuke's face suddenly flooded with a deep joy. "When did I lie to you? Otherwise, he wouldn't have the astonishing strength as he is now." In fact, Shiyu had indeed lied. But Shiyu naturally couldn't point out this kind of thing, because he was also not sure whether this stronghold would change in some way because of his appearance. If there is no change in the plot, the Itachi at this time is already in the territory of Rain Kingdom. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Filu Novel. In fact, Shiyu had basically expected this ending before he came in. Only through this battle will Itachi believe that he has this ability, and when Shiyu and his group 3 left this stronghold, they were in the Yunnan village, thousands of miles away. In his opinion, Shiyu did not lie to him, it was still raining heavily. Regarding this, they didn't have any surprises. They were not used to seeing this scene, and this figure was also someone they knew well. It seems that everything is still there, developing as usual. This is also the reason Shiyu has only said it now, and it just fits the current situation. Chapter 486. This masked man is not someone else, he is bringing dirt. This is why Pain and Shao Nan didn't have the slightest surprise on their faces when they saw the latter. Although they haven't played against Daido, they still affirm the latter's strength. Although they were skeptical about the information that Daido claimed to be Uchiha Madara, they couldn't deny the latter's power. Can shuttle back and forth in space, can also control the 9 tails. In their opinion, how could such an existence die in the hands of Sasuke and his party? At this time, the broken arm with soil has recovered, which is obviously due to the fusion of cells between Baiju and the pillars. Moreover, the left eye that was blinded by the cast of Izanagi has also been transplanted with a new Shilunyan. This kind of life-saving trump card will naturally not neglect the soil. Seeing that the soil appeared, Pain also asked straightforwardly, "How about Sasuke?" Needless to say, Pain, who brought the soil to find Sasuke, also knew it. It feels great. He has fully utilized the power of Shilunyan, and maybe in the future he will become a better user of Shilunyan than Itachi. The sentence of bringing soil is full of meaning, and he doesn't mean that Sasuke's talent is better than Itachi. Advertisement is that Sasuke's innate control over Shilunyan seems to be very strong. This is what he feels when he is fighting with Sasuke. But this is just a feeling, so he can't be sure. In fact, he feels really good. The reason why Sasuke has better control over Shilunyan is that he is Indra reincarnated. This chakra hidden in the body can make the control of Shilunyan reach the extreme. Just like the original Uchiha Madara. Hearing the earthy answer, Pain and Konan were slightly taken aback, and they didn't think of Sasuke's evaluation. They probably know the strength of Itachi, and the latter is the top combat strength in Shao. Especially the latter's illusion skills are superb. If it weren't for the pupil skills of the 2 people with soil and Pain, they would be more afraid of Itachi. At this moment, Pain and Xiao Nan can fully understand why Da Shiwan died in Zuo's assistant. But it's a pity that they want to get crooked too. Even though Sasuke does have the capital to fight the victory over Oshimaru, the latter did not die by his hands. They are still kept in the dark about the truth of this incident. Oh, right. The Sasuke you found with Deidara, did he ever see one of them named Takiwa Takikawa? Takikawa Tokiha, advertisement bringing two chanted, and then said, it's the magnetic escape kid. Good. Seeing that Pain actually asked Shiyu personally, bringing the soil was also a little confused. Why do you suddenly ask about this kid? When we discussed earlier, the information we got was that this kid is not as simple as it seems on the surface. Pain replied and continued. If Itachi and Giyu hadn't lied, the latter would also have Shaolunyan. Moreover, it has reached the level of kaleidoscope. As soon as Pain said this, the expression under the dirt mask was suddenly startled. Undoubtedly, this news was completely beyond his expectation. Shiyu's eyes were what he saw with his own eyes, and they were definitely a pair of normal eyes. If the latter really possesses the Shaolunyan, then he can obviously control this blood succession boundary at will. But if that is the case, the contradiction will come. Shiba is neither like Kakashi, nor is it a member of their Uchiha clan. How did the latter do this? Is it possible that Shiba is scattered outside by their clan? The clansmen couldn't reach this moment. There are countless thoughts flashing in the mind with Soil, but it is still not sure which Filu Shiyu belongs to. Remind you. 3 things to read, collect, recommend, and share. Chapter 487. But when Dai-Tu learned that Shiyu possessed Shaolunyan and had awakened Kaleidoscope, he thought of a possibility. That's why his Shenwei space exploded. If it was caused by Kakashi, it would be too coincidental. But if this is Shiyu, everything is logical. Because Shiyu was fighting Deidara at the time, and the latter's methods were all explosions. Is it really you, Takagawa Tokiha? There was a secret voice in Tai-Tu's heart, and a dignified color flashed in his eyes. If all this is true, then this Takagawa Tokiha is undoubtedly the next Uchiha Itachi. Moreover, it is more tricky than the latter, because in this way, the Shenwei space is no longer unique to him. If it is against Shiyu, his method will be useless. And this is just a judgment he made based on the information he currently has, as for Shiyu's true strength is still unknown. No way. There are too many secrets in Shiyu's body that he can't guess and can't see through. It seems that this kid will have to find time for a while. After a thought flashed in his mind, the earthly expression became serious again, and said to Pain in front of him. The time is right. That guy should be mentally prepared, because his days are coming soon. What about Kyuubi? Advertisement Pain said, you go to catch. As the leader, you can only succeed, not fail. As for the guy with the dirt mouth, it was Itachi. He knew that the latter was seriously ill, and the time was running out. Although he had made a promise with Sasuke not to move, as long as he died, that promise would no longer exist. Moreover, bringing Soil as a chicken thief, he did not do it himself, but let Pain do something. And when Taito and Pain discussed the detailed plan, Itachi and Ghost Scorpion were also on their way to leave Urin village. The ghost shark looked at the dripping water drops in front of his eyes and murmured softly. The rain is still falling. Hearing the words, Itachi looked up at the sky and responded. It will rain like this season, but it's really rare. But in fact, these rains except for Yuyin village. In addition to his special position, there is also a part of the reason that Pain is controlling it in secret. The latter can sense whether there is an enemy invasion through these. It looks like rain, but in fact it becomes a means of guard. Yuyin village actually had 2 ninja villages before Pen's administration, namely the Rain Kingdom Yuyin and Chenji Kingdom Yuyin. After teaming up with Itachi for so long, he naturally knew of Itachi's physical problems. Seeing Itachi stop moving in the rain, the ghost also gave a light smile. Advertisement. The heavy rain gradually disappeared, and Itachi's voice sounded along with it. The rain has stopped, we should set off. After the reign of Pain, the 2-part world of Yuyin was unified, and a unified Rain Kingdom was located at the junction of Earth Kingdom, Fire Kingdom, and Sand Kingdom. After a while, there was no unnecessary nonsense. When the voice fell, Itachi walked straight ahead. There are reminders and jokes in his tone. Itachi didn't answer the ghost shark's question, and let the rain drip from his face, like tears. This is also closely related to the rainfall in Yuyin village, and there are so many large pipes and sewers. The rain is bad for your health. In general, the relationship between the two of them is quite good. Seeing Itachi was silent, the ghost said again. The top of the high tower in Yuyin village is generally unoccupied, except for Nagato and Xiaonan in the high tower. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. The buildings are mainly made of steel, and there is also a considerable part of stone, inside and outside. They are raised up by many large and small steel pipes, forming a unique landscape. Yuyin village. That direction is another stronghold of the Shao organization in the Kingdom of the River. To read the underlined version of the novel, please download the Filu novel. I don't know what a cold person like you is thinking about now. Chapter 488. At the same time that Itachi and Giyu left Yuyin village, the discussion between Taito and Pain had come to an end. Naruto Uzumaki, he is no longer the kid he used to be. In addition to the one mentioned just now, Takikawa Tokiha, he now has many powerful companions beside him. To be honest, hunting him is not so easy. Hearing the words with dirt, don't wait for Pain to answer, Xiao Nan on the side is the first to say. It's vain to say that it's ambition to destroy one's own prestige, because Pen has never been defeated. Hey, that's also true. Tai Tu chuckled lightly, agreeing with Xiao Nan's point of view. In his opinion, Nagato, who possesses the reincarnation eyes, is basically at the top of the ninja world. In today's world, it is estimated that it is difficult to find an opponent who can contend with. After such thoughts flashed in his mind, Dai Tu also said again. Don't talk about it, let others hurry up and get the rest of the people Julie. Clear. There was no extra expression on Payne's face between the words, but the endless indifference and coldness. After explaining things, looking at the sky that has completely listened to the rain, GND muttered to himself. Almost soon, we are only one step away from our purpose. At that time, everything will be restored to its original condition. When Shiyu's group of 5 people 5 was on their way to the next base, except for Dato and Payne, they had implemented their plans. Konoha's intelligence has also made new progress. Jiraiya, back, at this time, in the Hokage office. Standing in front of Tsunade and silent, Jirazu said with a smug expression. Advertisement, hey, I already know where, Xiao, the leader of the organization is. What, really? Hearing this, Tsunade and silent gave a startled sound at the same time, with excitement on their faces. You tell me in detail, maybe we can make a corresponding raid plan based on your intelligence. Ji Lai was also taken aback for a moment, and then said, don't worry about it. It's not writing a sequel to your novel, how can you be so leisurely? It's not a good thing to be so anxious, Ji Lai also said slowly, and then. Du said. In this way, let's go and have a drink first, and then I will talk to you in detail. Having said that, Ji Lai has already made a decision in his heart. This wine is undoubtedly a practice, because he has decided to personally investigate the true face of the leader of the Xiao organization. Hearing this, Tsunade patted the tabletop and stood up and shouted. Idiot, I am Naruto. Now it's working hours, and what kind of alcohol to drink during the day, so it's worthy of those who are still. Are the ninjas on missions? Half an hour later, Konoha Sake Winery. Tsunade drank a bowl of alcohol in his hand, then let out a long spit. Aha! Looking at the incredibly fragrant side in front of him, Ji Lai also looked speechless. Advertisement, Tsunade. You better take responsibility for what you say, anyway you are also Hokage. Hearing that Tsunade didn't care about Jiraiya's words, he asked directly. According to what you just said, the leader of that Xiao organization should be in Yuyan Village. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Tsunade exclaimed. Normally, this kind of village shouldn't be troublesome. You may not know that Rain Country had a civil war a long time ago, and even the village at that time was divided into two. It was also extremely difficult to go through the previous joint Zonran examinations, and it was an extremely self-enclosed village. Filu reminds you. 3 things to read, collect, recommend, and share. Regarding Tsunade's remarks, Ji Lai also held a different point of view. According to the information I have collected, the leader of one of these villages is the current leader of the Xiao organization. Ji Lai also nodded and continued. Secret, furthermore, you must be closely monitored during your stay. As far as I know, nowadays, Rain Country is subject to immigration inspections for people entering or leaving its country. You said it was only superficial, but secretly no one knows. This extremely closed approach is likely to prevent other countries from knowing the true situation of their country and Shinobu village, or to cover up some unknown secrets. Chapter 489. Hearing something from Jiraiya, Tsunade said. Rain Country. This country is surrounded by Fire Country, Wind Country, and Earth Country. It used to be a battlefield between great powers. Therefore, the internal affairs are not stable, and the number of refugees is increasing day by day. Ji Lai also nodded, and then said, for this reason, I want to confirm whether the information I found is true. What do you mean? I want to dive into it and investigate it first. As for your so-called battle plan, I'll talk about it when I come back. It's too dangerous to be alone. Tsunade's tone was a little worried, and he obviously didn't want Jiraji to take the risk alone. Don't worry, I am also Konoha's Sanin. But, although Jiraji said that, Tsunade was still a little worried. Xiao. The members of the organization are terribly powerful, and the strength of the leader of Xiao is absolutely impossible to underestimate. Sorry, I always let you do such dangerous things. Hearing this, Jiraji couldn't help but laugh, obviously trying to relieve Tsunade's emotions at this time. Advertisement, ha ha ha, I am a little uncomfortable with you like this for a while. You should be the one who became Hokage. 3 generations have always wanted to pass on the position of Hokage to you. I'm not that piece of material, my personality is too free and unreasonable. You regret not being able to prevent the mutiny of Onoshimaru that year, so you have been investigating him outside, right? Hearing Tsunade's words, Ji Lai also fell into deep thought. Obviously, Tsunade was right. That's why Jira also returned to Konoha 2 years ago when Osamu attacked Konoha. He should have known that the latter would take action during that time. There was a long silence, and Jiraiya's tone also rose. Now I don't even need to do this, and the sequel to this novel is also available. To be honest, compared to when you write a novel, I didn't even think that the guy would die. The guy in Tsunade's mouth is Oshimaru, although she hates the latter's so-called deeds. But after all, the 3 of them were once teammates and even comrades in arms. How high spirits they were when they were crowned the Sanin title. Yes. Yolong travel, life and death are on the line, and on the way to Yuyan village, Shi Yu and his group of 5 have arrived at another stronghold. The scene that greeted the eye was like a withdrawal from the previous stronghold, and it was still 3 channels. Advertisement: this stronghold also has the function of shielding Chakra's perception. In this regard, Shi Yu still followed the previous method. After Yu Tsunade had a long conversation behind the wine table, Jiraiya also left Konoha at dusk on this day. Our mission now is to set an example for the next generation and give them the necessary help. That is a pair of right round eyes, and the owner of these eyes is not someone else, it is the Uchiha Itachi they're looking for on this trip. He, Sasuke and Mizutsu each entered a passage, and Shigeo and Shanglin stayed outside. Obviously, Itachi is already waiting for Sasuke here. What Shiyu didn't expect was that the latter would choose to meet him first to read the ununderlined version of the novel. Please download Filu novel. When I look closely, they are a pair of eyes. With Shiyu's insight, I can see the origin of these eyes at a glance. Jilai also replied lightly, and slowly said, the former typing princess is now a giant Hokage, and the times are constantly improving. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. For this, I can bet my life with a smile, but now that the years have changed, everything has changed. The 3 of us used to be with the teacher. At that time, it was really nostalgic. And shortly after Shiyu split his head and took action, 2 red dots appeared in front of the passage where Shiyu was. Moreover, the location of its entrance is more hidden than the first one, after entering the cave. Maybe this is the so-called demeanor of the elderly. Chapter 490. Seeing Shiyu, Itachi was the first to speak. I didn't expect you to be able to find this place in such a short period of time. It was beyond my expectation. You must know that this stronghold is far from another stronghold, and it takes 2 days to keep on driving. Moreover, this is still under the condition of knowing the location, but now, not only did Shiyu and the others did it, it was still a day in advance, which shouldn't shock him, and the reason why Shiyu and the others were able to arrive here quickly, naturally it is relying on that hand, the art of earth escape super light and heavy rock. Flying is undoubtedly the fastest way, however, Itachi obviously doesn't know this. Shiyu didn't reply to Itachi's surprise, but instead said, it seems that you have been here waiting for us for a long time. It just surprised me that the first person you chose to meet was me, not Sasuke. To be honest, Shiyu did not expect this. I just don't understand some questions, I want answers from you. Itachi's idea is very simple, it seems you are not here to fight with me. To be honest, I don't want to fight with you unless it is necessary. Oh, why is this advertisement? Itachi was also a little stunned during the words, obviously he didn't expect Shiyu to say this way. Very simple, because you are Sasuke's brother and I am his teammate. Hearing this, Itachi was stunned again, and then said, that relationship exists. My current identity is Konoha's rebelliousness and a member of the Shao organization. If you don't care about this heavy brotherhood, you would have killed him on the night of Uchiha's genocide 10 years ago. Don't follow. I said it was because he was too, you disdained to kill him. If this is the case, why should the other old and weak women and children in the clan be driven to death? Hearing Shiyu's words, Itachi frowned. He obviously didn't expect Shiyu to be young, but his considerations were so old, that he was not inferior to any experienced adult. If this is the case, I will think carefully. Filu reminds you. 3 things to read, collect, recommend, and share. He knew that Shiyu's strength was very strong, but he didn't expect that the latter's IQ was also close to enchanting. Itachi showed admiring eyes, which was also a disguised acknowledgement that Shiyu's words were true. Advertisement. If I tell you now that Sasuke never left Konoha from beginning to end, would you believe it? When Shiyu said this, Itachi was completely moved. If Sasuke didn't take the initiative to leave Konoha, it was Konoha who deliberately sent him to Oshimaru. You thought of knowing that Sasuke Mingming has left the village, why am I still with him? Because he didn't want Sasuke to know about this, otherwise, the latter would definitely hate Konoha. Shiyu, you must be very smart. Seeing Itachi was silent, Shiyu said again. Before Itachi could say the following, Shiyu said it first. Thank you for reading this story at hotmtnovel.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. However, he naturally couldn't tell Shiyu. Since he chose to protect Konoha at the beginning, he would not let his younger brother be the one who destroyed Konoha. Suddenly guessed the purpose of coming to him. Itachi narrowed his eyes slightly and his expression was a little moved. If I'm not wrong, there must be some secret behind the destruction of the Uchiha clan. However, I didn't come to you today to talk about it. Seeing Itachi show such a look, Shiyu smiled slightly and continued. Chapter 491. See through at a glance. Owner of double pupil technique. If I tell you now that Sasuke has never left Konoha from beginning to end, would you believe it? Hearing Shiyu's words, Itachi finally spoke after a long silence. It seems that it was the right choice for me to meet you first. At this moment, Itachi knew that Orochimaru had died of a conspiracy. According to the unreported news, Konoha sent a team to Grass Country to find Orochimaru before Orochimaru's death. If nothing else, it was obvious that this team and Sasuke Lee Yingwei teamed up to get rid of Oshimaru. Itachi, I know the purpose of your coming to see me. You just want to test whether I care about your brother and whether he can be his support after you die. In addition to shock and doubts on Wenyan's face, he didn't know what Shiyu meant. It was the latter who knew that he wanted to fulfill Sasuke and his plan to die. Shiyu knew the fact that he was terminally ill, but no matter which one it was, Shiyu couldn't possibly know it. Otherwise, there is only one last possibility left. That is when Shiyu felt that he would lose in Sasuke's hands. Seeing that Itachi showed such a look, Shiyu smiled faintly and then said, "Advertisement, don't look at me with such eyes. If it is a real decisive battle, Sasuke is indeed not your opponent now, but it is a pity that your body is not strong enough for you to survive that time." Itachi's expression was stunned, and he didn't expect Shiyu to know about the imminent fate. "How did you know? I think you should have investigated me, so you should know that I have inherited Tsunade's medical ninjutsu. Of course, this alone is not enough for me to see your current physical problems at a glance." "Oh, what is that?" Itachi asked curiously, because of these eyes. During the words, Shiyu's eyes suddenly changed color, from black to white. Not only that, there are blue veins in the eyes of Kakuzu. Looking at Shiyu's eyes at this time, Itachi's face once again showed a shock that was stronger than before. Byakugan is known as one of the 3 pupil arts in the ninja world, and this Hyuga clan is in Konoha, and he naturally understands it. Byakugan, in addition to being able to see the human body chakra, it can also accurately skeletal meridians and other abilities. If combined with medical ninjutsu, you can definitely become a medical ninja second to none. The reason why Shiyu exposed Byakugan to Itachi, he obviously had his own ideas. Advertisement therefore, Shiyu decided to let Itachi be the first witness to the owner of Double Eyes. 2 years ago you asked me if I was from the Uchiha tribe, what do you think now? They gave a consistent answer. I wonder if your answer will be the same as theirs? As Itachi finally recovered from the shock, but there was still a trace of shock in his eyes. When Shiyu saw through his physical problems, he knew the reason, but what made him wonder was how the former possessed Byakugan. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. At this moment, the look on Itachi's face was the same as when he saw Shiyu 2 years ago. The only difference is that it was Sharingan back then, now it is Byakugan. Nothing else, just this pair of open black lens bracket Byakugan close black lens bracket. In fact, there have been discussions about my identity, including 3rd Hokage, Jiraiya, Tsunade and Kakashi. Open black lens bracket Sage of 6 Paths close black lens bracket. Large. Immediately afterwards, he slowly spit out 4 words. Seeing Itachi's dull look, Shiyu's voice also slowly rang. For Flowers, Chapter 492 The Blood of the Two Races. The Strongest Illusion Technique. Open black lens bracket Sage of 6 Paths close black lens bracket. Various signs showed that Itachi felt that Shiyu might have something to do with the legendary Sage of 6 Paths. It was just a matter of involvement. He did not expect Shiyu to be the possibility of Sage of 6 Paths, reincarnation. After all, he doesn't know much about Shiyu. The reason for this idea is entirely because Sage of 6 Paths is the originator of the ninja world, and everything in the ninja world originated from the latter. If Shiyu has a connection with Sage of 6 Paths, then it is understandable that he has 2 kinds of pupil skills, up to 653. In his memory, the Uchiha clan, never had anything to do with the Hyuga clan, let alone get married. In order to ensure the purity of blood lineage, people of all races before the Sengoku era basically maintained interethnic marriages. Until Senju Hashirama created Konoha, the method of alien marriage was implemented. He and the Uzumaki Mito of the Uzumaki clan are leading the way. This approach can maintain good ally with other shinobu villages externally, and internally can make the entire Konoha quickly become a whole. You know, after Konoha was created, in addition to the Senju clan and Uchiha clan, there are also Hyuga clan, Aburame clan, Nara clan, and other families with solid foundations in the village. Marriage and intermarriage is undoubtedly the fastest way to promote the relationship between various ethnic groups, and it is also the best bond to maintain the friendship between all parties. Advertisement in order for Konoha to quickly become a whole, this method is undoubtedly the best. Facts have proved that this method is indeed excellent. After seeing this miraculous effect, shinobu villages in other countries also began to follow suit, not standing still. However, due to the Madara of the Uchiha clan, they have hardly ever been married to any ninja family in Konoha. Of course, it is still possible to marry ordinary people. After all, not all Uchiha people are ninjas. For people who have not awakened Sharingan power, the middle and upper levels of the clan will naturally not restrict too much. Not only the Uchiha clan, but also the Hyuga clan. Therefore, there is no possibility of blood mingling between the 2 races. Therefore, Itachi believes that Shiyu's double pupil technique is probably related to the legendary originator of ninja, Sage of 6 Paths. If not, how can a normal person have multiple pupil techniques? Throughout the entire history of shinobi, this kind of thing has never happened before. For Itachi's answer, Shiyu is also slightly, okay, the topic of 3.3 ends here. Although Sage of 6 Paths does not have Byakugan, it is obviously impossible to know about it. Advertisement, as for Sasuke, you can rest assured that even if he learns the truth, I won't let him hate Konoha. I have to say that this Itachi is indeed very smart, far from being comparable to ordinary people. Shiyu's so-called tough method is undoubtedly the strongest illusion, distinguished heavenly gods. After a brief consternation, Shiyu's voice also rang again. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Even if he encountered Sage of Six Paths at the end, he thought of the wording. Although your answer is slightly different from Mr. Kakashi, the direction is basically correct. With his master's information, he can only think that all this is related to the latter. Because whether it is Byakugan, Sharingan, and Rinnegan, these three pupil techniques are all derived from Otsutsuki bloodline. Obviously, he did not expect Itachi to associate with Sage of Six Paths, only by this double pupil technique. Although Shiyu knew that everything he had nothing to do with Sage of Six Paths, he could only use it to deceive others. Even if it is soft, I still have a hard one, but as for me, whether everything about me is related to Sage of Six Paths, the answer is still unclear. After some thoughts flashed in his mind, Shiyu continued. Between the words, Shiyu showed a meaningful look at Itachi, and only Itachi could understand this expression. Chapter 493 Itachi's Choice. Shisui's Will. As Shiyu's words fell, the space fell into a brief silence. Itachi's eyes never left obsolete Yu from beginning to end, as if he wanted to see through the latter. But it's a pity that he got nothing. Shiyu's mystery has surpassed the scope of his cognition, and he cannot see through it. At this time, Shiyu didn't mean to fight with him at all, and just sat down on the spot. He raised his eyes and glanced at the somewhat surprised Itachi, and said again. I have given you the answers to everything you want to know and worry about. What are you still doing here? Hearing the words, Itachi was taken aback for a moment, and then asked, didn't you come to find me on a special trip? Now I have appeared, but you want to let me leave. Shiyu looked at the latter with deep meaning and smiled lightly. You won't leave 26, if you don't want us to find it, you won't be here. Xuanziguo has 2 strongholds organized by Shao. We have been to one of them, but we have not found it. Presumably you have heard the news of Deidara's death. According to your prediction, the next place we are going must be this stronghold. But you still show up here, which means you have arrived here in advance and waited. Since this is the case, how can you run away, especially the way you explained the funeral just now? Obviously you are ready to fight Sasuke. For Shiyu's analysis, Itachi did not explain, advertisement. Because according to this logic, the fact is almost like this. Next second, Itachi's eyes condensed and continued. You can rest assured Sasuke? Even if I am sick, it is more than enough to defeat him. What about defeat? You won't kill him anyway. Shiyu's answer was sharp. If Itachi wants to kill Sasuke, there is no need to wait until now, 10 years ago. However, I advise you not to underestimate him. Sasuke is not the genin who can be ravaged by you for 2 years now. I believe he will give you a surprise this time. Shiyu's so-called surprise is nothing else, it is Mangekyo Sharingan. When he chose to meet Sasuke, he was ready to die. Anyway, he is running out of time, just by letting the dead gang Sasuke awaken Mangekyo Sharingan. In this way, not only did he get rid of himself, but it also allowed Sasuke to occupy a place in the turbulent world of ninja. Not surprisingly, his illness was caused by years of depression. Not to mention Itachi, so any honest person will be like this. Don't talk about destroying one's own clan, but also kill his parents with his own hands. Who can stand this kind of thing? Advertisement his family and his parents did nothing to utter conscience, and there is no such thing as righteous extermination. It's just that Itachi chose the former between existence and family. Of course, this was also his decision after seeing the situation clearly. Choosing Konoha, Sasuke Itachi can live, but if you choose a family, if nothing happens, the Uchiha clan will still be destroyed, and Sasuke is no exception. Although their clan is strong, they are far from having the point where they can compete with Konoha on an equal footing. In addition to wanting to keep Sasuke, in fact, part of the reason is because of Shisui's will. Shisui's death is to prevent a coup from the Zebo clan. We must know that in the Uchiha clan at that time, no one was Shisui's opponent except for the deeply hidden U-653 Chiya Fugaku. His death caused Uchiha's coup to lose an important bargaining chip. Because he knew that once his clan initiates a coup, even if Konoha can suppress it, his vitality will inevitably be severely injured. By then, the weak Konoha will undoubtedly become the target of other shinobu villages. In this way, Konoha is in danger. It is for this reason that Shisui chose to commit suicide, which not only allowed the family to give up the idea of betrayal to a certain extent, but also awakened Itachi, Mangekyo. And now Itachi has made the same choice as Shisui. He wanted to end all this through his own death, and let the truth of the dead race go with him. Don't let Sasuke hate Konoha, and let the latter awaken, Mangekyo. Chapter 494 Free, Miracle. See you brothers. Sasuke is not the genin who can be ravaged by you for 2 years now. I believe he will give you a surprise this time. Hearing Shiyu's words, Itachi also murmured to himself. Surprise. Although Itachi had no more text after chanting, but the subtle expression changes on his face showed that he was also looking forward to it. Before leaving, Itachi did not forget to say a word. I don't know how high you will grow in the future, but I guess I can't wait for that day. Maybe there will be a miracle. Shiyu's seemingly calm answer, but in fact it was full of profound meaning. Because of Itachi's life and death, it is his quest to unlock the 6th reward. Regarding Shiyu's answer, Itachi believed that this was undoubtedly the former's comfort. He knows his own body, but this is not the point is that he himself does not want to stay in this world. Otherwise, there will be no depression and illness. In his opinion, Sasuke is his last salvation. Let his younger brother awaken his strongest power and inherit his and Shisui's will to continue to guard Konoha, and he can be free. Itachi didn't respond to Shiyu's answer and turned around. Advertisement. When he sank into the dark passage in front of him, there was still a long voice coming. Be careful of the guy in the mask. Itachi didn't want to talk about Obito, and didn't want to talk more. This is not only the family affair of their Uchiha clan, but also the truth about the dead clan that year. So, he didn't want to mention it. After this sentence fell, Itachi's figure also completely disappeared from Shiyu's field of vision. Seeing the direction in which Itachi disappeared, Shiyu murmured to himself. Who cares about whom? When the voice fell, Shiyu's mouth curled up with a slight arc, as if it was heralding the answer. At the same time, both Sasuke and Shuei reached the end of their passage. The passage of Shuei was a dead end, not to mention that there were a lot of organs in it. At this time, he almost cried out for the new year. If you don't say that he is the master hydration technique, now I don't know how many times he has died. As for Sasuke, he has already passed through the tunnel. And just as he stepped out of the tunnel, a familiar voice suddenly rang in his ears. Who is it? Advertisement. Needless to say, the speaker must be a member of Akatsuki. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. But whether it is Itachi or not, he still can't be sure. Because although the person in front of him turned his back to him, the black-red cloud robe on the ladder was clearly greeted by his eyes. But now the sound and shadow are a little bit cold, which is the feeling of Itachi calling his name again after the death of the Uchiha clan. Until a familiar and unfamiliar title came into his ears, he finally had an answer in his heart. Wang Wang's Sasuke. The latter had already turned around at this moment, and his eyes scanned Sasuke, who had not seen him for more than 2 years, and continued. A little bit taller. When this voice called his name, he awakened his childhood memories, which was only his brother. Sasuke spit out these words, but there was a touch of excitement in his heart. Because, Shao, the organization is more than one member of Itachi. After hearing the words, Sasuke gave a stunned expression, and his eyes swept towards the spacious cave. Next second, he found a figure with his back facing him. But the fact is indeed the case, the owner of this figure is Itachi. Come yet? Chapter 495 Clash, Chidori, let's fight? A little bit taller? For Itachi, Sasuke was slightly moved. Even if he knew that the man in front of him was the one who killed his parents and destroyed his whole family, he still couldn't help but feel strange emotions in his heart. Obviously, the identity of the brother Itachi is extremely deep in his heart. If he hadn't personally confessed with Itachi and witnessed the scenes of the Night of the Dead, he would never believe that it was the latter. It was for this reason that he completely buried the identity of brother Itachi. At this moment, Sasuke looked indifferent and slowly said, "You haven't changed at all, especially those eyes." Seeing Sasuke's such calm words, although Itachi's face did not change at all, a touch of relief flashed in his heart. In his opinion 660, Sasuke has grown a lot in these 2 years. You don't rush over as soon as you meet, as you did before. It seems that you have grown not only in height but also in character in the past 2 years. Ah, Sasuke sneered, and then said, "You don't know me at all." Sasuke, whose voice fell down, started directly, and without warning, his body had already turned into an afterimage. One says one. Sasuke's brightening technique is really good, and I can also blame Deidara and Obito for their vivid faces when they saw it. As for Sasuke's movement, Itachi was clearly aware of his death. Just after his eyes had glanced to his right side for the next second, Sasuke's figure also appeared. Advertisement, CGDD. Itachi can insight into Sasuke's actions in advance, unless he has a wealth of combat experience. The most important thing is Sharingan. At the same time, a lot of thunder and lightning appeared on Sasuke's left hand, which was one of the results of his 2 years of cultivation. He has taken the thunder attribute nature transformation, mastered to a certain level, and created a Chidori flow move. The lightning speed was beyond imagination, and it penetrated Itachi's body in an instant. Upon seeing this, Sasuke gritted his teeth and shouted, "Do you know how deep the hatred I carry in my heart? Do you know how much effort I put in to become stronger? You don't know me at all." When the voice fell, Sasuke had no extra nonsense. I saw the 5 fingers that became claws suddenly, and the lightning that shot into Itachi's body suddenly turned into countless rays of lightning and shot towards the outside. Z. 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 The thunder was raging, and a radiant light accompanied by scarlet blood filled this dim space. This scene is so shocking. Tick. While the hot blood dripped to the ground, Itachi's body also slowly fell to the ground. Boom. It was just puzzling that there was no pain on his face, as if he hadn't been hurt. Advertisement. Itachi looked up at Sasuke, who was staring at him, and spoke calmly. "Are you stronger?" Obviously, he suffered hardly in that passage full of organs. When the crow dispersed, a sound and shadow also sounded in this space. "Where can I learn everything from you?" However, what he wants to know the most now is whether they rushed out again this time. And shortly after Itachi left, Shiyu and Shuei appeared one after another. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Seeing this scene, Sasuke's pupils also shrank, ran. This is the open black lens bracket body replacement technique close black lens bracket, a brand new open black lens bracket body replacement technique close black lens bracket created by Itachi combined with his own summoning beast. Sasuke, did you find Itachi? For Shuei's question, Sasuke only gave a two-word answer. As for Shuei, she looked depressed. For what happened here, Shiyu hadn't seen it with his own eyes, but he could probably guess it. With the fall of Itachi's words, his breath completely disappeared in this cave. After the words fell, Itachi's body that had been riddled with holes suddenly turned into countless crows. He complained all the way so that such a look appeared on his face. There was only one thing in his mind at the moment, and that was rushing to the secret base of the Uchiha clan and Itachi. Come to Uchiha's secret base alone. Chapter 496 Parting Ways. Careful thinking of Phosphorus. Ran? Shuei exclaimed. Obviously she didn't expect this result. In fact, it doesn't have much to do with him whether Itachi runs or not, but if the problem is kept looking for, when will he be tall? The numerous organs this time are all shocking in retrospect. It is also fortunate that he knows the hydration technique. If this is replaced by any ordinary person or a ninja of average strength, he would have died a long time ago. The reason why he feels a little depressed is because they have to embark on a journey to find Itachi. And just when Shuei was melancholy, Sasuke's next sentence made his eyes glow for a while. Although the person ran away, he has already given me a battle book. Zanshu? Shuei said in shock. Sasuke nodded and then said, I will definitely come with him this time, I'll break it. After a while, Takiwa, Sasuke, and Suizuki left the cave stronghold and fought with Korin and Shigogo who were outside. When they were about to set off, Shiyu said, Sasuke. You guys are one step ahead, I still have some things to deal with. Do you want us to help you? Although Sasuke can't wait to rush to the secret base of the Uchiha clan to fight Itachi, but he is particularly concerned about Toki. He knew that without Shiyu, he estimated that it would be difficult to find this step today. Advertisement: if the latter really has something important to help himself, he is absolutely obliged. Even if it is temporarily shelving the battle with Itachi. This shows that Shiyu's transcendent status in his heart now. It's not a big deal, just to investigate some information about Shao. Shiyu responded, and then said, anyway, you won't let a few of us intervene in your fight with Itachi. In that case, I can just take this opportunity to investigate something. That's it. How about I let Shuei stay with you? As soon as Sasuke's voice fell, Shiyu didn't wait for Shiyu to answer, but the fragrant phosphorus on the side was the first to speak. I'm the best at this kind of thing, just let me go with Shiyu. Regarding the incense phosphorus, Shuei did not refute it either. Investigating this kind of thing is too boring. How can I go to watch the battle? Sasuke and Itachi fought back and forth. Now Shanlin jumped out to justify him. Otherwise, it's really hard for him to refuse. However, there is a saying that fragrant phosphorus is right. Whirlpool incense phosphorus, is really good at investigating. This is the advantage of the perceptual ninja. He used to be responsible for perception and investigation when he was genin in Koin village. In addition, she has another role, that is, medical ninja. However, her treatment is a little special. It can be cured by letting others absorb chakra directly from her body. Flowers. Advertisement: as long as the injury is not very fatal, it can basically be cured. So, perceiving the gazes of Shanlin and Sasuke, Shiyu thought slightly. 0. Sasuke has no problem with the proposal of aromatic phosphorus. Even if there is no systematic mission, Shiyu will not let Jiraiya explain it like this. He said that he was going to adjust some things, but in fact it was because of Jiraiya. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. And because Orochimaru rescued her from the Sea of Suffering, he was also the Southern Secrets that Isshin willingly helped the latter's manager, Sao no Kuni. Even though she was born in Kauji country, she hates Koin village very much. This is why, after being invited by Orochimaru, she did not hesitate to agree to the latter. Because the old task of the system is already on, it means that Jiraiya has set off from Konoha to Rain Shinobi village to just Pen. Certainly, in his opinion, as long as Shiyu agrees. Not surprisingly, this time Jiraiya is going to fall. Big, in other words, he can be regarded as his own master, he should be saved or he should be saved. Because the people there did not regard her as a partner, but as a tool that can be treated anytime and anywhere. Because of this, his gaze at the moment fell on the latter. Chapter 497 Hard Phosphorus. Wonderful morning. Shiyu looked at Shanglin's expectant eyes, and really couldn't bear to refuse. Furthermore, his journey to Rain Shinobi village is also quite boring. Why not have a beautiful woman as the company? If something wonderful could happen, wouldn't it be beautiful? Although the thoughts in the mind are so, they cannot be directly pointed out. Investigating this kind of thing is boring and boring. You should have experienced this along the way. Are you sure you want to follow me? I'm sure it must and definitely, Shanglin answered incomparably simply, and the attitude was also extremely resolute. 663, as if there was nothing to shake her determination. As for the opportunity to be alone with Shiyu, Aroma Phosphorus will never let go. In her opinion, this is definitely an opportunity to strengthen relationships with Shiyu. In that case, then you can go on the road with me. Hearing Shiyu's answer, Shanlin's face immediately showed ecstasy. Had it not been for the presence of Sasuke, Suizuki, and Shigego, she might have been tempted to dance. After a brief conversation, Shiyu and Shanglin were separated from Sasuke. On the first day to Rain Shinobi village, the incense phosphorus was quite reserved. That night, Yu didn't knock on the door in the middle of the night like the previous time at the Northern Secrets, and Yu was slightly disappointed at this time. Lying on the bed, Yu couldn't help thinking. He felt that he wanted to take this opportunity to take down the little fan of Xianglan, otherwise he didn't know when to wait next time. After all, this opportunity to be alone is not always available. No words for a night, time passed slowly. Advertisement. Early the next morning, when Yu just finished washing, there was a knock on the door. As soon as Wei Wei perceives, who is Yu from? Click. With a slight sound, the door was slowly opened. What came into view was a beautiful figure. Even if the latter wore a pair of black-rimmed glasses, it could not hide that pretty face in the slightest. The visitor is not someone else, it is Xianglan's niece. Originally, Yu didn't know why the latter knocked on his door early in the morning, but after seeing the food in his hand, he knew it. It turns out that this niece got up early to buy breakfast for herself. Yu, I'll make it for you earlier. Yu was slightly surprised when he heard the words of fragrant phosphorus. You did it yourself earlier? Xianglan nodded shyly, and then said, I don't know what you like to eat, so it's the easiest one. Looking at the bread and milk in his hands, the expression of fragrant phosphorus was a little bit ambitious. Seeing this, Yu smiled indifferently. In fact, the hotel they stayed in provided breakfast, so you don't need to get it yourself. This was obviously done by Xianglan deliberately. This was her intention. Fine. Yu was not polite between the words, and he picked up the bread that looked similar to a sandwich and gnawed at it. Advertisement. Well, it tastes really good. Really? And Shiba did this in his consideration, because it would take a while for Jiraiya to rush from Konoha to Rain Shinobi Village. Therefore, the fragrant phosphorus oyster was lightened first and immediately followed. On the way, Yu was not in a hurry, but walked while playing with the fragrant phosphorus. There was no such thing as investigating at all. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Let's go. Let's continue on our way. 3.3. Seeing Xianglan's tired eyes, Yu probably guessed a bit. Oh, last night, Xianglan deliberately consulted the chef of this hotel, and learned this breakfast that was eaten up by Yu overnight. Therefore, he can just take advantage of this time to increase his relationship with phosphorus. To know. Naturally, it is not difficult to make an early breakfast, but it is not easy to make an exquisite breakfast. After eating the bread, Yu did not forget to pick up the cup of hot milk and drank it directly. Although aromatic phosphorus is very puzzled, it is extremely enjoyable. This neat scene saw Shang Fo's heart happy, and she felt that her efforts were finally in vain. Some time ago, when they and Sasuke were a group of 5 people, although phosphorus prepared them early, it was completely different from today. Because this is the result of her hard work last night. Chapter 498 Rain Shinobi Village, Toad Winehouse. Along the way, Yu is really investigating his name, but in fact he basically spends his time playing in the water and drinking spicy food. It's a pleasure to have beautiful women as companions. And just the night before they were about to arrive at Rain Shinobi Village, what Shiba was looking forward to finally happened. After these few days of getting along with each other, the fragrant phosphorus, who was originally a little fan, has gradually declined. This night, Xianglan confessed to this. Yu didn't have any unnecessary nonsense, so he took him directly into his arms. After a brief embrace, the same gymnastics dance as Anko was staged in the mortal world. There was an experience of 26 birds. This time it is undoubtedly a familiar road. Needless to say, this is destined to be a wonderful night. On the second day, in Rain Shinobi Village, here is still as usual, with light rain in jelly. There was a hazy sky above the sky, and the dawn could never break through. Although it was raining, the pedestrians on the ground did not always panic. Obviously, they are used to this kind of life. Among this group of pedestrians, one person felt a little uncomfortable. It seemed that the rain was slightly different from what he usually felt, but he couldn't tell a reason. It is normal for him to feel this way. After all, he is the man of master, Shanshu. Advertisement. Although his body is wrapped tightly, a big oil on his forehead protector can recognize his identity. This person is not someone else, it is Jiraiya. After several days of traveling, he has successfully arrived at Rain Shinobi Village. Although the investigation of outsiders is very strict here, it is naturally not a problem to enter the village with his sophistication. Being upright is not good, he will still sneak in secretly. However, Jiraiya did not expect to be discovered the moment he entered the village. It was not someone else who found him, it was Pain. He was able to discover that Jiraiya had sneaked in not because he could tell the prophet, but because of the never-ending rain. As long as he was caught in the rain, he could perceive this person's chakra. It can be seen that his water-style attainments have reached a quite terrifying level. This is the power of Rinnegan, which allows the owner to quickly master chakra with 6 different attributes. Just as Jiraiya was planning his next investigation plan, 2 people were talking at the top of the tower of the tallest building here. Xiao Nan, when I stop raining, you will use your technique to find the intruder. Hearing what the heavenly Wei Pain said, Xiao Nan nodded in response. Leave it to me, then I will start. With the fall of the voice, Pain immediately began to seal the seal. This rain covers the entire Rain Shinobi Village, and it obviously takes a while to stop it. Advertisement. When Pain performed the surgery, Jiraiya had already started his investigation plan. He summoned a toad and transformed it into a small winehouse, and the name was very appropriate. Toad Winehouse. but he himself used transformation technique to dress up in disguise and began to wait for those who were predestined to take the bait. As predicted, after he prepared everything, 2 rain shinobi took the bait as expected. I saw Rain Shinobi, a horoscope on the street, watching the heavy rain in front of him, and suggested to his friend beside him, 663. It's heavy rain, let's find a place to have a drink and take shelter from the rain. Good too. Scar Rain Shinobi greeted, and the 2 random people looked around. Obviously, they are looking for the nearest wine house. In this way, you can quickly enter the house to shelter from the rain. After some searching, they found a sign hanging not far in front that read, "Our store is newly opened today, and all drinks are 50% off. Toad Wine House." After reading the words on the sign, the eyes of the 2 suddenly appeared, and the scared man said, "It seems we are still lucky today." The 2 who fell in their voices looked at each other and smiled, and then strode towards the door of the Toad Wine House. Chapter 499 Special Treat, Paper Shield Secret Art. The moment the 2 stepped into the Toad House, a familiar voice came out of their ears. Welcome. They are not familiar with the person who made the sound, but only these 4 words. After taking a look at Jiraiya in disguise, the 2 did not notice anything wrong. After removing the hats from their heads, the 2 of them walked straight to the bar. Some wine. By the way, let's have some wine and food. After the 2 said each, they sat down on the chairs in front of the bar. Immediately afterwards, the scarred man complained. Why has the workload increased suddenly these days? Don't you know? The 8-character Who man replied softly, and then said, it is said that Master Pain is going to other countries for some time. But it doesn't increase our workload because of this. Although we are the bottom ninja in the village, we still need a break. Regarding the complaints of the scared man, the 8-character Who man comforted. Just bear it, Master Pain will do everything for the village. Without him, how could we be as stable as we were before? That's right. The scar in the words said something that he wanted to say, but was interrupted by Jiraiya. Let the 2 of you wait for a long time. Hearing this, the eyes of the scared youth and the 8-character Who man instantly locked Jiraiya in front of them. But what surprised them was that the latter had nothing in their hands. Advertisement. After slightly stunned, Scar Young took the lead to speak up. Where is our wine and food? 2 of you, don't worry yet. Jiraiya soothed, and continued. Our store is newly opened today, and there is a special treat. Upon hearing this, both of them became excited. Really? What kind of hospitality? Toad Winehouse specially made, torture and entertain. The faces of the 2 people who heard this were puzzled, and their expressions suddenly changed in the next second. Not for others, because Jiraiya has solved the transformation technique. You, who are you? Regarding the question of the 8-character Who man, Jiraiya did not tell them his identity stupidly. Sorry, I should be the one who asked. When the voice fell, Jiraiya made a knot in his hand. It was a good wine shop that instantly changed its appearance and became the esophagus of the toad. This scene is the same as the open black lens bracket toad mouth binding technique close black lens bracket used by Jiraiya. Ah! As the 2 continued screams, they were directly embedded in the esophagus and stomach wall. And the original winehouse was completely transformed into a toad, and then left directly here. Obviously, Jiraiya wanted to move to a more hidden place to interrogate the 2. Soon after the toad left, the heavy rain finally stopped. At the same time, advertisement at the top of the tower, an order came from Pain's hands. Do it, Xiao Nan, Xiao Nan nodded, her hand was printed with a knot, and her body turned into a white paper and quickly spread out. But the forehead protector on your head is scratched. This is a sign of rebellion. Is this proof of your loyalty to Pain? The expressions of the 2 of them changed instantly after getting the answer, and the result was obviously unexpected. By the way, no one can enter this place, so no one will come to save your actress. The scarred man who heard that did not answer Jiraiya's meaning, looked at the scarlet stomach wall around, and questioned. From the way you hold kunai, you can be considered a ninja. At this time, besides the unbelievable look on the faces of the 2 people, there was also a panic that could not be concealed. Undoubtedly, this is Xiaonan's Paper Shield Secret Art. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. On the other side, Jiraiya has already started to torture the scared young man and the horrible Who man. In the toad belly, the best time to torture is only when a person is flustered and scared. Moreover, I am very happy to see him, and this is the effect Jiraiya wants. Nagato turned and walked into the tower, seemingly purposeful towards a secret room. For the latter, Wang Wanghao, question, Jiraiya gave the answer. Damn it, what is this place on earth? Chapter 500 Painful and Happy, Frog Change Technique. After some consternation, the 8-character Who man finally resisted the astonishment in his heart and began to drink. Where are you, holy? I just said that the person who asked the question should be me. While speaking, Jiraiya took out a white fluffy feather from his body, showing a playful look on his face. Upon seeing this, the 8-character Who man sighed. You, what are you going to do with that feather? Hey, Jiraiya chuckled, then slowly spit out 2 words. Tickle. I advise you to answer my question honestly if you don't want to laugh to death about your honest things about Pain. The 2 rain shinobi who heard this were silent for a moment, and then the 2 said in the same way. Don't think about it. Oh, is it so? If that's the case, then I'm 663, you're welcome. When the voice fell, Jiraiya walked towards the scared young man who was calling for orders. Between the steps, the banter on his face was even better. I don't know if it is to scare the two of them with their special expressions, or he is really longing for this kind of thing. After a while, a burst of laughter resounded in the toad's esophagus without interruption. Wow, ha 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 ha. Advertisement undoubtedly, this was the wild laugh of the scared young man. His voice is indeed laughing, but his eyes are filled with crystals that are constantly flowing out of Itachi. Those are tears. Maybe this is the so-called happiness and pain, just like a woman trying a forbidden fruit. Seeing that the effect was almost complete, Jiraiya finally spoke. Alright, recruit, tell everything you know about Pen. The power and speed in Jiraiya's hands rose slightly during the words, making the scared young man miserable. Ning, puff puff. Seeing the appearance of the Scar youth, the average Who man worried that the former would be unable to withstand it and recruited, hurriedly said. Hey, bear with me. The Scar youth, who was about to collapse, heard the words of Who-man, and the faith in his heart became firmer as he read it. Regardless, before he finished speaking, he began to repeat the previous miserable situation. Ning. Ha 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 ha. Nevertheless, with some patience, he still vomited everything he wanted to say. In any case, I will not betray Master Pain, yo. Jiraiya let out a cry of surprise, CGDD, and then said, I didn't expect you to be so tolerant. In that case, I can only use Killer Bronze, advertisement. The 8-character Who-man on the side was shocked when he heard the words. You, what do you want to do? Just a feather almost made Scar Youth unable to resist, how terrifying the latter's so-called Killer Copper. Therefore, at this moment, his heart is extremely jealous. If you have to resist to the end, I can only use mystery to turn you all into frogs. Become a frog. Jiraiya was afraid that the two of them didn't hear clearly, and emphasized it again. The faces of the two people who heard this were both panic and questioning, obviously not believing Jiraiya's words. Becoming a frog, this kind of thing is too nonsense. As they thought, Jiraiya's voice and shadow also sounded again. If you don't want to become a frog, please hurry up and actually recruit, this is your last chance. Hearing Jiraiya's intimidation, the horrendous Who-man turned out to be extremely powerful. Although we too are low-ranking ninjas, we will never betray the village or betray Lord Pain. No matter what you do is in vain, we will never give in. Don't underestimate our Rainswell. Hearing what Jiraiya said, he sighed softly. Oh, it seems that you really don't shed tears if you don't see the coffin. Then don't blame me. While talking, Jiraiya pinched his hands with both hands, and instantly formed a few seals. Immediately afterwards, Jiraiya's right hand was pressed directly on the forehead of Scar Youth, and a low moan came from his mouth. Ninfa Frog Change Technique.